in a bit. Leave me alone. Summer Yin-chun could not comprehend why her umbrella should accommodate Shun Yin's intrusion. Ultimately yielding, she allowed him to share the umbrella, with the condition that Shun Yin would hold it. Come closer, you'll get sunburned. I'm already exposed. It's fine. We'll endure for a little while longer. Shun Yin placed his arm around her shoulder, gently pulling her closer while seizing the opportunity to rub her smooth skin. Taking advantage of me, are you? Summer Yin-chun glared at him in irritation. Why do you even ask? Haki-chun, you truly are something. Go away. At the bubble tea shop, beads of sweat adorned Shun Yin's forehead as he ordered 2 cups of fruit tea, handing the ice-free one to Summer Yin-chun. She subtly adjusted her collar, allowing the heat to escape, while Shun Yin sat close enough to catch her delightful fragrance. You smell wonderful, my friend. Anticipating a retort from Summer Yin-chun, Shun Yin swiftly interrupted. Will you be taking a nap later? What else would I do? I brought my pillow. Summer Yin-chun patted her bulging bag, which was stuffed with her little pillow. Such is the nature of a girl's bag. It can hold an assortment of items, including an umbrella, a mirror, nail clippers, and tissues, truly a pocket from another dimension. Today is yet another solitary chapter, Chapter 060, The Affectionate Encounter with Chuan Bao. Nearby the school, there exists a quaint bookstore. It appears that contemporary individuals have grown rather disinclined to peruse books within such establishments. The vast space is sparsely populated with a few patrons, students, middle-aged individuals, and elderly folk, yet conspicuously absent are the office workers, as it is a Tuesday, a day for labor. Shun Yin himself is not particularly fond of reading. He may visit occasionally or when the school mandates the purchase of workbooks. Today, he has entered primarily to relish the cool air conditioning, chuckling to himself. The proprietor is quite amiable, permitting a full day of reading for merely 3 yuan. With book purchases being additional, raising the question of profitability, Shun Yin generously pays the owner 6 yuan, inviting Xia Yin-chuan to take a nap in the bookstore. Sleep freely. This nap is on me, he whispers gently into her ear. Her ears tingling with warmth and irritation, Xia Yin-chuan rolls her eyes in a playful manner. Am I to offer my body in exchange for 3 yuan? No thank you. Save your debts for the next life. Typically, bookstores prohibit the entry of beverages to protect the tomes from stains. However, privately owned bookstores tend to be less stringent with such regulations, stipulating that any mess must be compensated for. Shun Yin has already finished his iced fruit tea before entering, while Xia Yin-chuan has only sipped a small amount. Like a little bird, the stereotype persists, yet Shun Yin acknowledges his alignment with it. Finding a secluded spot, he settles down with his small bag. Xia Yin-chuan takes a sip of her fruit tea, wipes the table clean with a wet tissue, and then produces her small pillow, fluffing it slightly. The fan does not blow warm air, and the air conditioning is set to a refreshing 24 degrees, blissful. With a mathematics exam in the afternoon that demands mental acuity, she must rest well. The sweet girl is ready to drift into a delightful slumber. She gracefully lies down, discreetly opening her eyes to glance at Shun Yin, who has just returned with a similar English book, engrossed in its pages, prompting a slight frown from her. Silly Shun Yin. Staying awake before the math exam could be detrimental, she muses. Are you truly not the slightest bit tired? Thankfully, our bright and cheerful boy is indeed as such. Shun Yin smiles. Do you have headphones? The Bluetooth ones are at home. I only have wired ones, she replies reluctantly, handing him her white wired headphones. Please return them in pristine condition. Nodding, Shun Yin dons the headphones, though this time he opts not for English, but rather a playlist of instrumental music. Listening to music while studying carries its own connotations. If one can hear the melodies, it often indicates low efficiency, while ignoring the music signifies immersion in a state of flow, with maximum productivity. The effect varies from person to person, yet Shun Yin finds it adequate. With the system's assistance, his mental state remains vibrant, making high-efficiency studying a manageable task. The true challenge lies in avoiding monotony. Xia Yin-chuan perfectly complements this need. Her soft cheeks nestled in the fluffy pillow create an adorable curve, her delicate lips slightly parted, and her almond eyes blink softly, reflecting Shun Yin's image within her pupils. It must be said that Shun Yin's profile is quite handsome. I have dozed off. Good afternoon. The afternoon sunlight is glaring, casting a bright glow through the curtains, making her eyelids flutter gently. The intermittent sound of pages turning reaches her ears, some belonging to Shun Yin, others to different individuals. At times, an utterly silent environment proves unsuitable for repose. In a moment of reverie, she dreams of being with Shun Yin in the town, gazing at each other across a narrow alley. In the hazy dream, she sees a diminutive Shun Yin, utterly adorable. She longs to reach out and touch him. As she rushes over, she notices little Shun Yin lifting his hand. Surely he wishes for a hug. How sweet. It's perfectly fine for a younger brother to want his sister's embrace. But wait, what does it mean that he raised both middle fingers? Are you implying that in my own dream, I was disdainfully gestured at by young Shun Yin? Such behavior is indeed characteristic of him. Summer Yin-chun quietly opens her eyes, feeling a bit grumpy upon waking, almost wanting to bite someone. A glance at the clock reveals it is only 1:50. Having slept a little over an hour, yet she feels remarkably refreshed, having enjoyed a delightful slumber. Waking up so early? Shun Yin pokes her fair arm, his fingertips sinking into her skin as if it were cotton. I've had enough rest, she replies, pursing her lips and covering her mouth as she yawns, finding no discernible taste lingering on her breath, though her eyelashes feel somewhat sticky, which will only be alleviated by wiping them clean with a wet tissue. The drowsiness that clung to her post-nap dissipates entirely. The bookstore has but 2 patrons remaining, with even the owner dozing off at the front desk. Bored, she lazily leans over the counter, chatting with Shun Yin. Have you completed memorizing the remaining words? Yes, isn't it sufficient to have hands for the 3,500 words? Heh, so you've become rather cocky after finishing, haven't you? Shun Nian merely shrugs, unconcerned, as he removes the earphone closest to Summer Yin Chun. Would you like to listen to some music? Not really. It will be too cramped over here. Summer Yin Chun sighs, wondering if he has lost his wits. I am aware, Shin Yin replies nonchalantly, showing no signs of deceit or inappropriate intentions. I merely wish to be closer to you. I often ponder why. Despite being childhood friends, we find ourselves quarreling daily. It's not my intention to argue. Then let us not fight anymore, Chuan Bao. Come closer. Your head is rather pointy. Just moments ago, someone was lamenting their self-image, and now they seek to close the distance. How puzzling. Surely it must be due to Shun Yin's recent early morning workouts, which have sharpened his demeanor. Summer Yin Chun takes the earphone and places it on the other side. The music emanating from it is pure and soothing, flowing like clouds drifting in the sky. Shun Yin's long fingers tap rhythmically on the wooden table, reveling in this rare moment of leisure. He speaks truthfully to Summer Yin Chun, not wishing to provoke her anger. His words carry an undertone of affection, yet he genuinely enjoys their closeness. My dear, you smell so soft and sweet. How was I unaware of this before? The sunlight spreads a warm hue across the bench by the window, and the distance between her and Shin Yin is dictated by the length of the earphone wire. As it stretches, he inches closer until their shoulders press against one another. The air conditioning was pleasantly cool, while Shin Yin felt the heat radiating from within. Xia Yin Chun's mind was in disarray as she shifted slightly away, contemplating Shun Yin's motives. It seemed he preferred physical closeness to avoid conflict, yet he lacked a more commendable justification for taking advantage of the situation. Who deemed him the best in the world? My mother has urged me to return to my hometown during the National Day holiday. Will you come along? Shin Yin unexpectedly spoke while casually closing his book. Xia Yin Chun replied with a non-committal indicating her willingness to go. That's splendid. Please buy some fruits for my parents, perhaps a couple of durians and pineapples, as they relish those. I recall that your parents enjoy bananas, so I shall procure some for you as well. It's only fair. How infuriating. Organizing her small backpack, Xia Yin Chun swiftly removed her headphones, stowing them away to prevent Shin Yin from eavesdropping. Could you not be a tad gentler? Your demeanor is rather harsh. Before demanding gentleness from others, one must first embody it oneself, she retorted with irritation. Who claims I am not gentle? Shin Yin, agitated, gestured animatedly, asserting that they were a team. And whenever victory was near, they would console the opposing side with a pat on the head, signaling that losing was no cause for despair, and to persevere next time. Surely, that is gentle? Xia Yin Chun, who seldom played games, occasionally found herself struggling to keep pace with Shun Yin's banter. She instinctively believed this was not a favorable situation. Was she unfamiliar with Naruto? Did she not know Shin Yin well enough? From afar, the melodious tunes signaling the end of the school's midday break reached her ears. Shin Yin, who had never voluntarily listened to the vast sky, now could sing it almost fluently, along with the line about remaining unchanged as the same boy through the years. Her ears were becoming callous to it. The sun was glaring, causing her eyes discomfort. Where's the umbrella? Hand it over. I will hold it. You go out and bask in the sun. Don't despise me too much. My dear. Shin Yin was unwilling and insisted on sharing the umbrella with Xia Yin Chun, one hand holding it aloft while the other encircled her smooth shoulder. Let's now stay close. Who wants to be close to you? Not the pre-adolescent version of you. Absolutely not. Xia Yin Chun brushed her bangs aside, the soft strands partially concealing her flushed face. She felt a tinge of insecurity. What sort of person continually brings up childhood memories? She had merely made a mistake that every sister would inevitably commit. Did Shin Yin truly believe he was without fault during his own childhood? Chapter 061. Aside from frequent fights, there were no other conflicts. Stepping out from the air-conditioned room into the glaring sunlight felt akin to entering a furnace. Glancing at her phone revealed a sweltering 36 degrees Celsius. This is supposed to be autumn. We are nearing the end of the month, and October is fast approaching. When will the temperatures begin to cool? As they neared the school, Xia Yin Chun swatted away the hand that had been draped over her shoulder. The warmth from Shun Yin's embrace had been overwhelming, and her strap was nearly slipping off. She suspected Shin Yin was doing this on purpose, though she had no proof. Adjusting her strap, she instructed Shin Yin to retract the umbrella and quickened her pace, entering the school ahead of him. Shin Yin hurried to catch up, peering curiously. What is the matter? Why is your face so red? It's hot. I'm about to suffer from heat stroke. Splendid. When does the feast commence? You must remain ahead of me. Don't say anything more. The afternoon math exam was Shun Yin's forte. He completed most of it in just over an hour, though the final problem demanded a bit more time. The examination paper was crafted by the instructor with reference to other assessments, and the final question types were familiar to Shun Yin, who had practiced extensively and thus found the writing process quite effortless. Those who claim that the ocean of question strategy is ineffective surely have not engaged in sufficient practice. With the remaining time, a sense of leisure enveloped the atmosphere. On the podium stood Su Kashi, seemingly lost in thought. Shin Yin, too apathetic to lift his head to avoid the scrutiny of his wandering gaze, found an unexpected image of Xia Yanchun flashing in his mind. His thoughts silenced. He instinctively sniffed his palm. Indeed, the scent had faded. Why was this troublesome woman intruding upon my thoughts, disrupting my examination? Truly insidious. I shall deal with you tonight. The day following the examination, Shun Yin faced the rigorous combined science test in the morning and the English test in the afternoon. With a heart racing with excitement and hands trembling, he successfully demonstrated the fruits of his labor. The reading comprehension sections were now within his grasp, allowing for a direct translation of the words. This accomplishment surely warranted a minimum score of 100. How delightful. It seems I possess a bit of talent. Upon completing the tests, everyone transitioned into a state of relaxed reverie, spirited yet devoid of academic focus. After the day's exertions, it was evident that students sought relaxation. Understanding this sentiment, Tsukashi decided to screen a film during the evening study session. Feel free to suggest what you would like to watch. But it must embody positive energy. She reminded, knowing well that some boys in the class were excessively exuberant. The boys during high school truly exhibit a certain boisterousness. They had previously watched films, and when one suggested a tale of a woman and 7 men, Tsukashi's face turned pale with fright. Only to learn it was the fairy tale of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Teacher, let us watch Final Destination 6. A boy shouted, prompting laughter with its gruesome connotations. If it's not a gory horror film, perhaps we could consider it, but it must be uplifting. Godzilla vs. Kong. Another called out. No, let us select something that appeals to both boys and girls. Can't you all opt for an inspirational movie? Teacher, how about chasing dreams in the entertainment industry? Came a cheeky remark, resulting in a playful reprimand. That's off limits. Stand outside for 2 periods. Amidst the cacophony, a decision remained elusive. Consequently, Tsukashi opted for a film titled Bottom Tier Spice Girl, reminding everyone to keep the noise at bay before retreating to her office. The narrative of Bottom Tier Spice Girl was refreshingly straightforward, chronicling the journey of a rebellious girl on her path to redemption, suitable for audiences of all ages. As the classroom lights dimmed, a cinematic ambience enveloped the space. Shen Yan excused himself to the restroom. While many classes were engrossed in their films, a handful remained illuminated as they continued lessons. He silently mourned for them for 3 seconds. Having already seen the film at Xia Yanchun's home, he found no issue in watching it again. With a few snacks in his backpack, Shen Yan shifted his chair closer to Xia Yanchun, subtly signaling her to adjust her position. Move over. It's paramount that the 3 of us enjoy the film together. Why are you scooting over here? Xia Yanchun huffed, nearly encroaching upon Li Shiyan. With so many people in the class, why must you come closer? Are you lacking in modesty? I have snacks, of course. Watching a movie is far more enjoyable when we're seated together, is it not? Indeed. But she glanced at the couple seated a few tables ahead who had also changed their positions, and with her head lowered, she found herself at a loss for words. Li Shiyan's large eyes blinked playfully. Can I have a little too? Eat, don't be shy. All right. Xia Yanchun pinched Li Shiyan's hand. How did you yield so quickly? Have you forgotten how Shen Yan used to tease you? You have no ambition. Shen Yan, with his relentless persistence, attempted to squeeze closer, leaving Xia Yanchun at a loss. Especially confronted with such an unexpected alliance. Was this the price they had to pay for their joint attack on Li Shiyan last time? Go ahead, there's plenty. Shen Yan tore open a bag of chips and placed it between the two. He rubbed his hands and took a piece. You say it. Xia Yanchun also took a piece, munching contentedly. You two really have a great relationship. Li Shiyan adored this playful banter. She cherished this kind of sharp exchange. Who could understand? Not at all. Xia Yanchun had yet to finish her thought when Shen Yan interjected. It's not bad, aside from the frequent fights. There are hardly any conflicts. Li Shiyan, frequent fights? No conflicts? Is this still Chinese? Chapter 62, Class 31, Gao San, Kai Shukuan. During evening study, the classroom transformed into a sanctuary for couples. Bold boys had already pulled their chairs close to the girls, while the more timid exchanged glances and shared snacks, whispering sweet nothings. Naturally, Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun sat together, maintaining a perfectly normal classmate relationship. Did sitting next to someone of the opposite gender necessarily imply they were a couple? Were they to distort their friendship? The class was cheerful, but Shen Yan had already seen this movie. It was clear from the title that it followed a typical underdog storyline, and watching it again felt rather tedious. In contrast, Xia Yanchun was attentively watching the film. Haven't you seen this before? Just watching it again. Inspirational films are for underachievers. Aren't you bored? Such narrow-mindedness. The courage and strength conveyed by inspirational films transcend their audience. Fine, you enjoy the movie. I'll enjoy watching you. Xia Yanchun shot him a shy glare, wishing she could throw him into a coffin with a swift move. If she had said that at home, she would have considered it a loss if she didn't get the better of Shen Yan. But here at school, with so many people around, and with Li Shiyan sitting next to them, how could she dare? Though Shen Yan's voice was soft, Li Shiyan still heard him. Her gaze shifted from the multimedia screen to Shen Yan, scrutinizing him from head to toe. It seemed quite ambiguous. Their relationship appeared quite close. Frequent fights must surely mean that hitting was a form of affection, right? Hee, that's so delightful. What are you looking at? Show me your draft book. Shen Yan shot her a glance, adopting a mock stern northeastern accent. Oh, I threw it away. Li Shiyan trembled slightly, her courage wavering as she dared not eat the chips anymore. If just a glance from Shen Yan made her feel this way, how would it be if she looked longer? I don't believe it. Really, you better be careful. Shen Yan pointed at her, nearly bursting into laughter. After narrowly escaping, Li Shiyan decided to be more reserved, burying her head low like a shy fish, occasionally popping up a bubble, adorably so. When she teased her playfully in front of Xia Yanchun could only feel helplessly amused. Well, you two have disrupted my movie-watching experience. Xia Yanchun found herself caught in the middle, feeling quite out of place and wishing to give both a kick. If she were to aim at Li Shiyan, he would surely respond with a pitiful apology. If at Shen Yan, he would likely demand to be shoeless. Not only would she wear shoes, but also cleats. How amusing it is that rivals should maintain their distance, engaging in a battle of survival instead. Xia Yanchun seemed to revel in her delight, while Shen Yan merely rested his chin on his hand, discreetly shifting his fingers like a spider, gently hooking Xia Yanchun's pinky with his own. Startled, she quickly withdrew her hand to her chest, her eyes flashing with a murderous glare. The classroom was not particularly quiet. The back row where Shen Yan sat was relatively lively, with little attention or noise directed toward them. Ma Mingfan, feeling restless, had just glanced back at Xin Yan and was dismayed to find him cozying up to the class monitor, an unsettling revelation. Why was Xin Yan so close to the class monitor? He nudged Chen Dong, feeling incredulous about the situation. They often joked about driving a Land Rover. But did Xin Yan actually end up with one? How infuriating. Hadn't everything been fine? Perhaps it was merely that he and T noticed. Goodness. They had promised to share an affection for Xiao and Liang, hadn't they? Thankfully, there was still Chen Dong. What a relief. The notion of high school romance was something he scorned. He clapped Chen Dong on the back, reminding himself he was not alone. Indeed, a flirtation was sufficient. What was there to discuss? Chen Dong patted Ma Mingfan on the shoulder. Ma Mingfan responded, "What do you mean by that? Is this really high school in our country? Am I the only one experiencing such misery in my daily life? Enough. I feel a corn allergy coming on." In the latter half of the final class, Tsukashi returned to the classroom to discuss matters regarding the sports meeting. The day after the exams, classes would resume as normal in the morning, followed by rehearsals for the opening and closing ceremonies of the sports meeting in the afternoon. The opening ceremony would require preparations for performance activities at the stage. However, the performances bore no relevance to the senior students, who were too preoccupied with their studies to prepare for such events. Students were expected to wear class uniforms for the sports meeting, preferably with hats and umbrellas. Xin Yan hardly absorbed any of this information. He had no intention of participating in sports and preferred to observe from the sidelines, admiring the younger students. The class uniforms, purchased during their second year, had a somewhat Japanese aesthetic. The girls wore white short-sleeve shirts paired with brown skirts, while the boys donned white shirts with black trousers. Xin Yan had no idea where his uniform had ended up. The students in class were fairly animated, and surprisingly, some of the quieter first and second year students volunteered for various sports events. They sought to create unforgettable memories of their youth. After all, as one only experiences youth once. The school typically enforced uniform regulations, allowing students to opt out of wearing the full set, but forbidding them from wearing nothing at all. Only on the day of the sports meeting could they wear their skirts, which the girls who loved dresses cherished deeply. Xin Yan shared their enthusiasm for the sports meeting. The following day, Wednesday, Xin Yan awoke early, hastily searching for his class uniform. BYD purchased a set of class uniforms for 90 yuan, which he wore merely twice, incurring a significant loss. Unfortunately, the school mandates that each class must don their respective uniforms. Tossing the garments into the washing machine, Xin Yan stepped out, finding himself with little to occupy his morning. After a session of exercise, he returned just in time to hang the clothes out to dry. At the park, Xin Yan jogged along the city moat, initially believing that Chun Qiuyu's father, an avid fisherman, would have arrived early. To his surprise, there were even earlier risers. Before dawn broke, some individuals had already secured their spots and begun to bait their hooks. When Xin Yan grew weary from his run, he paused to observe the anglers. After half an hour of back and forth, he was disappointed to realize that no fish had bitten, while his own clothes had become notably damp. "Bro, I exercised early and even grabbed breakfast for you, so you owe me one," Chun Bao. On his way back, he lingered a bit. Upon opening the door, he coincidentally bumped into Xia Yin Chun. Xin Yan promptly handed over the breakfast, saying, "You go to school first today, I'll take a shower. Did you exercise?" Xia Yin Chun, noticing his sweaty appearance, could easily deduce the answer. "Yeah, bro, you're impressively dedicated. Alright, I'm off to school then." After finishing his shower, it was already 6:30. With travel time to school, he arrived just as the facial recognition entrance had closed. Latecomers were required to register their personal information at the gate. And if luck was unfavorable, they might encounter a school leader on site. Bad news, he was late. Worse news, he ran into a school leader. The administrator looked somewhat familiar, a bespectacled man with a square face, resembling someone he had seen before. As the late students approached the sign, Xin Yan's memory clicked. This leader was the very man who had purchased fish from him. Oh no, had I known he was a school leader, I would have charged him a 12% markup. The man recognized Xin Yan as well, his expression darkening. What a remarkable student we have from second high. Perhaps he should transfer to first high to preserve our school's reputation. Haha, do you remember me? I'm the one who sold you fish. You even complimented me, calling me a university student. Trying to get chummy, are we? The man's demeanor softened. I do remember. It was the first time I noticed you on campus. You seem familiar. It appears we are destined to cross paths. I shall deduct your class points at the original rate. Familiar indeed. How can someone in their 40s hold such a grudge? Xin Yan thought to himself, please don't come back to buy fish from me. I'll secretly raise the price. With no other options, Xin Yan quickly pinned down his personal information. The bespectacled man took a look, muttering, Kai Shuquan from class 31 of senior year 3, arriving late in your final year, quite unacceptable. Chapter 63. Unfortunately, despite searching every corner of the market, he could not find fish as delectable as those he once sold. When away from home, one's identity is self-assigned. In the first year, who was Xin Yan? A stranger. Hello, I'm Tang San. In the second year, who was Xin Yan? A stranger. Hello, I'm Jia Hao from class 11. In the third year, who was Xin Yan? A stranger. Hello, I'm Kai Shuquan from class 11. Next time, Xin Yan would simply be Alan Dyke from class 11. These school leaders surely couldn't recognize every student. Once the tardy list was submitted to the homeroom teacher, their responsibility ended there. Tsukashi was relatively easy to converse with, undoubtedly due to the familiarity between her and Xin Yan. When he arrived late, she would typically ignore him, occasionally uttering a few words as a mere formality. However, it wasn't as if he was perpetually tardy. There were days when various trivial matters caused delays. If he were to be as consistently late as Huang Chun, Tsukashi would certainly have taken him to the office for a reprimand. Indeed, Su Laosher is truly commendable. Yet, he was quite taken aback to discover that the bespectacled gentleman he encountered at the market was actually a school administrator. The head of the senior year was unknown to him, as Shen Yan hardly recognized the various leaders within the school, though he was acquainted with many of the teachers. The bespectacled gentleman adjusted his glasses, wearing a serious expression, pondering how this student could possibly belong to the second high school. One must admit, the fish he had purchased from that student previously was rather delectable, fresh, firm, and of exceptional quality. It would certainly be considered top tier at the fish market. His family relished it as well, and he recalled his daughter exclaiming about the fish at the time. This fish is simply of SSR caliber, utterly exquisite. Dad, this dish is truly fit for a national banquet. Not only did his daughter sing its praises, but his wife also extolled its virtues. He was the one who cooked at home, reveling in the compliments. After all, who among chefs wouldn't desire to be lauded for their culinary skills? Of course, his cooking was not lacking, but the high quality of the fish played a significant role. Regrettably, he had scoured the market without finding any fish that could compare. The thought of it made him somewhat envious. Could that fellow's fish possibly have been tampered with? A chilling thought indeed. I shall send the list to your homeroom teacher shortly. Ahem, do try not to be late again. You're in your final year now, and seem to lack the seriousness expected of students at this stage. He reflected on his own senior year, where he had diligently studied, even under the dimmest light, unlike the current students who seem so comfortable in their environment. Here comes the paternal lecture. Shen Yan felt a sense of admiration for himself, recalling how, during family gatherings for New Year's Eve, he could scarcely eat with a certain unaccomplished elder preaching beside him. Did the environment really used to be that harsh? Has it improved now? Perhaps next time you could come to buy fish from me. I'll give you a discount. The gentleman replied. What kind of person doesn't he feel the pressure? Most students would have already bowed their heads in submission. All right. We truly have an abundance of talent at the second high school, though it is somewhat remote. However, he acknowledged that there was a distinction to be made. Being late was one matter, while purchasing fish was another, and these two did not conflict. Ahem, Kaishukuan, when do you typically go to sell fish? The gentleman deliberately lowered his voice. Shen Yan responded, just joking, are you really going to buy? On Sundays. At the usual spot, I'll give you a discount. Leave me 2. Certainly, I'll save you 3. 2 will suffice, that's enough to eat. All right, I'll reserve the 2 best ones for you, at the usual time and place. The gentleman nodded in satisfaction. While he was indeed somewhat peculiar, he still possessed a sense of decorum. Seeing Kai Shukuan take the matter so seriously made him consider letting him off the hook. Alas, principles must be upheld. His cheerful demeanor transformed into a serious expression, resembling a stern countenance. Return to your studies. Should you be caught tardy again, I shall deduct points from your class. And the mobile red flag will be no more. Shen Yan's lips twitched as he nodded. On Sunday, my friend will sell you fish. I will ensure you receive a discount. Even a 12% discount is still a discount, he mused. If you're caught being late, my friend, just know that in our game of Do Di Zhu, we always start with our cards face up, so brace yourself for a super double. Upon entering the classroom, it had already descended into a state of early self-study, with half the students slumped in slumber, still entangled in the aftermath of their recent examinations. Although such occurrences were commonplace, the early study period was indeed conducive for catching up on sleep. Xia Yanxun sat upright at her desk, engrossed in her reading, her expression impassive, with a bottle of century egg and lean meat porridge, purchased by Shun Yan, resting on her desk. Without Shen Yan to attract attention, she hesitated to eat while walking. The adorable Li Shiyan rested her head on Xia Yanxun's shoulder, exhaling soft, warm breaths. Shun Yan stealthily entered through the back door, passing by Xia Yanxun's desk, his hands mischievously tugging at her fluffy ponytail. It was his daily task to tease her ponytail. Xia Yanxun cast him a cold glance, feeling a wave of exasperation wash over her. Look again, and I shall unfollow you. Xia Yanxun quickly averted her gaze. During the morning study session, the class representative roamed the classroom, reading aloud, while Shun Yan feigned concentration, holding his book open. Having completed their exams, they were left in suspense regarding the release of their results. The main storyline tasks still loomed ahead. The intermediate monsters represented the monthly exams. And judging by the current pace, the next main task would undoubtedly be the midterms, a considerable time away. Why did the system insist on prolonging this period? Lost in thought, the sound of reading suddenly escalated, snapping Shen Yan back to reality. He flipped through Climbing High while reciting the ode to the Apang Palace from memory, merely going through the motions. Such abrupt changes from silence to noise could only signal one possibility: the teacher had arrived. Sukashi strolled leisurely around the classroom, her presence amplifying the volume wherever she went, nodding approvingly at each desk. When she reached Shun Yan's side, she halted abruptly, her flat shoes clicking together. Class 3. Year 1, Kai Shukuan, where have you reached in your reading? Your book appears to be quite misplaced, she inquired. Teacher, I am Shun Yan. You must have mistaken me for someone else, he replied, feeling a trickle of sweat form on his brow. Please, continue to update. Chapter 064. Almost causing the literary girl to spark, Sukashi's expression darkened as she scrutinized Shun Yan, drawing the attention of those nearby. What Kai Shukuan? You must mean the little rascal, right? The fragrant fish is frying. It was evident that Shen Yan had been caught daydreaming, much to the amusement of others. Shen Yan braced himself for a couple of reprimands followed by some punitive writing. To his surprise, Sukashi pursed her lips, stifling a smile, seemingly unable to maintain her stern facade, before walking out of the classroom with a chuckle. Shen Yan mused, what peculiar amusement does BYD find in this? Just here to spook me, huh? Teacher Haji is truly something. He exhaled in relief, resolving to devote himself fiercely to his other subjects in the next language class. The morning was predominantly spent reviewing the monthly exam answers and discussing the questions, and Shun Yan's accuracy was commendably high. A perfect score was no longer his target, for his next goal would soar towards 120 points. In the afternoon, the sun cast a weary glow, coaxing the entire school to rehearse for the upcoming sports meets opening ceremony. The leader stood on the podium, casting a shadow, while the students below suffered under the sun's relentless glare. Yet, the leader continued to chatter incessantly, and some girls began to squint and shield their foreheads. On the verge of fainting, Xia Yanchun was enduring her menstrual cycle, and Xin Yan was concerned she might collapse, casting furtive glances at her during the rehearsal. After all, they had grown up together. Even a dog could evoke feelings, let alone Xia Yanchun, with whom he shared a deeper bond. After school, the girls in the class changed into their stylish uniforms, crisp white blouses, petite neckties, skirts, and polished shoes, embodying the essence of a minimalist JK aesthetic. Shen Yan and Chen Dong leaned over the railing in the corridor, surveying the girls passing by. For reasons unknown, Shen Yan felt that the girls in their class paled in comparison to those from other classes, lacking both allure and audacity. Some girls would dangerously hike their skirts to alarming heights, prompting a critical gaze from him. However, most girls dressed quite conservatively. Some classes donned merely ordinary short-sleeve shirts. And as he glanced at the short skirts from other classes, he felt a mix of envy and resignation, lamenting their inflexible homeroom teacher who was unwilling to invest in more appealing attire. Just then, Mom Mingfan arrived, leering at a passing girl in a Lolita outfit. If you were to traverse into the realm of cultivation, you would surely become a lecherous elder, Chen Dong quipped. Mom Mingfan retorted. I did not behave lewdly in front of her. And who are you to label me as such? Do you possess any evidence? Is it a crime to indulge in games instead of ogling those girls in skirts? Besides, is it lewd for a scholar to look? If others gaze upon me, why should I not return the favor? He waved his hand dismissively, declaring his intention to sever ties with Chen Dong and cease communication altogether, effectively unilaterally ending their friendship until the weekend. This was primarily because he had previously deleted a website in a fit of anger during his sage moments, and now needed to ask Chen Dong for it again. I concur with your sentiments, Shun Yan grinned, baring his teeth. See, Chen Dong, Shun Yan embodies the ideal model for our generation, a paragon of an exemplary high school student. All right, you two fools, Chen Dong interjected. You just slandered me, thus. You must treat us at the convenience store. Unable to resist, Chen Dong opted to be magnanimous. As Shun Yan followed them, he descended the stairs and encountered Lin Shiyuan, Li Shurian, and several other girls. Such high skirts, such fair stockings, such beautiful girls, he mused. Yet, as Chen Dong was indeed treating, the immediate priority was to extract a hefty sum from his friends before they returned to class to critique them. With a hurried glance, Shun Yan merely nodded in acknowledgement. Lin Shiyuan seemed poised to speak, but he had already dashed past her. What are you looking at? Let us go, urged one of the girls. The classroom was infused with the scent of shampoo, as the girls, having showered and not having time to dry their hair, preferred to let their hair down, allowing the air conditioning to dry it. The overpowering fragrance was scarcely distinguishable from an unpleasant odor, prompting Xin Yan to hastily open the window, instantly refreshing the air. The wind today is rather boisterous, and the setting sun casts a fiery glow across the clouds. Xin Yan harbors an uneasy premonition and instinctively turns his head, just as Chun Xiuyu approaches, leading to an exchange of glances. As Chun Xiuyu prepares to speak, Xin Yan preempts her, interrupting her spellcasting. May I inquire about your score on the mathematics monthly exams multiple choice section? I, stammered Chun Xiuyu, her lips pouting as she rubbed her eyes. Running off in a huff, feeling aggrieved, Xin Yan breathed a sigh of relief, grateful for his quick wits. He had nearly allowed Chun Xiuyu's foolishness to take center stage once more. During evening study, Sukashi made yet another appearance. Everyone, please settle down swiftly. The opening ceremony of the sports meet is tomorrow, and the school mandates a uniform dress code for the occasion. Students in the first and second years with performance programs are exempt, and those wishing to change outfits can do so after the closing ceremony. Tomorrow, we will distribute mobile phones. However, it is imperative that you do not neglect to cheer for your classmates participating in the competitions. Teacher, can students living off campus return to change as well? Xin Yan raised his hand. Is it possible for the teacher to delay you for just a moment? No ulterior motive. I merely wish to occupy your time a bit. Hee. Off-campus students must find their own solutions, the teacher replied. It is well known that off-campus students possess little autonomy. As long as they remain alive outside, they are deemed acceptable. After a lengthy discussion, Shun Yan hardly absorbed the details, ultimately focusing on selecting a class slogan for the opening ceremony. Sukashi, feeling somewhat lazy, decided to let the class collectively choose. The slogan, intended to be heard by the school leadership, should embody positive energy. Sukashi tapped the blackboard, recognizing Shun Yan's knack for creativity and his ability to uplift the class atmosphere, and called out his name. Shun Yan, come up with an uplifting slogan. Me? Shun Yan, who had been discreetly studying mathematics, looked up and pointed at himself. Is there anyone else in this class named Shun Yan? Teacher, I'm Kai Shukuan. You've mistaken me. Sukashi responded with a puzzled expression. What a mischievous child. In the morning, deliberately standing beside him to frighten him, Karma swiftly caught up with her. Although it brought amusement, the intention was achieved, and laughter erupted throughout the class, creating an unprecedentedly lively atmosphere. Ha ha ha, what a ridiculous Kai Shukuan. Do you dare insult my brother? What has my brother done to you? You'd best avoid eating chicken feet in the future. Why are you doing this? Xin Yan felt like a mere tool, utilized only when needed. Despite the slightly offbeat dynamics, it was inconsequential. The question remained whether the atmosphere remained vibrant. In today's chapter, Chapter 065. Brother, I truly like this. The following day, at the sports meet, Shen Yin returned from the park at 6 in the morning, having inadvertently spent time watching two stray dogs quarrel. After collecting his clothes and taking a shower, he donned his class uniform. Strangely, the outfit felt a bit shrunken. Standing before the mirror, he noted that the attire indeed radiated a youthful exuberance. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Normally, Shen Yin waits for Xia Yanchun, but today, it was Xia Yanchun who called for him. Upon receiving 2 messages from her, Shen Yin promptly sent back an emoji, laced his shoes, and stepped outside. Xia Yanchun had already been waiting outside for a while. It was clear that Shen Yin was a bit delayed, likely due to his workout routine. Every day, one might ponder the purpose behind such rigorous exercise. Shen Yin boasts a physique that is neither overly slender nor excessively plump, embodying a picture of health. She harbors no aspirations of becoming a fitness enthusiast. Her curiosity merely lies in understanding Shen Yin's motivations. It is indeed peculiar for a high school student to sacrifice precious sleep in favor of morning workouts. Typically, Shen Yin does not pay much heed to her appearance, opting for casual ensembles. As she steps out, Xia Yanchun cannot help but scrutinize her from head to toe, noting that she looks somewhat presentable. You know, just stepping out and already hurling insults at me, Shen Yin retorts playfully. If you keep this up, I might just have to throw a couple of punches your way. Forgive me this once. Her humor is evident, even as she jestingly implies that being scolded comes with the risk of a playful scuffle. You truly think I admire you, don't you? Well, until you show me your legs, I shall remain silent alongside my lawyer. What a rude woman, devoid of any manners. I might just turn you into a cream puff, Shen Yin quips back, casting a glance at Xia Yanchun. The latter's white short shirt accentuates her waist, while a petite skirt reveals her slender knees. Her skin appears as porcelain, seemingly dipped in cool water, and her ponytail, secured with a red hair tie, sways with her movements. The familiar, unadorned beauty of her face, devoid of makeup, resembles a freshly peeled lychee, exuding a subtle sweetness. Alas, my friends, I truly have taken a liking to this one, Shen Yin remarks, a hint of exhilaration in her tone. Not bad at all. What do you think? Xia Yanchun tosses her hair playfully, fully aware of her own beauty. Could you perhaps tone down the self-admiration? It was merely a polite comment. Shen Yin replies with a smirk, stealing a covert glance at Xia Yanchun's exposed calf. I'm off. I can't be bothered with you, she declares. Wait a moment. I bought you breakfast. As the sun rises, Shen Yin does not create much distance between herself and Xia Yanchun. She has a habit of playing with Xia Yanchun's hair. For without doing so, she feels a sense of unease. Goodness, your hair is as cold as ice, Shen Yin remarks. Xia Yanchun sips her warm soy milk through a straw, suddenly turning her head. The fluffy ponytail slips through Shen Yin's fingers, prompting confusion. What is it for? You'll help me move my chair to the playground, she states. Do you truly view me as your younger sibling? We are both adults, surely. One should display some sincerity, dear sister. Why do I get the feeling you are quite lewd? Shen Yin muses, stroking his chin. Shouldn't my persona be that of a cheerful and sunny boy? How did I become lewd? That's merely a stereotype. While it is true that I possess a certain roguish charm and have endured a tragic event, at my core, I remain a bright and jovial young man. I only ask for sincerity, not for you to disrobe. Even buying a bottle of water would suffice to demonstrate your earnestness. Xia Yanchun, you are simply too suggestive. You are the suggestive one. Xia Yanchun retorts, her eyes wide with indignation. Clearly, the impression you left on me was far from favorable. What impression did I leave you with? A perverted lecher. How so? You are entirely devoid of any modesty. During morning study, the school administration held a brief meeting, granting students an extended break of 25 minutes. Xia Yanchun seized the opportunity to purchase a bottle of chilled cola and placed it on Shen Yin's desk. Upon returning from the restroom, Shen Yin's expression soured. Who left a mess on my desk? I don't need this. Xia Yanchun crossed her arms defiantly, stating, I bought it, and whether you drink it or not is inconsequential. However, you are obliged to help me move my chair. Is this a forced sale? What difference does drinking cola make compared to red stones? As Ma Ming Fan at the front desk perked up, his ears twitching, he turned with a grin, his tone unexpectedly obsequious. I love Chishi. Please don't give me any. Shen Yin, Xia Yanchun, Chendong, Chinchiu, who had just brought a cup of water, silently turned his head as well. What sensational news. Are boys this explicit? I'm talking about cola. Surely you all know that, right? The very bottle in Shen Yin's hand. Don't look at me like that. You must know I'm referring to cola, right? I'm not into Chishi. Let me explain. Bro, I believe you, Chendong said, his gaze profound as he patted Ma Mingfan's shoulder. Believe what? What kind of gaze is that? Laughter erupted. Xia Yanchun was bewildered. How could boys even speak of loving Chishi so openly? After 2 study sessions, the intermission bell rang, and Xia Yanchun began outlining the guidelines from the podium, instructing everyone to line up orderly, following the rehearsed sequence down the stairs. As the class leader, Xia Yanchun stood at the front, holding the class sign. Each class was organized to enter in an orderly fashion, parading across the stage while facing the leaders to chant slogans. The first and second year students needed to prepare additional performances, primarily dance routines. And it was time for the elite of the last row to step up. With Taishan Kyo and Lightning 5 whips, even the host could not suppress a chuckle, though they were required to follow their performance with some uplifting words of encouragement. Next came the first year class 5, marching with youthful strides and spirited enthusiasm. First year class 4. First year class 4. Just kidding. I'm from class 5. Their slogan resonated with determination, proclaiming their intent to win the sports meet. Following them was first year class 6, chanting, class 6. Class 6, you have one more class than class 5. Their slogan was vibrant, showcasing the boundless energy of youth. Shen Yan, where's the resonance? Where's the boundless energy? I must inquire. Is it amusing? I only see an abstract star, the school leaders looking grim, and the host in utter despair, nearly breaking into laughter. If the host laughs during the presentation, their career will be at an end. Sorrow, who wrote these lines? I suggest next time. Slogans should undergo a review process. The slogans from the second and third years were significantly more conventional, filled with aspirations of victory and hard work, certainly uplifting. This year, the first-year students worked hard on their designated areas. Let the second-year students take over next year. Chapter 66. Sunlit Aishidao Shun Yin's class slogan was quite standard. Chosen by Tsukashi, after all. One mustn't underestimate the brilliance of the so-called genius retirement home. After all, genius and average are two entirely different entities. The opening ceremony followed its course, and after the leaders delivered their grand speeches, each class began to disperse in an orderly manner. Every class had its own camp area for athletes to rest and store their belongings. Simply 4 chairs, with some unfortunate classes finding their camp under the sun, forced to rely on awnings for a shade. Shen Yin was rather fortunate. The camp was nestled under the shade of trees, attracting many girls from the class who gathered to sit. Those who could not find a spot opted to sit on the ground, as girls, unlike boys, found it less convenient to stand. Some girls chose to bring their chairs down to avoid the hassle of competing for seats. Xia Yanxun had this idea in mind. She was too lazy to make another trip to the classroom, and this was where the benefits of having a younger brother came into play. A younger brother was indeed quite convenient. With a significant age gap, a few snacks could easily placate him, and for those of a similar age, a few playful arguments could achieve the same result. What was the underlying code of sibling dynamics? This was a lesson taught to her by Shen Yu. Though as Shen Yin grew older, such tactics became less effective. After all, they weren't blood-related, unlike Shen Yu, who could command him with ease. Having accepted a bottle of cola from someone, Shen Yin went to fetch a chair for Xia Yanxun, but instead of her chair, he took the one from his vacant deskmate. On his way, he happened to encounter Ma Mingfan, who had bought himself a bottle of cola. Hey Shen Yin, got a new phone. I switched it out at the end of last semester, Shen Yin replied, balancing the chair with one hand while smiling. How much was it? About 2008. And what about the old one? Left it at home. Bid, you're trying to pry for information, right? Your little tricks are quite effective. Shen Yin playfully kicked Ma Mingfan, engaging in their usual banter. Upon noticing the cola in Ma Mingfan's hand, he teased, you really do love cola. Get lost. Cola is just better, okay? Pepsi doesn't tea compare. It's only fit to serve cola. Ma Mingfan lamented, wondering who had mentioned liking Redstones earlier that morning, feeling conflicted. I only said that because I thought you didn't tea drink it. Then I ended up saying it. And you didn't tea even share your cola. As Ma Mingfan pondered, his frustration grew, feeling that his reputation was tarnished after being overheard by countless others, and he sensed the peculiar gazes from the girls during their morning classes. Shen Yin moved the chair to the class campsite, feeling a sheen of sweat form at his collar, which clung uncomfortably to his chest. In contrast, Xia Yanxun sat at the table, swinging her little feet with a small fan in hand, her hair fluttering gently, looking pristine. As Shen Yin placed the chair down, he extended his hand toward her. Give me a breeze. It's Shiyan's. Shen Yin then stood before Li Shiyan, tilting his chin towards Xia Yanxun. You wouldn't want me to call you lowly girl in front of so many people, would you? Li Shiyan seemed to grasp the situation. Caught between the mystery of her physiological state and the formidable Shen Yin, she found herself in a dilemma. Should she favor the mystery or herself? She opted for the former. Little Chun needs the fan more. You, just bear with it. All right, next time there are chips, I'll share with everyone but you. Li Shiyan felt as if the sky had fallen, pouting with a sense of injustice. Unable to reach the ground with her feet, growing anxious. You're truly terrible, she remarked. Xia Yanxun offered her fan, promising to replace it if she broke it. Thanks. The little fan was quite exquisite, with a press of a button. It could even emit a fine mist, providing a refreshing breeze. Shen Yin settled himself beside Li Shiyan, with Xia Yanxun on the other side. The camaraderie among the three was the essence of their days. Li Shiyan felt a flutter of anxiety, wedged between the two, fearing that Shen Yin might suddenly resume his teasing. In a playful scenario, Shen Yin would undoubtedly be the father, Xia Yanxun the mother, while she would be the dog gnawing on a bone, caught in an awkward position. Fortunately, there were no furtive glances exchanged between Shen Yin and Xia Yanxun. Otherwise, she would be overwhelmed with envy. Li Shiyan, if you had to choose between Tsinghua University and 100 million, which would it be? Shen Yin suddenly posed the question. Definitely 100 million, she exclaimed, relieved, recalling that she had encountered this dilemma a decade ago. While elementary students might prioritize education, believing that graduating from Tsinghua would guarantee wealth, she, as a high school student, recognized that securing 100 million was a safe bet. Are you an elementary student? Shen Yin chuckled. Who even mentioned education? I meant Tsinghua University. An entire institution holds far more value than a mere 100 million. Oh. Engaging with Shen Yin felt increasingly juvenile. She had transitioned from a high school student to a young girl, and now, it seemed, she was regressing to an elementary student. Who knew she might even become a little girl in the future? Li Shiyan bit her lip in silence, clutching Xia Yanxun's hand, lost in her thoughts. During the sports meet, many were preoccupied with their phones. The sun was mild at that hour. The real heat would come in the afternoon, as autumn still held a fervent warmth. Shen Yin glanced around, noticing Ma Mingfan and Chun Dong had wandered off to watch the events. The boys in the camp were few, several huddled together enjoying a game of 8 treasure porridge, with occasional shouts of expletives cutting through the air. Shen Yin, uninterested in the game, found the atmosphere rather dull. It wasn't that he particularly wished to converse with the girls. Rather, they were the only ones available to talk to. With idle time on his hands, he surveyed the girls around him, noticing many had adorned themselves with makeup. Even Li Shiyan had a subtle hint of eyeshadow, which he had initially overlooked. You girls brought cosmetics to school? He inquired. Li Shiyan blinked, shaking her head softly. It was Shiyuan who did our makeup. There won't be anything happening these few days anyway. Goodness, you applied eyeshadow? He remarked, impressed. Indeed, she replied, a tad shy, feeling a mix of embarrassment and pleasure. Before her cheeks could flush, Shen Yin directed his attention to the nearby girls, complimenting their eyeshadow as well, even praising those a little farther away. Relieved, Li Shiyan thought that if he had only complimented her, it might have seemed overly intimate. She wasn't certain if intimate was the right word. But singling someone out felt odd. Collectively praising them made it merely a platitude. Ordinary individuals wouldn't typically shower compliments on girls they held no affection for. Thankfully, Shen Yin was exceptional in this regard, ensuring that everyone received equal praise, thereby avoiding any awkwardness. This was undoubtedly a reason he could effortlessly mingle with girls, engaging in typical friendly banter, whether it be praise or playful teasing. Just then, a few girls beside Xia Yanchun joined hands and headed off to watch the competition. And Shen Yin swiftly squeezed in beside Xia Yanchun. Your secrets are intriguing, but now they belong to me, he said, casting a penetrating glance. Xia Yanchun remained composed as she scrolled through Xia Hongshu. Upon glancing at the title, handling the skeleton and bloodstains of a 1.8-meter animal, a guide for baby food and adorable pets, Shen Yin chuckled, realizing it referred to a creature of that height. He had initially thought it pertained to him. The young girl seemed quite intrigued. Perhaps weary of being scrutinized, Xia Yanchun furrowed her brows and muttered, what are you looking at? I haven't even applied eyeshadow. Who says you haven't? Shen Yin retorted, a hint of mischief in his tone. What do you mean? Xia Yanchun questioned, a puzzled expression crossing her face. Come with me. She followed Shen Yin out from beneath the rustling leaves, stepping into the bright sunlight that bathed her slightly bewildered face. Shen Yin grinned, directing a small fan towards her, and gently brushed his finger against her eyelid. Who says you have none? It looks lovely, sunshine-colored eyeshadow. Let us feed Chuanbao a little encouragement for updates. Chapter 67. The older the joke, the more poetic it becomes. The sunlight poured down without restraint, kissing the young girl's softly closed eyelids. The golden glow flowed along the curve of her eyelids, blooming into a warm, natural eyeshadow that even dusted her brow with a subtle shimmer. Xia Yanchun's lashes fluttered, creating ripples of light and shadow beneath her eyes, as if to infuse the last warmth of early autumn into her unadorned face. Wow, sunshine-colored eyeshadow, how beautiful. Just kidding. You look lovely without it as well. With my height of 1.8 meters, I have an older sister and a childhood friend from high school who looks quite comfortable. Shen Yin gave a thumbs up. You're a bit cheesy, Xia Yanchun said, lowering her long lashes, her bangs delicately obscuring her gaze. Seriously, with such romance, you still can't win her over? Shen Yin mused, pinching his chin. Oh no, this cunning woman has her defenses high. Well, rather than all this nonsense, it would be more practical to invite me to lunch. Wasting a bro's affections. How can there be no response to such romance? Isn't that the same as being ungrateful? Where's the gratitude? Where's the loyalty? Where's the romance? That's none of your concern. You speak of ingratitude, yet tell me to disregard the concepts of gratitude and loyalty? How amusing. Xia Yanchun crossed her arms, snorting softly. Do you really think some clever words can win a girl over? Have you read too many wish fulfillment novels? Even having grown up together, while I know your depths, you cannot simply take advantage of me. I've already been quite indulgent with you, even allowing you to sleep on the floor at my home and play with my hair. Fine, you want to see my legs, right? Here, take a look. Xia Yanchun deliberately stretched her legs forward, her skirt rising just above her knees, exposing her fair calves. Who says I want to let you see? Generally, when one shows legs, it's the thighs we're talking about. Let us find a secluded spot. Aren't calves still legs? And when you eat chicken legs, you better not be picky about the drumsticks. That is quite a reasonable argument. It's impossible not to eat drumsticks when having chicken. Stalemate. With Xia Yanchun's high offense and defense, how is this any different from battling a boss? Your reasoning is sound. Shen Yin bowed playfully, retreating, and thought that this retreat might last a lifetime. What an abstract situation. Do you want purple clay? No, I'm off to see the junior. Let us go? Pippy shrimp. Shen Yin clutched a small fan and dashed away, leaving Xia Yanchun disheveled in the wind. What an absurdity. Xia Yanchun, filled with inexplicable anger, plopped down beside Li Shiyan. She wore safety shorts under her skirt, which was long enough that she didn't mind the risk of exposure. Thus her movements were more unrestrained. The sun still hung in the sky, casting a blue hue over the heavens and fluffy white clouds drifting lazily. After venting her frustration, her mood surprisingly mirrored the serene sky. Absently, she touched her upper eyelid and realized just how gentle Shen Yin had been earlier. Xiao Chun, your face is so red. Li Shiyan remarked, playfully pinching Xia Yanchun's soft cheeks, which were indeed warm. What did Shen Yin say to you? Just infuriating me, Xia Yanchun replied, pursing her lips as she gently tucked a stray hair behind her ear. Oh, that annoying Shen Yin, always teasing girls. Li Shiyan exclaimed indignantly, giving Xia Yanchun's equally flushed ears a playful pinch, suddenly feeling a wave of sympathy for her friend. She recalled how Shen Yin had dragged Xia Yanchun into the sunlight, only for her to return with a crimson face, clearly agitated. She shook her small fist, declaring, Shen Yin is taking advantage of our shared hometown to bully you. It's utterly despicable. I should punch him and make him eat 2 pounds of dung tonight. Meanwhile, Shen Yin wandered around. Despite the presence of several attractive classmates in cosplay, he hardly paid them any attention. He was searching for Ma Mingfan. who was eager to engage in solo play but figured it best to avoid the underclassmen who didn't play Naruto. The sun blazed fiercely, and he was grateful for Li Shiyan's small fan. Otherwise, he would have melted away. Beside the stage were large concrete steps meant for seating. But due to the intense heat, students congregated in the shaded areas. Shen Yan soon found Ma Mingfan and Chun Dong in the midst of the throng. "Shall we start a game?" he proposed. "Here? Isn't that a bit inappropriate?" Ma Mingfan hesitated, glancing around at the many underclassmen nearby. "If we play Naruto, we might attract unwanted attention. It's too private a matter. I declare you a rogue ninja, expelled from the village. You are unworthy to inherit the will of fire." Ma Mingfan fell silent, a pang of anguish gripping his heart. A recent poll on Zaihanshu suggested that boys who played Naruto had low emotional intelligence, ranking only slightly above the boys in Baidu Tieba in terms of unpopularity. Yet, he dismissed this as non-authoritative. Why was it that Shen Yan could indulge in both Naruto and Baidu Tieba while seamlessly integrating with the girls in their class, occasionally even posting on the confession wall? It felt unjust. Perhaps he was simply too reliant on his looks. Without superior modeling, one must sacrifice certain aspects. Although he resembled Sasuke, who would wish to be a rogue ninja, if not for the notorious reputation of rogue ninjas? "I merely wish to befriend the underclassmen. Is there anything wrong with that?" "A rogue ninja is still a rogue ninja," Chen Dong interjected. "Indeed, those who betray their village cannot be forgiven, regardless of their reasoning." All right. I've turned to the dark side." Shen Yan jested in a dramatic tone, "the great Orochimaru. Fool, come face me in a duel. I'll crush you." Feeling slightly dizzy from his phone heating up, Shen Yan decided to log off. He appeared calm and collected, though he was actually feeling a bit flustered. After being patted on the head for 30 minutes, he wouldn't have dared to allow such familiarity while playing Sylvie. He yearned for an offline competition, regaining his confidence as Ma Mingfan stood tall and proud. "Today my spirits are low, so do not take pride in it. We are merely engaged in a friendly match. And while you mock me online, I sense that our friendship is perhaps best left unacknowledged. During our sophomore year, I treated you to a choco pie. Do find a moment to reimburse me." Shen Yan maintained a stoic expression. "Damn it, are you a gentleman versed in the 6 arts? This is rather stale humor." Ma Mingfan's lips twitched, his toes practically digging into the ground. Shen Yan raised his index finger, shaking it gently, and remarked, "Some prefer youthful maidens, while others are drawn to mature women. Humor is no different, growing more flavorful with age." How profound indeed. If one does not consume Jean Cola, Africa's agriculture will remain underdeveloped. "You seem to have an affinity for the elderly." By noon, Shen Yan caught a glimpse of the freshman relay race, but spent the majority of his time engaging in light-hearted banter with Ma Mingfan and Chun Dong. He was not particularly invested in the athletic events of his class, only recently discovering that Chun Dong had signed up for the triple jump. "I assure you, I will not make you laugh in the sand pit, rest assured," Shen Yan said, patting his chest, thinking of brotherhood. "To be honest, your words make me doubt." With his uneven eyes, Shen Yan pondered, "Who depleted my ant credit score?" Chapter 068. Is the world's best childhood sweetheart serious? During the lunch break, the playground fell silent. Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun opted to dine off campus. Xia Yanchun needed to change her sanitary pad, so she took a shared electric bike home and decided to nap there. Shen Yan, not feeling drowsy, seized the opportunity to visit a nearby bike shop, intending to select his very first vehicle. Gradually transitioning to an electric bike was a commendable choice. Soon, he would be escorting Chun Bao to and from school daily. Xia Yanchun had yet to fall asleep. She lay on her side, her head buried in the pillow, a teddy bear clutched between her legs. With no one around, she had tossed her little skirt onto the desk. In this rare, private moment, she relished a comfortable afternoon nap in her room. The curtains were drawn open, and sunlight streamed through the glass, causing her to squint. What a shade of sunshine for eyeshadow. How could one be so blind? Wait. Xia Yanchun tightened her grip on the teddy bear, which seemed to be lifeless. She regretted having bought it from a shoddy factory. When had Shen Yan become so adept at this? It wasn't until her phone's alarm rang that she realized she had hardly slept after lying down. Her thoughts were consumed by Shen Yan. It was all his fault for creating such a distraction with his sunlit eyeshadow. Her heart raced a little faster, and she hummed, struggling to rise. Perhaps later, she could use her menstrual moodiness as an excuse to give him a playful pinch. In the afternoon, Xia Yanchun tied her familiar ponytail as Shen Yan teased her incessantly, causing her irritation to dissipate. "Stop it, I might go bald. Do you dare not play with your own hair?" Xia Yanchun retorted, playfully threatening to pull his hair to style a little figure. What a vixen, she thought silently, accustomed to his antics. Just as she retrieved her sunshade from her bag, Shen Yan shamelessly squeezed in beside her, one hand resting on her shoulder, which raised suspicions of inappropriate behavior. "What are you doing? Does a real man also hide from the sun like a delicate flower?" Xia Yanchun slightly pursed her lips. If her shoulder strap were to slip, she would firmly pinch Shen Yan's waist. Shen Yan cast a sidelong glance, exclaiming, "What a stereotype of masculinity. Who says boys can't hold a sunshade? You said it yourself." Xia Yanchun retorted. "Some people, when they were young, love to show off, claiming that those who hold sunshades are effeminate, running out to bask in the sun even when there's shade. Such words could only come from an extraordinary handsome man, or an absolute fool. Chun Bao, let us coexist harmoniously. Must you be so confrontational about gender? Then could you refrain from rubbing my shoulder? This is not aggressive behavior. You've had your say. And what can I possibly add?" Annoyed, Xia Yanchun brushed off his hand from her shoulder, her expression reflecting indignation. "You're making me feel unwell." Shen Yan smiled reassuringly, feeling a warmth in his heart. "Here, just bought this." He pulled out a pure white fan from his backpack, pressing a button. Warm air began to blow through Xia Yanchun's hair. "It's for you," he said. "Did you break Shi Yan's?" No, I just stashed it in my bag. I'll return it shortly. I bought one for myself too. It's not right for you to borrow from that little girl every day. I suppose you have a bit of conscience. With a blooming heart, Xia Yin-chun felt a warmth enveloping her, secretly curling the corners of her lips. A small cloud had obscured the sun, as if the heavens were looking after her. On their way, they spoke little, and Shun Yin's hand, unbeknownst to her, found its way back to her shoulder, occasionally twirling a strand of her hair with his fingers. The umbrella remained steady in his other hand, perhaps to accommodate her menstrual period. This time, the umbrella was perfectly aligned, and she found herself directly in its center. Silly Shun Yin, it's just a menstrual period. Not cancer. It's not as debilitating as you think. This time, she noticed that clinging to his shoulder made her strap easily slip. Even without Shun Yin making any movements, she felt it sliding down her arm. I misjudged you, Shun Yin, in a moment devoid of any hostility. If a perfect childhood friend truly existed, it would be someone like him. At school, they arrived early. The playground was nearly empty, with only the two of them present in their class camp. Xia Yin-chun sat on her chair, stretching her legs, drowsily wishing to sleep. It was all Shun Yin's fault for bouncing around in her mind during midday. Shun Yin, bored, began comparing their skin, their finger lengths, and who could hold their gaze longer. All challenges were silent, a rivalry where a mere glance was enough to spark competition, as if failing to determine a victor would be catastrophic. Shun Yin rested his chin on his hand, openly admiring Chun Bao's calves, then stretched his own to compare, chuckling. My legs are longer than yours. Well, aren't you impressive, Shun Yin? She replied with a small yawn, her eyes growing heavy with sleepiness. Quan, little blackie, right? I think I've discovered your underlying code. Life is not easy, Chun Bao sighed. After a brief silence, Xia Yin-chun nonchalantly spoke again. You mentioned on your phone that you wanted us to be the best childhood friends ever. Was that sincere? Was it merely an excuse to come to my room to bask in the air conditioning? Shin Yin was momentarily taken aback, baring his teeth as he inquired. Are you really that concerned? Not particularly, she replied, as the thought crossed her mind. You've seemed rather peculiar lately. In what way? She pondered, unable to articulate. Then speak of the market, he suggested. It's just odd, she continued. Previously, we were arch-rivals, constantly at odds, although it feels somewhat similar now. It lacks that sharp edge. At the very least, one cannot truly call it enmity anymore. She was even referred to as Chuanbao, a title she had never dared to imagine. Who is your darling? I am your elder sister. Furthermore, Shen Yin's recent excessive diligence, studying and exercising, coupled with his inexplicable request for her hair tie, made it difficult not to perceive a certain strangeness. You have been so industrious lately, it's not like you. I have awakened my second personality, take a look at my legs. And there it is again, Shen Yin retorted, so, I must be lewd? If I'm not. It seems I'm not myself, is that it? Is striving for improvement also a fault? My friend, it seems I'm succumbing to corn syndrome. Xia Yin Chuan withdrew her legs, bending her upper body, her delicate white hands tugging at the grass beneath her, soft as a kitten. Indeed, you are quite concerned. I have seen through you. Shen Yin, uncertain whose chair he was sitting on, leaned closer with a silly grin. Ah, so you are just being tsundere, huh? You should audition for China's Got Talent instead of studying here. It's such a waste of your talents. A few girls, chatting and laughing, arrived at the class campsite, abruptly halting their conversation. The small fan buzzed softly as autumn breezes stirred, causing a flurry of leaves to tumble into a chaotic swirl. Chapter 069, We Don't Argue. We are the best of friends. Shun Yin sat alone in the cool shade behind the stage, fingers intertwined, resting against his knees and chin. Reminiscent of a thinker contemplating on a throne. His expression flickered between clarity and confusion. An unfamiliar classmate suddenly bumped into him, repeatedly apologizing. Coming back to reality. Shin Yin stood and brushed off his pants. He realized that he seemed to be rather enjoying the flirtation with Xia Yinchuan. It was difficult to discern whether this was a positive development, let alone a negative one. Given the circumstances, he decided to relish his youth. Strolling around the playground, Shin Yin found himself intrigued by the sports meeting. He even ventured to observe other class camps, recognizing some teachers. Yet upon spotting a certain history teacher from the Genius Retirement Home, he took a detour to the small shop. The Kando bubble drink, priced at 8 yuan, was something he hesitated to purchase at school without the system. It was delightful, yet excessively costly. Upon returning to his class campsite, he found it bustling with students. The girls, adorned in elegant attire, included some in little dresses that appeared scholarly from a distance, yet up close revealed a hint of youthful naivety. Senior year is a curious stage, a year less childish and a year more mature. Some first-year students even chuckle at their past selves from just a year ago. During this period, one is most imaginative, optimistic, impassioned, and astute, yearning for a sweet romance while immersed in relentless study, and desiring a clandestine relationship at the very moment when one ought to be fervently pursuing academic endeavors. In a lighthearted manner, Shun Yin diligently focused on his studies without engaging in romantic entanglements, maintaining a normal classmate relationship that allowed for a harmonious balance. It seemed that everyone lacked enthusiasm. They had already vented their stress earlier in the morning and were now solely intent on resting before the National Day holiday. Half of the class was crammed into a small camping area, with the boys graciously yielding their seats to the girls, while they themselves settled on the grass. A deck of playing cards, brought by an unknown individual, drew a lively crowd, with several people gathered around, creating a ruckus. The astute boys had cleverly pretended to gather around the cards while subtly inching closer to the girls they admired. Shun Yin's attention was drawn to a girl in the corner, wearing sunglasses and sipping on a Wangzai milk drink, exuding a gentle and intellectual aura. He could only think of one person he knew who didn't drink Wangzai. Hello, teacher. Shun Yin cheerfully approached and plopped down beside Yin Yuzhu. You little rascal. Yin Yuzhu chuckled, having been seated there for half an hour, during which only Shen Yan had greeted her, while the other boys merely cast furtive glances. It was no wonder they said Shen Yan was extraordinary. Teacher, have the monthly exam scores been released? He inquired. Today the system just finalized the scores. They will be recorded tomorrow, Yin Yuzhu replied, adding, Shen Yan has made remarkable progress this time. How many points? 3 digits, she teased, holding up 3 fingers, leaving a hint of suspense. What? It was expected, yet still surprising. Shen Yan had estimated his score to be in the 3-digit range. But knowing it was his first time achieving such a score in English still left him momentarily astonished. His efforts of daily study had indeed paid off. Yin Yuzhu giggled, covering her mouth, feeling a bit embarrassed for Shen Yan, and then coughed lightly. It's all thanks to the teacher. One cannot attribute it solely to me. If Shen Yan had not exerted effort, my study plan would have been of little use. Scoring so high is entirely due to your own capabilities. I merely offered a small amount of assistance, which was optional. Teacher, your words are truly delightful. I appreciate it. Anticipation grew as they awaited the exam results. Looking forward to receiving rewards from the system and embarking on another main storyline. Life was becoming increasingly promising. During evening self-study, Shen Yan took it upon himself to return Xia Yanchun's chair to the classroom. As is well known, the atmosphere during these activity days was hardly conducive to studying. Who wouldn't prefer a game of Go? Those skilled in crafts had already begun to fashion their own chess pieces. Shen Yan hesitated whether to join in, noticing Xia Yanchun trimming her nails. He whistled, striking a pose reminiscent of a spirited youth trying to charm a girl. Xia Yanchun glanced at him. But when he remained silent, she continued to focus on her nails, the crisp sound of the clippers echoing softly in the classroom. Recently, while Xia Yanchun was asleep, Shen Yan had observed her hands. Her nails were not long at all, making him ponder the extremes of girls' nail lengths, either adorned with elaborate designs or cut very short. Come here, let us play Go. Shen Yan beckoned with a finger. Ma Mingfan turned around. Me? You think too highly of yourself? Go away. Still irked, he thought. Was it such a big deal that I only touched your head for half an hour? He was merely not in a good mood. Otherwise, he might have retaliated. Can't handle it, huh? Ma Mingfan obediently turned back, grinning at Shen Yan's growing impatience, which only seemed to amuse him further. Covering his face, he peered through his fingers, muttering something inaudible. Shen Yan replied, I can't be bothered to argue. I'm busy playing Naruto. Before long, silence enveloped the classroom. The grade director lingered at the window for approximately 10 seconds, nodding in affirmation of the tranquility before continuing his patrol down the corridor. Initially, the classroom had been quite raucous, prompting the director to reappear at the window. In this modern age, even school leaders have acquired new skills, returning to catch students off guard in utter silence. Minutes passed in quietude until a curious head peeked out to gather intelligence, and once assured of the director's departure, the classroom gradually erupted into noise. Hearing similar commotion from other classes, everyone felt reassured. After school, Shen Yan walked alongside Xia Yanchan, purchasing 2 skewers of grilled meat along the way. This time, Shen Yan generously offered 1 skewer to Xia Yanchan. Why were you ignoring me earlier? I was bored to death, Shen Yan complained. If the evening self-study before the holiday isn't used for playing Gamoku, then that session was utterly pointless. Xia Yanchan replied. If you whistle, who knows what you're up to? I thought you were just some spirited youth by the roadside. I already said I wanted to play Gamoku. Shen Yan retorted. I didn't hear you, nor did I want to play. I was engrossed in my reading. Studying is paramount. What were you reading? Youth Digest. Isn't that still an extracurricular book? It's just casual reading. Who says that? Youth Digest is actually recommended by the school and can help accumulate material for essays. Shen Yan pondered this and realized it was indeed true. In a school where even how the steel was tempered could be confiscated as an extracurricular book, Youth Digest was available for direct subscription. With nothing more to say, Shen Yan playfully tucked a strand of hair behind Xia Yanchan's ear, revealing her fair and delicate face. He then let his hand rest on her arm, giving her a gentle embrace. Chun Bao is like a soft, sweet cotton candy, even softer than the clouds above. Shen Yan's unexpected embrace made Xia Yanchan shiver slightly. If it were during a shared umbrella moment, she could understand, as neither wished to be drenched by the rain. But tonight, with no rain in sight, the motive behind Shen Yan's embrace was too obvious. Wishing to scold him, Xia Yanchan shot Shen Yan a glare, but he interrupted her thoughts, speaking first. Honestly, what I said back then was sincere. I truly wanted to share your air conditioning, and I genuinely don't wish to argue with you daily. And then, Xia Yanchan paused, contemplating. If Shen Yan failed to say something endearing, she would certainly deliver him a punch. We won't argue. We are the best in the world. You can't just say you don't want to argue while touching me, can you? Shoo, let us just be the best in the world, shall we? It's merely a normal physical interaction. Shen Yan's expression was earnest, devoid of pretense. In chapter 070, Chun Bao's 3 moves, Shen Yan was truly serious about not wanting to argue. Tired of a life filled with conflict, he yearned for a peaceful existence. Was this a difficult aspiration? Not at all, my friend. The path of confusion is not far. Realized today is different from yesterday. Shen Yan recalled the pain of being suppressed by 2 empresses in the past. Now, as fortune would have it, he had chosen not to retaliate but instead to coexist peacefully. Is this spirit of selflessness not precious? As for why his hand rested upon Xia Yanchan's arm, that was inconsequential, a natural gesture, common among people. Let go. All right. Xia Yanchan shifted her feet, creating some distance from Shen Yan. The warmth from the arm Shen Yan had touched still lingered. She hummed, uncertain of what to say, feeling an unprecedented inadequacy in her verbal skills. Bao, say something. Shen Yan's voice took on a high pitch, reminiscent of someone caught in a compromising situation. Ugh, how disgusting. Xia Yanchun initially intended to feign a gagging expression but restrained herself, fearing Xin Yan would claim she was pregnant again. She pursed her lips and raised a finger, declaring, "You claim you don't want to argue with me, but in reality, you're merely seeking an excuse to take advantage. Your reasoning lacks any persuasiveness. After this instance, there will inevitably be another quarrel. Then if I don't argue, can I touch? Get lost." At that moment, it became evident that Xin Yan was insincere. She would rather believe Xin Yan relished excrement than think he genuinely wanted to coexist peacefully with her. The notion of being the best in the world? It requires a modicum of sincerity. At the very least, he should refrain from incessantly provoking her. To speak of not quarreling while simultaneously inciting anger is utterly contradictory. If this is what it means to be the best in the world, she would prefer to be Xin Yan's greatest adversary instead. This is not the kind of excellence I desire. I outright reject it. I am serious, Xin Yan replied, standing at attention. Then you must show some sincerity. At the very least, let me perceive your determination, Xin Yan. All I see now is empty words. What sincerity? Why are you walking so fast? Xia Yanchun snapped her small bag straps as she walked ahead, the streetlights illuminating her hair and delicate face. Throughout the journey, she ignored Xin Yan. Have you become shy? Chumbao? Upon returning home, Xin Yu was already asleep. The wind had picked up, and after showering, Xin Yan stood by the window, his hair drying quickly. The weather forecast indicated a cloudy day ahead, with a yellow warning for strong winds tonight. No wonder it felt so cool. Taking out her phone, she typed rapidly. Xin Yan, what do you mean by sincerity? Xia Yanchun, at the very least, don't make me angry. You've given me a cold uterus these past few days. Xin Yan, everything is my fault, huh? Xia Yanchun, it is indeed. Playing with you makes me angry every day. Xin Yan, then I want to provoke you every day in the future. Xin Yan, really? What if you can't do it? Xin Yan, if I can't, I'll eat KFC. Xia Yanchun, just say you want to eat. In her room, Xia Yanchun hugged her teddy bear, her delicate brows furrowing in frustration. She knew. She just knew that someone like Xin Yan would never take anything seriously. A poet of chaos. If one day Xin Yan ever became serious, it would undoubtedly be a prelude to some mischief. Teddy bear, I feel like I might be bisected by her legs. Buzz, buzz. Xin Yan messaged again, but he did not continue their previous conversation. Xin Yan, I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow. What do you want to eat? Xia Yanchun, oatmeal and soy milk. Xin Yan, got it, Chumbao. Good night, Chumbao. Thinking of you is like a spring running forth, never forgotten. Xia Yanchun. Are you going mad? Are you trying to be awkward? A soft, involuntary chuckle echoed in the tranquil room. Indeed, she was no ordinary person. Xia Yanchun plugged in her charging cable and reclined on the soft bed, her delicate face resting against the head of a teddy bear, revealing her exquisite nose and almond-shaped eyes. In the past, Xin Yan had never referred to her as Chun Bao during their contentious times. Even sharing breakfast had seemed a luxury, both wishing to dance atop the other's head. The finest gesture begins with breakfast. Is this Xin Yan's sincerity? Quite commendable. Nonetheless, one thing is one thing. Hello, Xin Yan. Off you go with your Chun Bao breakfast special. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Xin Yan closed his textbook and secretly completed an hour and a half of a physics mock exam. How utterly embarrassing indeed. In an era of collective competition, I alone strive to excel. Studying is a delight. After a brief 4 hours of slumber, at 5 in the morning, Xin Yan ventured to a nearby park. The wind had begun to pick up, and the breeze at dawn was refreshingly cool, accompanied by an auntie dancing the square dance, her spirit remarkably uplifting. Even the elderly gentleman nearby, with his white beard, seemed invigorated, appearing 20 years younger. Ah, young man, you're back again today? The elderly man had grown familiar with Xin Yan, the young frequent visitor to the park who was notably diligent and often engaged in conversation. This lad, with his endless banter, makes it hard not to recognize him. I must befriend such a lively spirit. Of course, sir. Are you watching me again? Xin Yan teased. What do you mean by watching? Young brother, don't speak carelessly. The elderly man, with his hands clasped behind his back, maintained an air of calm and composure, exuding the demeanor of a sage. I arrived at 4 today. They only began dancing at 4:30, insisting on performing for my eyes. Quite reasonable, Xin Yan applauded, realizing he had misjudged the elderly gentleman. As he prepared to leave, he added, Sir, they must be obstructing your view. Let me ask them to change positions. Go on, go on. The elderly man shooed him away, lamenting the current generation of students who seem to have forsaken the traditional virtues of respecting elders and caring for the young. Xin Yan genuinely admired the elderly man's vitality at such an advanced age. Observing the square dance was harmless. Yet he couldn't fathom why he felt compelled to watch from a distance, as if he were a prospective resident of a retirement home. No, it wouldn't he do. Teachers in their 20s in a retirement home? That would be a resurrection of the undead. After an hour of exercise, Xin Yan managed to stay on schedule. While purchasing breakfast, he lingered at one stall until the proprietor inquired what he desired. He simply shook his head and sighed softly before moving to another stall, leaving the fortunate vendor baffled for 2 minutes. In a flash, he returned home, showered, and emerged with his hair styled like a hedgehog. Xia Yanchun had already donned her blue and white school uniform, paired with loose-fitting shorts that accentuated her delicate, fair feet. Xin Yan, in a similar blue and white ensemble with shorts, stood beside her, his leg hair resembling a natural pair of black stockings. Here is your breakfast. You should thank me, Chun Bao, he declared. Is bringing breakfast such a remarkable feat? Xia Yanchun was momentarily overwhelmed by the warmth emanating from Xin Yan and the fragrant aroma of his shower gel, causing her to avert her gaze in embarrassment. She playfully poked his chest with her index finger, inquiring, What did you send last night? It gave me quite a scare. You look like a lovesick fool. You are right, but this is the work of the online literature king, Tang Jia. Silence. Oh, her playful banter was abruptly interrupted, and Shen Yan felt his entire day's good mood dissipate. During the sports meet, there were no classes, yet students were required to self-study until 8 in the morning. If students weren't forcibly awakened, it was likely that no one would attend the event. High school students could easily sleep until noon, perhaps even beyond. The enthusiasm of the crowd was swiftly depleted by the first day, and by the second day, many had adopted a more indifferent attitude, with half the spectators gone and more individuals entertaining themselves. Shen Yan went to the convenience store to buy 2 bottles of water and then made his way to the long jump pit, where he found Chen Dong, who was already clad in his competition jersey. He handed the water to him and patted his back reassuringly, saying, "No matter the outcome, we at least put in the effort. Have some water." "Dude, I haven't even started jumping yet." Chen Dong nearly retaliated with a punch, irritated by Shen Yan's tone, which resembled a father feigning nonchalance while consoling his son over poor grades. Shen Yan had purchased sugar-free green tea, which tasted bitterer than medicine. He nearly gagged after taking a sip. "You haven't jumped yet? Why didn't you say so? Give me back the water, and I'll return it to you once you're done." Shen Yan's smile vanished. "So that's how it is, huh? Noted for life." Soon, it was Chen Dong's turn to compete. He even asked Shen Yan to record a video, and he jumped 3 times in total, managing to leap over 4 meters during his best attempt. Some girls nearby applauded. Shen Yan joined in the applause, cheering, "Chen Dong, you're amazing. Dude, what kind of person is this? How did they let him out of the mental hospital? It's as if they're trying to disgust us." At the class campsite, Li Shiyan had also pulled up a chair to sit closely beside Xia Yanchun. Li Shiyan seemed almost boneless as she leaned against Xia Yanchun while browsing her Zaihongshu account. Although it appeared a bit awkward, Li Shiyan was merely being lazy, enjoying the comforting scent of Xia Yanchun. Xia Yanchun's Zaihongshu ID was Chunxia, a name that clearly suggested a beautiful girl, while Li Shiyan would never reveal that her ID was elegant cockroach housewife. Despite their seemingly incompatible appearances, the two shared an exceptionally close bond. If Xia Yanchun were to discover this, it was possible that one day Shen Yan would know as well, and at that point, she would transition from a youthful girl to a mature woman. 80. This has to be 80, right? The thought of Shen Yan made her huff in frustration, mentally delivering a punch to him, imagining him kneeling in supplication. "Humph, provoking me is like striking iron. What's wrong?" Xia Yanchun asked. "Nothing really." After a pause, she continued, "Shiyan, if someone with whom you don't share a strong relationship suddenly wants to reconcile, what do you think their true intentions are?" When it comes to exciting shows, Li Shiyan suddenly perked up, exclaiming about the legendary Kiki bird. "It's simply delightful." "Is it Shen Yan?" "No. It's a post from Zaihongshu." "Oh, it's not that delightful." When it comes to boys with whom the relationship isn't particularly close, there are 2 possibilities. Li Shiyan transformed into a sage, stating that one possibility is that he requires your assistance and feigns reconciliation to gauge your attitude. As your relationship gradually deepens, his true intentions will inevitably come to light, and at that point, you may find it difficult to decline. The second possibility is that he is simply attracted to you. That seems rather exaggerated. Not at all. Consider how some people online complain that their elementary school classmates, who only reconnect days before their weddings, ask for monetary gifts. The allure of physical attraction needs no further explanation. Xia Yanchun pursed her lips, acknowledging that Li Shiyan had a point. There is some truth to it. Yet applying it to Shen Yan feels utterly disconnected. Is he really not like that? Curiosity sparkled in Li Shiyan's eyes, akin to a playful kitten, eager to uncover the truth. "No, it's just a post I saw before that suddenly came to mind." "Oh, in any case, it's best to be cautious. He doesn't seem like a good person." Xia Yanchun nodded her small head in agreement, echoing the sentiment. Li Shiyan, feeling disinterested, continued to lean against Xia Yanchun like a jelly. In truth, she found Shen Yan rather agreeable. Beautiful appearances may be ubiquitous, but intriguing souls are rare gems, objectively speaking. Shen Yan embodies both traits. He is undeniably extraordinary. Meanwhile, Lin Shiyuan and a group of girls were taking a break. Many had changed back into their school uniforms. Yet Lin Shiyuan, as the queen of her circle, always dressed exquisitely. Sporting a Western-style dress paired with white stockings, she was the epitome of elegance. With her commendable looks and figure, anyone who could resist gazing at her was truly remarkable. "Shiyuan, I have a 3,000-meter race coming up," Huang Chen announced, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead. For boys, having beautiful girls hand them water after a run is nothing short of blissful. Lin Shiyuan, not being naive, quickly deciphered Huang Chen's intentions. She playfully pinched her fingers and replied, "Is that so? You must give it your all." Huang Chen's heart soared. He was determined to win. He wanted Lin Shiyuan to bring him water, but there is a stark difference between asking outright and having a girl offer it voluntarily. Besides, he was uncertain how to broach the subject. To boldly ask a girl for water could lead to embarrassment if she declined, leaving him feeling humiliated. How could the astute Lin Shiyuan not grasp his hints? Just then, Shen Yan returned, passing Lin Shiyuan but then backtracking to point at her shoe, saying, "Hey, your shoelace is undone." "Oh, thank you." Lin Shiyuan's heart raced as she bowed her head to tie it. "No problem," Shen Yan replied with a grin, moving closer to Xia Yanchun. "By the way, I've been missing you, Chuanbao." Huang Chun felt as if the sky had fallen. Why did he seem to perceive a hint of joy on Lin Shiyuan's face? And once again, it is Shen Yan. Does no one intervene? The girls in our class are far superior to those in others, yet each of them shares an amiable rapport with Shen Yan. Has he awakened the aura of a heartthrob? What about my status as a dark-skinned athlete? Was it not said that dark skin paired with white socks elevates the athletic value? The balance of Earth OL has deteriorated. How are we to play this game? Shun Yin plopped down on the grass beside Xia Yanchun, leaning closer, inhaling the unique fragrance that belonged to the young girl. Move aside, you're sweaty and disgusting. Xia Yanchun scolded, shoving him away. What kind of person sweats and sticks to girls? Shin Yin clicked his tongue, realizing he was still far from being the best in the world. The journey ahead was long and arduous. Chapter 072, The Self-Made Genius at Noon. As the weather was not overly warm, Xia Yanchun took a nap in the classroom, resting her head on a pillow and sleeping soundly. Shin Yin seized the opportunity to venture outside, visiting a bike shop. Over the past few days, he had examined 3 stores before finally settling on a small electric bike priced at 6,000 yuan. However, he did not purchase it, choosing merely to look, planning to return when the time was right. Each time he visited, the shop owner would offer him snacks and inexpensive tea, and he had yet to fully enjoy it. He would certainly return. Shin Yin returned at precisely 2:10, just as the lunch bell rang. Xia Yanchun stirred from her desk, stretching languidly. The motion lifted her school uniform, revealing a glimpse of her fair side waist, which Shin Yin observed with a serious demeanor. I bought you a bottle of fruit tea with less ice, he announced, placing it atop her stack of books, recalling that she had once mentioned that fruit tea without ice lacked flavor. Considering she was currently on her menstrual cycle, he opted for a moderate option with less ice. If you find it too cold, you can wait a while before drinking it. What a noble male lead. The mere thought that Xia Yanchun might appear indifferent while secretly touched made Shin Yin want to hum a little tune. Thank you, she replied, genuinely moved. After waking from her midday slumber, her throat felt parched, and a sip of the fruit tea with less ice was sheer bliss. It's nothing, after all. We are no longer rivals, Xia Yanchun remarked, slightly embarrassed. Could anyone truly utter the terms rival and childhood friend in the same breath? It was sufficient to know it in their hearts. Speaking it aloud felt awkward. The term rival carried significant weight. Remaining unspoken suggested a purely antagonistic relationship, yet voicing it somehow imbued it with a sense of ambiguity. As if it were a commendable relationship. The afternoon sports event unfolded as usual. The autumn breeze was particularly noticeable today, as if the true essence of autumn would only commence after this day, with winds carrying a gentle essence. Shin Yin instinctively glanced around, spotting Chun Xiaoyu seated under a tree, engrossed in her phone. Thankfully, all was well. What a delightful day. It truly feels like autumn is upon us. The scenery is resplendent. The air crisp, and soon it will no longer be so hot. His voice trailed off, and he immediately recognized the sound of Li Shiyan, who had arrived at some point and was now cuddling Xia Yanchun, starting to snuggle close. She even recited a line from Yin Shu's The Branch of Intertwined Trees, which possessed a literary quality far superior to Chun Xiaoyu's self-created works of pain. Beside her, Chun Xiaoyu, engrossed in her mobile phone, let out a small sneeze, tightening her body as the weather began to turn cool. Was she already on the verge of catching a cold? Her constitution felt rather frail. After all, she was an incomplete vessel, a soul once drawn away, so a bit of weakness seemed rather natural. Was it a case of being discriminated against for her appendix? During evening study hours, Su Kashi entered the classroom to announce the results of the monthly examination. Traditionally, the scores would be posted at the back of the classroom. But perhaps due to her good mood, Su Kashi projected the results onto the multimedia screen. The classroom erupted into a cacophony. All right, everyone, quiet down. Look at your own scores and find a classmate who scored higher to use as a benchmark. Those who are still asleep in their desks should wake up. It's the 3rd year of high school. In truth, by the time students reach their final year, their academic trajectories are largely set. After the first mock exam, their scores tend to solidify, and even with newfound effort, their performance on the college entrance examination is unlikely to exceed their initial mock scores significantly. Teachers are well aware of this. After all, dark horses are a rarity. If students don't awaken to this reality, those who could have been dark horses might end up as mere pack horses. Shin Yin is one such dark horse, having awoken early and demonstrated a commendable willingness to improve. Su Kashi often found herself compelled to praise Shin Yin, but knowing that he had been studying other subjects in her presence lately, she held back her compliments. While she refrained from extolling his virtues in her own class, she did share his example in other classes, for it would be a pity not to highlight such a fine case. Shin Yin leaned on his hand, scanning the scores of his classmates. First place, Xia Yanchun, total score 714. Surely that S unlocked the password, no more acting? Third place, Li Shiyan, total score 666, a mysterious lucky number. Could it be the goddess of fortune? Sixth place, Chen Dong, total score 642. My son Chen Dong possesses the potential of an emperor. 10th place, Shin Yin, total score 626. Isn't it just a minor achievement? But what is achieved is achieved. 13th place, Chen Xiaoyu, total score 599. This is what happens when you neglect your math studies. 21st place, Ma Mingfan, total score 558. Can you still pat his head in consolation? 51st place, Huang Chun, total score 310. Progress made, terrifyingly so. Shin Yin stifled a laugh. Everyone entered with the same admission score. How could some score in the 6 or 700s while others barely scraped 300? If the Education Bureau hadn't expressly prohibited the establishment of so-called elite classes for advanced mathematics, Huangshan wouldn't even have had the opportunity to be spoken of disparagingly. However, that would also mean he wouldn't have the chance to be close with Xia Yanchun at school. Perhaps it's best to forego such advanced classes. Searching for Lan Fukai's score, he noted, Chinese 128, Mathematics 76, English 135, Science 210, total score 549. Where are you, my friend? How come I don't see you among the top 20? Are you too short to be noticed? What had he surpassed? A blind spot in his vision? He thought it was merely a speed bump. How could such exuberance be dampened? We are all diligently striving in our studies. In the front row, Lan Fukai was also examining his results. No one can guarantee a lack of regression. It is quite normal for me to experience a setback this time. With my results still falling within a reasonable range, Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan remain impressively formidable. Hold on, it seems something peculiar has infiltrated the top 10. Lan Fukai rubbed his eyes, uncertain, and glanced again. Upon discerning Shun Yin's ranking and score, Lan Fukai felt a wave of darkness wash over him. Wait, how did Shun Yin land in 10th place? 626 points? An English score of 106? What on earth? His scores had consistently been below mine. How did he suddenly drop nearly 80 points this time? Isn't that cheating? In truth, Shun Yin hardly took Lan Fukai to heart, regarding him as nothing more than a clown. My interactions with Xia Yanchun do not impede him. Those who leap forth to disrupt others' friendships are the most insufferable, utterly nonsensical. A system task emerged, long missed and dearly remembered. Main task, when the pupils cease to tremble, completed. Reward, 1,000 gold coins. Title, Glimmering Experience, slight increase in experience gained. Unlocking main task, promotion, Intermediate Adventurer. Accumulate 10 defeats of intermediate monsters, 0-10 reward, 5,000 gold coins. Title, Intermediate Adventurer, Charm 2, Stamina 2. To Shun Yin's astonishment, he discovered that both titles could coexist. Is it truly that impressive? Haki, are you genuinely formidable? I acknowledge you. Literally interpreted. Glimmering Experience serves as a title that accelerates experience acquisition in this otherworldly realm, akin to leveling up. In reality, it might enhance proficiency, which, in a certain sense, is also a form of experience. Remarkable. Energized enhances endurance, while Glimmering Experience augments proficiency. With effort and talent combined, the system must be meticulously crafting a prodigious youth. Chapter 073. You scold me for being frivolous, yet when I am earnest, you never regarded me as sincere. There is also a new main task, to defeat 10 intermediate monsters, is that right? Bid system. It better not consider only the formal monthly examination as qualifying for intermediate monsters. In 10 months, my peers will have graduated. Where will the monthly exams come from? Clearly, one must tackle 10 sets of monthly exam papers. The title of Intermediate Adventurer, aside from a slight increase in charm, also grants 2 additional points in stamina. This is somewhat useful, far superior to Novice Adventurer. After class, Dong turned to me, asking, Bro, are you aiming for the heavens? How did you break into the top 10? It seems your efforts have borne fruit, while others struggle for a year and barely gain 50 points. You've skyrocketed by 80 in a month? With such capability, you must have been playing a long game. Eh? Well, next time, I'll ride on your coattails. Dong had previously been skeptical, but now he appeared somewhat anxious. Perhaps this fellow truly can achieve it, if he can maintain a score of 620 points. Securing admission to a top-tier 985 or 211 university is undoubtedly within reach. Hawking Yin, you are indeed a dark horse. Nearby, Mom Ming Fan, who had been eavesdropping, also felt a bit unsettled. Everyone else hovers around 550. How did you leap to 620 in just one holiday? It's utterly infuriating. Once again, there exists a woman who excels in both her studies and endeavors, embodying the essence of a fulfilled life. Such individuals seem destined for success in all their pursuits. Fear not, dear friend, though you may feel lacking, your prowess in Naruto is commendable. Persevere, and in due time, you shall encounter your very own Hinata. In my hometown, there was a fellow who adored Naruto. Initially, his family urged him to seek companionship, yet his heart was captivated solely by the game. Ultimately, at the age of 60, he crossed paths with a billion-dollar female CEO from the bustling metropolis, a fellow enthusiast of Naruto, and thus entered a life of affluence and happiness. Mom Ming Fan observed the situation, recognizing that Shin Yin was merely petty. After all, was it not just a matter of a half-hour head pat? Such grudges seemed trivial. His friend resolved to delete Naruto from his device, eliminating the habit of head patting, and instead downloaded a virtual companion. To avoid yearning for something he could no longer indulge in. Of course, this was not out of desire. It was akin to a smoker keeping lollipops on hand to quell their cravings. Under the starry night sky, the fragrant smoke from a roadside barbecue stall wafted through the air, enticing passersby with its savory aroma. Shin Yin playfully nudged Xia Yanchun, who, taken aback, leaned away slightly and replied with a hint of melancholy. What are you doing? Why have you become so frail? Where has that boisterous sister Xia gone? Yet, even in her fragility, Xia Yanchun retained a certain charm. The mere mention of the word sister caused her ears to blush, as if she were a line of code in a program. In the dim light of the night, obscured features became more pronounced. Thus, Xia Yanchun chose to abandon her pretense. If Shin Yin could discern her flushed cheeks in such darkness, she would concede defeat. That was in the past. How can it compare to now? Have you seen my score? I have, Xia Yanchun replied, somewhat dismissively. Quite average, I must say. Next time, I shall surpass you, mark my words. Another case of harassment. I'll tell my uncle, and he will deal with you. Shin Yin stammered. What harassment? My remarks concern solely your academic performance, sincerely. If he wished to flirt with Xia Yanchun, he would have chosen different words. Every day, you accuse me of being improper. Yet when I am sincere, you don't treat me as such. You've revealed your true nature. Chunbao, you are quite scandalous. You are the one who is scandalous. Xia Yanchun retorted, her tone light-hearted yet firm. It was merely that Shin Yin had once been too frivolous, and thus the blame fell upon him. This phenomenon is known as impression points. Shin Yin's reputation was too tarnished, presenting an unfavorable image. The lovely Ji Mei had vanished from sight. Shin Yu was peacefully asleep, while Shin Yin, after his shower, busied himself with exam papers in his room. Knowing the task was to vanquish 10 intermediate monsters, and that the upcoming exam was centered on these same monsters, he realized he needed to complete 10 sets of exam papers. The practice books comprised an amalgamation of finals from various regions, while the renowned Wusan series included simulated college entrance exams and assorted real questions. The challenge lay not in writing 10 sets, but in locating 10 sets of exam papers. It was time to consult the wonders of the internet. Free downloads, you say? How splendid. What do you mean I must subscribe for 198 yuan a month to access these supposedly free exam papers? That truly is a peculiar definition of free. On the final day of the sports meet, he chose to lie flat and relax. In the morning, the senior class held a relay race, with every class participating. Some girls from the class spontaneously organized a cheerleading squad to support their classmates. Even Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan joined in the revelry. However, Shen Yan was different. He and Mom Mingfan headed towards the teaching building. Initially intending to tidy up the books he would take home for the National Day holiday, he returned to the classroom only to find Chun Xiuyu at the podium, chalk in hand, diligently writing on the board. The assignments for the National Day holiday were as follows: Chinese, 5 argumentative essays; mathematics, 2 sets of Beijing exam papers; English, memorize all the vocabulary from the first year, to be tested upon returning from the holiday. This was not right. How had the blackboard filled with holiday assignments? Stop. Yeah, I told you not to write anymore. Are you out of your mind? Ma Mingfan's voice echoed before he even arrived, his tone imbued with despair, wailing, and rebuke, as he pointed at Qin Xiuyu, stammering. Was it amusing? All I saw was a despondent high school student. Qin Xiuyu was startled, thinking a groundhog had come to life. The teacher just asked me to write this. Please, stop writing. What is the most despair-inducing phrase in the world? The answer: holiday assignments. Shen Yan counted. 6 subjects, 21 papers. The chemistry teacher had been particularly zealous, assigning 5 chemistry papers alone. Not to mention the classical poetry and English vocabulary, all of which were not to be neglected. Shen Yan smiled contentedly. Dude, if you didn't even complete your summer homework, you can't possibly think you'll tackle the National Day assignments, right? He gambled that the teacher would not check, but would instead proceed directly to the exam papers. Winning would grant him 7 days of bliss, while losing would mean facing dire consequences. After all, adventurers are born to embrace risk. It's fine, if it's not my favorite National Day assignment. I simply want to do it. Ma Mingfan paused, then nodded. That is quite impressive, count me in. Chen Xiuyu blinked her large eyes, perplexed by their banter. By the way, is the teacher in the office? Yes, many teachers are there. They need to attend the closing ceremony shortly. Okay. Shen Yan gestured and slipped away to the genius retirement home, peering through the window to see nearly all the teachers present. To his surprise, even Ming Lei, the history teacher, was there. He didn't want to enter. Yet, despite his reluctance, he had business to attend to. So he knocked lightly on the door. Come in. Sukashi glanced at Shen Yan, and noticing his recent remarkable progress, her tone softened considerably. I forgive you. Which teacher wouldn't appreciate such a diligent student? Is there something you need, Shen Yan? No, I'm looking for teacher Yan. Sukashi gasped, feeling the sting of cold treatment from a student. She thought, oh dear, to appease him during the National Day holiday, I must have 2 meals at Heidaleo. Shen Yan sidled up to Yan Yuzhu with a grin. Teacher, I have a small favor to ask. Yan Yuzhu's eyes sparkled as she smiled gently. What is on your mind? Could you help me find previous year's monthly exam papers? Papers from other schools would also suffice. A student coming to the classroom to ask a teacher for exam papers? How rare to encounter such a dedicated student. Another English teacher, curious, turned a glance, realizing it was Shen Yan, and immediately felt at ease. After all, this was the same student who had previously asked her for answers to the weekly English test. Nothing he did was surprising. Yan Yuzhu found the situation somewhat peculiar. What do you need the exam papers for? To practice, Shen Yan replied candidly. You know about the drill of inundating oneself with questions, right? Not only do I need to practice, but I require 10 sets. Yuan shook his head in disbelief. Those websites online are quite a scam. They don't allow downloads of complete papers without a membership, which costs 198 a month. As a student, I simply cannot afford that. If you were a teacher, you would likely have access to numerous exam documents, so I was hoping you could assist me. Ah, I see. Well, I shall gather some exam papers for you shortly, the teacher replied. Thank you, but I only require the monthly exam sets, 10 in total. 10 sets of papers? That equates to 60 subjects, a staggering number of exam papers. Has the National Day homework been assigned too lightly? Students are already clamoring for more, needing an additional 10 sets to complete. It seems next time, the workload shall increase without additional holidays. Chapter 074. The dual agent Shen Yan searching for exam papers might be challenging for students reluctant to spend, but for teachers, it is as effortless as eating and drinking. Which teacher doesn't have a treasure trove of materials on their USB drives? For the past 10 or 20 years, many educators have stashed suitable exam papers onto their drives for convenience, and they might even have access to VIP downloads from educational websites for presentations and lesson plans. Considering it is their livelihood, before the closing ceremony, Shen Yan sought Yan Yuzhu's assistance, and by the time of the safety class meeting post-ceremony, Yan had already retrieved all the exam papers, even taking the thoughtful initiative to print them using the office printer. Loyal Yan Yuzhu indeed lived up to her reputation. When there is a task at hand, she truly delivers. Each of the 3 main subjects comprised 2 papers, and the comprehensive science also had 2, culminating in a remarkable total of 80 exam papers. Yan Yuzhu presented a thick stack, an overwhelming visual impact, coupled with other books and papers. Shen Yan's backpack felt as if it were burdened with excess. The final safety education class merely covered reminders for the upcoming holiday. No unauthorized swimming, adherence to the law, and the customary photograph to conclude the process. Afterward, the students eagerly awaited the bell, ready to make their escape. Tsukashi sat at the podium, propping her chin on her hand, gazing at the sea of students engrossed in their phones, her thoughts drifting to the prospect of dining at Heideleo. Oh, class is over. Remember to stay safe during the holidays, everyone. Dismissed. With that, Tsukashi departed, and the class erupted in cheerful chatter, particularly Ma Mingfan. Finally, after all this time, are you planning to start pilfering cans when you return? Upon turning, Ma Mingfan caught sight of Shun Yin's handsome visage, reminiscent of a meme expression, causing him to momentarily panic before regaining composure. What did you say? I didn't catch that. Don't say anything. I'm merely going back to enjoy some 8 treasure porridge. Shindong, if he messages you tonight, do not reply, Ma Mingfan warned. Understood, Shindong chuckled. I'll treat you all to some cola. A new product has launched at Mishuai City. Care to indulge? Just wanting to share a drink. No ulterior motives. Ma Mingfan, drenched in sweat, exclaimed, come on, don't mess with me. I'm not deleting the sage mode anymore. Shenyan, I'm off now. Xia Yanchun stood up with her backpack, perplexed by how incomprehensible the boys' conversations were, as if they were not speaking Chinese at all. Here it comes. Shun Yin also slung his backpack over his shoulder, turned his chair upside down, and glanced back at his 2 sons, saying, do not long for your father. We shall meet again in 7 days. With that, he swiftly exited the classroom, thinking that as long as he ran fast enough, the foul language would not reach his mother. Originally, the National Day holiday was only 3 days long, but following the implementation of the burden reduction policy, schools became much more compliant, especially the key high schools, number 1 and number 2 middle schools. Any sign of non-compliance would invite severe repercussions from above. This was also the reason why some schools in Sinan offered Olympiad classes, while number 1 and number 2 did not. Moreover, with National Day coinciding with the Mid-Autumn Festival and an additional 2 days of the weekend, even without the reduction policy, a 7-day break could still be arranged. The downside was that the Mid-Autumn holiday was no longer included, as it could not be combined. Nevertheless, 7 days felt delightful. 80 mock exam papers. How exhilarating. Why is it burning? Xia Yanchun shot a sidelong glance at Shin Yin, curious about his excitement. By the way, what were you all discussing just now? Little kid. Don't meddle in adult conversations. Reluctant to share? It must be something inappropriate. Boys are like that. 666, natural-born lovers. Shin Yin did not wish to delve further into the topic, as it was indeed unsuitable for girls, so he changed the subject. Are we heading back tomorrow, or the day after? The day after. Let us rest at home for a day first. Good idea. Let us leave the door open tonight, and sneak some peanuts from your house. Get lost, I'll set 2 mouse traps to catch you. At the entrance of the community, the stray cat lay lazily in the security booth, its fluffy belly rising and falling as if it had just feasted. Sensing someone approaching, the stray cat lifted its head and exclaimed, oh, Shin Yin. What? Upon seeing Shin Yin, the cat instinctively darted into the grass, peeking out with its head. Acting all sneaky, Shin Yin thought it was unfortunate that it had awakened on its own, such a bad sign. What? Xia Yanchun tilted her head, puzzled about the conversation with the celestial being. No, I was just talking about this cat. What about the cat? It seems quite well-behaved. Well-behaved? When I talk to it, it doesn't respond. Such a lack of manners. Xia Yanchun looked at Shin Yin, then back at the cat, a large question mark forming above her head. Was it truly conversing with a celestial being? Looking again at the cat, Xia Yanchun sensed a bewildered expression on its face, as if it were anxious to speak human language. Feeling sympathy for the cat, she thought it might be in for trouble with Shun Yin. It should be more cautious in its next life. At home, Shin Yin strutted around proudly in front of Shun Yu. It was as if a student who usually barely passed had suddenly scored full marks. What are you flailing about? If you block my view of the TV again, I'll throw you out. Do you believe me? Shin Yu's forehead was throbbing with veins. After a long day at work, all she wanted was to relax on the sofa and watch television. Yet, her younger brother, upon returning from school, not only failed to bring food for his beautiful sister, but also obstructed her view of the screen. It felt akin to a weary man returning home from a hard day's work only to be asked by his wife, do you still love me even if I become a caterpillar? Turning around, he found his son babbling something about being Kuching's dog, and his daughter reciting something about biological father, enveloped in the helplessness of a dysfunctional family. What? How did you know I scored 626? Shin Yin scratched his head, feeling rather embarrassed. He hadn't intended to be so ostentatious. But since Shin Yu had inquired, he reluctantly conceded. He wanted to retort, who asked you? But upon hearing the score, he found himself at a loss for words. Really? Let me check the parent group. You even infiltrated our class's parent group? Shin Yu tossed her hair, a smirk playing on her lips. I added it during the last parent meeting, so you better not get into trouble. Mom might not pay attention, but I will be lurking. Don't assume I'll cause any trouble. I'm the most honest one here. Right, sure. Shin Yu scrolled through the chat records of the parent group, locating the score report, and indeed found Shun Yin's name in 10th place. It really is 626. Not too shabby. To Shin Yu, this score wasn't particularly impressive, considering she graduated from a prestigious 985 institution. However, she felt that her younger brother deserved some praise. After all, oppressive education methods were for fools. Shin Yu opened her fair arms and gently said, you're doing great, little brother. Come here, and let your sister ruffle your hair. How old are you? Still wanting to ruffle my hair? That's disgusting. I'll give you a punch. Shin Yin's expression turned serious, as if he were in a textbook on sibling dynamics. In reality, he longed to share a fist bump with his sister, often preoccupied with thoughts of cooking. You are utterly unappealing. Shin Yu pouted, reclining back on the sofa with her long, fair legs crossed casually. She murmured, now I understand why Xia Yanchun rarely comes to play with you. You've grown into someone quite annoying. What are you babbling about? Hand me your phone. What for? Nothing. At Haidaleo, Tsukushi and Yin Yuju sat together, savoring delicious slices of meat, thoroughly enjoying themselves. Yin Yuju loved taking photographs. She captured every dish that arrived at their table, documenting her life on Zaihongshu as a way to unwind. Buzz. Tsukushi's phone vibrated. Upon checking, she discovered someone had been added to the WeChat parent group. Wait. Shen Yin's older sister invited Shen Yin's distant cousin to the group chat? With an anime avatar? Oh, how intriguing. Tsukushi and Shen Yin were WeChat friends. And upon entering the cousin's profile, she confirmed they were indeed connected. Who infiltrated the parent group? It's hard to guess. A double agent, perhaps? Chapter 075. Battling for half a day. Feeling great. I have a bold idea. After taking a shower, Shen Yin retreated to his room. With over 100 papers to tackle, it was truly a daunting task. He had no intention of completing his National Day assignment. Just the 10 sets of monthly exams amounted to 80 sheets. Writing 10 sheets a day meant he would still have 10 left when the holiday concluded. It was a grueling endeavor. Shen Yin locked himself in his room, remaining there until 2 in the morning. He managed to complete 4 papers, feeling exhilarated. The thrill left him somewhat dizzy, and even his spirited recovery seemed to lag behind. The following day, at 6 o'clock, Shen Yin dragged himself out of bed. Without struggle, survival was impossible. He plunged back into his studies until noon. As clarity returned to his gaze, he began to ponder the meaning of life. With such an expansive universe, how could humanity be the only intelligent existence? It seemed the examination papers had induced a moment of philosophical reflection. He purchased 2 Xiaomi notebooks, seemingly insufficient for his needs. Feeling fatigued, Xiao Si-chun would soon regain some energy, while Shen Yin initiated a video call to Xia Yin-chun, tidying his disheveled hair. He waited as the phone rang for a few seconds before Xia Yin-chun's fair visage appeared on the screen. She remained silent, her eyes reflecting a hint of confusion. After all, they lived next door. Why resort to a video call? What a foolish move. After a prolonged silence, Shen Yin simply stared at himself, while Xia Yin-chun, somewhat bashful, playfully tapped his face through the screen, minimizing his image to the upper right corner. I woke up at 6 to start working on my exam papers, and I've been at it since, he proclaimed. Impressive, isn't it? Stop boasting. You're just trying to fool me, Xia Yin-chun retorted, unconvinced. If Shen Yin claimed he had risen at 10 to write for 2 hours, she might believe him, for she too had woken at 10 to tackle her National Day assignments. But to suggest that a senior high school student would rise at 6 on the first day of a holiday to do homework? Xia Yin-chun was acquainted with some exceptionally diligent students from the first high school, and even they did not push themselves to such extremes on the first day of vacation. Who studies at 6 in the morning without a break? What a ridiculous notion. Anticipating her skepticism, Shen Yin offered no explanation, simply grinning widely. The sight of Xia Yin-chun's vexed expression lifted his spirits considerably. She was a source of joy. What is so funny? Did you forget to brush your teeth last night? You've got food stuck in your teeth, she teased. Shen Yin's smile vanished as he quickly checked his reflection and, to his dismay, found she was correct. The amusement then shifted to Xia Yin-chun, eliciting laughter. Next time, if you haven't tea brushed, refrain from grinning, understood? She declared triumphantly. But why did you call me? If you have nothing to say, I'm hanging up. I need to do my homework. Wait, you're actually doing your National Day homework? That's pointless. The teacher will just go over the problems anyway. Writing it out is a waste of time. Better to tackle a couple of pages from the workbook instead. If you're writing the exam papers, just treat them like regular practice questions. Only those who can only copy answers think homework is a waste of time. Shen Yin's expression darkened, for he often neglected his assignments, scrambling to complete them at the last minute. He had initially wagered that the teacher would not check the summer assignments. But the day before registration, Tsukushi had announced in the group chat that they would indeed be collected for review. It feels like you're targeting me with that remark, he lamented. You just realized that? She replied teasingly. All right, you rascal, Shen Yin retorted, mimicking a dog. Xia Yin-chun pressed her lips together, a hint of mirth in her eyes. So, you claim writing exam papers doesn't count as doing homework? Just a casual write-up. He responded. Are you genuinely working on the exam papers? Indeed, he asserted. The camera wobbled as Shen Yin showcased his desk, cluttered with numerous papers. I'm quite formidable right now. Xia Yin-chun adjusted her camera to reveal her own workspace, which was notably more organized. All right, open the door. I'm coming over to study with you. It's far more important for us to live well than anything else. Not a chance. Too bad. I'm going to fetch the key from my sister, he chuckled mischievously. Get lost. As the phone call ended, Xia Yanchun hurriedly donned her undergarments and, slipping into her slippers, dashed to the refrigerator. Upon opening the freezer, she beheld the last 4 peanut-sized morsels and tears of helplessness streamed down her face. She felt utterly powerless to protect anything. Shen Yan, having regained his composure, exited his room and engaged in a brief conversation with Xia Yanchun. The weariness that had once enveloped him had notably diminished, and with a renewed vigor, he found himself in quite good spirits. After a prolonged struggle, he harbored a bold idea, yet he resolved to keep it to himself. Shin Yu lounged on the sofa, captivated by a popular variety show that elicited fits of laughter from her. Quack, 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 quack. Shin Yin smirked at her mirth. Awake now? I brought you breakfast. Though it's already noon, so make do. Shun Yin smiled with contentment as he retrieved a disposable box containing century egg and lean pork congee from the kitchen. Settling beside Shin Yu. How considerate of you not to make me go out and fetch food. Yet, upon taking a spoonful, his brow furrowed in distaste. Why does this taste so fishy? They must have forgotten to add ginger at that place, huh? You cooked this and deceived me into thinking it was from a restaurant, didn't you, Sister Haki? Shin Yu replied, momentarily flustered. I shouldn't have mentioned it. I feel embarrassed now. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be diligent and prepare breakfast occasionally, Shen Yan sighed, forcing himself to finish the meal. Let us just order takeout more often from now on. Perhaps we should dismantle the kitchen altogether. What do you mean, Shen Yan? Are you subtly insulting my cooking skills? Who's being subtle? I'm quite overt about it. By the way, are you going back to your hometown tomorrow? Maybe during the Mid-Autumn Festival. It seems too troublesome otherwise. Not a problem, I can return for you. Just send me 200. You annoying little brother, go away and let me watch my show. Find some time to buy me a couple of bags of chips from the supermarket. You're so lazy. Shen Yan swaggered into Shen Yu's room, which was even messy, clothes strewn about haphazardly. Sister Hockey, whoever marries you will truly be in for a lifetime of chaos. He vaguely recalled that it hadn't always been this way. Her disarray had only begun after starting work. What a toll it had taken. Skillfully, he retrieved a small key from atop the cabinet and remarked, I've taken the key. I'm looking for Xia Yanchun. She won TB back for dinner tonight. Starting tomorrow, we'll resume double updates. Chapter 76. Rivals should not share a bed. Look at this kid. He is not even pretending anymore. Shen Yu mused with a smile as she watched Shen Yan exit with 2 test papers in hand. Their relationship is truly delightful. Is this what one calls childhood sweethearts? I'm envious. Why have I never had a childhood sweetheart? Woe is me, nearing 25 and never pursued by a boy. The world might as well end. In a few years, I'll become a spinster. How tragic. Next door, Shen Yan fiddled with the key at Xia Yanchun's door, and with a click, it swung open. Sunlight only reached her home in the afternoon. The morning air remained cool, infused with a faint, pleasant aroma. The atmosphere was saturated with the essence of summer as Xia Yanchun immersed herself in her studies. Shen Yan, ever the gentleman, gently knocked on her door after confirming she was diligently working at her desk. I heard you open the door, sneaking in without permission and taking someone else's key. And you still claim you're not a weirdo, Xia Yanchun muttered, not bothering to turn around. Shen Yan felt a tinge of embarrassment. As the primary responsible party for the disastrous incident, did she not comprehend the gravity of the situation? Just because I wore headphones and couldn't hear your knock doesn't give you the right to waltz in, he thought, though he refrained from voicing such thoughts, knowing it would only lead to unnecessary conflict. Still working on your assignments? He inquired, leaning over her shoulder, feigning ignorance. Yes. I prefer not to procrastinate until the last moment. A miracle can happen in one night, but it doesn't mean you should look down on those who write later. She replied, noticing he too had a test paper in hand. You didn't come here to do your homework, did you? Huh. You guessed it correctly, he chuckled playfully, taking a seat at the edge of her bed, just close enough to reach her desk. It wasn't as comfortable as his own room, but it sufficed. He sought her company more to alleviate the fatigue of relentless studying than to focus on the test itself. Xia Yanchun, typically self-sufficient in her studies, seldom encountered difficulties. When faced with a challenging question, she would only resort to her phone for answers, earning Shen Yan's respect. It was evident that someone like her could easily score over 700 points, yet he felt no envy. Wait, your test paper isn't for homework, is it? She asked, catching on to the discrepancy. No, I'm not doing the National Day assignment. I brought a few other test papers to work on. Xia Yanchun was at a loss for words, ultimately deciding to let him be. Everyone has their own learning methods. As long as he made progress, his actions were justified. The room was pleasantly cool, and even with the air conditioning on, Shen Yan closed the door behind him, creating an intimate atmosphere. Don't make noise while eating. It's quite disgusting, she admonished as he munched on peanuts. I knew letting you in would disrupt my focus, she sighed, stifling the urge to nibble on him playfully. She closed her pen and swiftly leaped onto her bed, hugging a plush teddy bear, sinking into its softness. After all, weekends were meant for leisurely shopping and lounging in bed. Hey, why have you stopped writing? I've been at it since 6 o'clock, she remarked. There's a dog beside me, making it hard to concentrate. Shen Yan, with a playful glint in his eye, retorted, big guts, scolding me again? You seem to be taking advantage of my recent restraint. Rivalries, it seemed, could never evolve into something more amiable. Indeed, I can't survive without some teasing. Xia Yanchun buried her chin into her pillow, pulling a blanket over her legs, determined to endure. You'll definitely get a beating from me in the future. Don't worry, my uncle will help me retaliate. Shen Yan shook his head in disbelief, realizing he had encountered a formidable adversary. Shen Yan discreetly opened the forum to post. Title: Fellow gatherers, I have been scolded by my childhood friend, the shrimp-headed girl. Content: as stated, I, Shu Shu, have been berated like a dog by my childhood friend. She used to let me call her sister when we were young, but now, this is how it is. At present, I find myself in her room. What should I do? Within mere minutes, responses began to flood in. Fei Wu, start a water experience thread, 3 to me. Aren't you going to retort? What should you do? Only kill. Does she Wong JPG? Kneel and cry, pleading for her to cease her scolding. Then hang yourself at her doorstep. I'm a primary school student. My childhood friend sent me 200. Don't believe him. He has fishing. Just wants everyone to know he has a childhood friend. BYD almost fell for it. Send him to the neighboring anti-forum. He is quite adept at fishing. He must be great at it in general. What fishing? Shen Yan truly did not mean that at all. The forum members were quite active, albeit somewhat unfriendly. What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be writing an exam? Xia Yanchun observed him engrossed in his phone, her curiosity prompting her to nudge Shen Yan's thigh with her little foot. I've posted about you on the forum. Shen Yan became quite honest, bracing himself for the forum members' criticism. I see you've eaten too many red beans. Let me have a look. He had just deleted the post. This was also the truth, for instead of defending him against Xia Yanchun, the forum members began to attack him, accusing him of fishing. Wasn't it merely a matter of having a fair-skinned, attractive, intelligent childhood friend who allowed him to enter her room to enjoy the air conditioning, walk to and from school together, occasionally sharing meals and ice cream, and even sleeping on the same floor in the same room. This was simply my daily life. How could it be considered fishing? The foolish forum members were truly insulting him. You better really delete it. Xia Yin-chun bit her lower lip, swiftly retracting her little foot back under the blanket. Dressed in shorts at home, she found it difficult to conceal much of her thighs. Normally, she only dared to wear such attire at home. With Shun Yin's presence, she inexplicably felt as if he were sneaking glances, especially since he often boasted about wanting to see her legs. Thus, she would occasionally scold him. She couldn't be blamed for her sharp tongue when he was indeed the type to want to see legs. I can't be bothered with you. I'm writing an exam. Today, I must complete a full set of papers. Shin Yin declared with righteous indignation, claiming he was off to slay monsters and had matters to attend to. Do as you wish. I'll lie down for a bit. I have plans to go shopping with Shi Yin in the afternoon. Is that so? The three of us exclaimed. Shut up. Don't utter more of your nonsense. It's clearly more important for me and Shi Yin to live well. Oh dear, you're into girls, huh? Xia Yin-chun gazed at Shun Yin with a look of disbelief. Realizing the conversation was dull, Shin Yin took another bite of ice cream and immersed himself in his studies. Completing 10 sets of papers over the 7-day National Day holiday was indeed no simple feat. Ahead lay a veritable hell. Forget it. I'll just do it. There's no time limit anyway. After another hour of writing, Shun Yin transitioned from the fervor of last night to a numb state, feeling as though the entire world had sunk into a gray abyss, more exhausted than ever. He held the pen loosely, as if utterly devoid of interest, his mind drifting far beyond the clouds. The Xiaomi pen he purchased showed signs of running out of ink. How amusing, isn't it? All I could perceive was a student whose pursuit of knowledge had been extinguished. Turning his head, he noticed that the little girl in the middle of the bed had completely lost herself, sprawled over a teddy bear, her fair legs playfully swinging as she scrolled through videos. Sensing something, Xia Yanchun glanced at Shin Yin, her apricot eyes blinking. If you want me to come to bed, just blink at me. Didn't you just do that? Shin Yin flashed his characteristic grin and began to crawl onto the bed. Xia Yanchun playfully kicked at him, feeling a mix of embarrassment and urgency as he approached. After all, rivals should never share the same bed. Please refrain from interpreting others' gazes with malicious intent. Question: what does it mean when a cute girl kicks you with her foot? Normal person 1. It's a sign of affection. Normal person 2. It's a form of resistance. Normal person 3. It's a coy rejection. Shin Yin, the times have changed. My interpretation is more advanced. This is a duel of warriors. So, you want to fight, do you? It seems I must take control of you. Thanks to his physical advantages, Shun Yin easily grasped Xia Yanchun's foot, which had previously been quite assertive, now rendered docile. Chapter 077. The best fruit is indeed not to be underestimated. Shin Yin's hand was exceedingly warm, and Xia Yanchun's foot quickly followed suit. Before she could react, her toes instinctively curled and tensed, forming a lovely arc. Her well-groomed toes glowed with a tender hue, petite and fair, intended for walking yet soft to the touch. The bed trembled slightly, and Shin Yin's heartbeat quickened uncontrollably. Xia Yanchun reflexively withdrew her foot. Fortunately, Shin Yin hadn't applied much pressure. You absolute pervert, she exclaimed. Her cheeks flushed with indignation, as if in an animated series, steam would be billowing from her nostrils. Shin Yin scratched his head, belatedly switching hands. Resigned to take her kicks without retaliation, what a privileged being he was. Realizing her slight wrongdoing, Xia Yanchun's intelligent mind, capable of scoring 700 points, swiftly devised a justified reason to kick Shin Yin. Who allowed you to come to my bed? Can a girl's bed be approached without consent? The game of 3 kingdoms agreed. If you're dissatisfied, go leave a bad review. Why don't you just disappear and stop wasting air? By then, Shin Yin had half his body on the bed, lying comfortably, with only his feet still exposed. I saw you blink. Xia Yanchun sighed, feeling as though she had encountered a deity, unable to prevail despite her utmost efforts. Shin Yin had already reclined. Debating right and wrong would lead nowhere. Sometimes, she thought of Shun Yin as slippery as a rolling knife, while he treated others with warmth and displayed a sunny disposition. You probably don't know, but behind the scenes, Shin Yin is a villain of the worst kind, a true monster. This was a secret I had only just discovered. Truly, a face of a human, but a heart of a beast. Xia Yanchun has always indulged Shin Yin, though she herself cannot fathom the reason for such indulgence. She perceives it as a small compensation for the joy she once derived from teasing him during their childhood. After all, Shin Yin is confined to his bed. Unable to do much, it seems easier to acquiesce. With a light hum, she tousles her hair, adjusts the blanket, and shifts to the edge of the bed. What harm is there in evading him? After all, she has her own tasks to attend to, homework to complete, and a reminder to the teacher to ensure Shin Yin's work is checked, leaving him no choice but to comply. I will certainly disclose your situation to the teacher. Expect the wrath of your classmates, she muses. Shin Yin, peacefully reclining, enjoys a long overdue afternoon nap at Xia Yanchun's home. Snuggled under the soft blanket, he comfortably closes his slightly fatigued eyes, hoping that rest will alleviate his strain. Glancing at Xia Yanchun again, he feels a sense of contentment. Her bed is soft and fragrant, and he feels warm and secure. Good afternoon. I shall take my nap here, he whispers. Noticing that Shin Yin is truly drifting into sleep, Xia Yanchun bites her lip, her toes curling as she finds it difficult to concentrate on her exam papers. She finds herself idly toying with the pencil that Shin Yin has nearly filled with his writing. Is it truly the epitome of comfort to invade a girl's space and touch her belongings? You insufferable Shin Yin. Before long, Shin Yin is indeed snoring softly. Observing his serene slumber, Xia Yanchun pouts internally. This is her bed. How can he sleep so soundly? She adjusts the air conditioning to a lower setting. ensuring that the cool air blows directly at her, effectively preventing any blush from appearing on her cheeks, thanks to Shun Yin's presence. The fickleness of youth is remarkable. Once, Shun Yin despised Xia Yanchun's bed, yet now he relishes it. How can it be so comfortable? He reflects as the clock strikes 2 in the afternoon. Stirring from his slumber, still desiring to linger on the bed, unabashedly clutching the plush toys that Xia Yanchun has embraced and resting his head upon her pillow. It may sound peculiar, yet it is perfectly normal. After all, he must breathe. How could you be so content on my bed while I toil away at my desk? She thinks, her frustration boiling as she notices Shun Yin waking up so comfortably. If you're awake, mind you, my bed is not a free-for-all. Smooth out the wrinkles. Flip the blanket, sweep the living room, and don't forget to wipe the dining table. There's a cloth on the balcony. What are you rambling about? One might think you're searching for a housekeeper, Shun Yin replies, propping himself up. Covering his abdomen with the blanket proves to be a wise choice, as does refraining from lying down too long. At 18, brimming with youthful vigor and having abstained for 3 months, simply resting his head for half an hour in class leaves him unable to rise, let alone enjoy a luxurious afternoon nap. So you take advantage of my bed and indulge in my ice cream? I am at a loss. He retorts. No worries, you can sleep at my house tonight. We can return to our hometown together tomorrow. Please, with all that sweating, your bed must be filthy. Hello, please refrain from such remarks. I have just bathed before getting into bed. Shun Yin, cradling a teddy bear, leaned against the headboard, momentarily shaking off a wave of dizziness. Moreover, lying on someone else's bed is undoubtedly one of the greatest pleasures in the world. You must come and experience it on my bed someday. Xia Yanchun, with a gaze that resembled that of a dead fish, inwardly mused that indeed, this so-called greatest pleasure was far from virtuous. Shun Yin, I see right through you. Please urge for updates and 5-star reviews. Chapter 078. A complicated relationship. Alright, enough of that. I am well aware of who you are. Please step outside. I need to change. Xia Yanchun rose, her gaze deliberately avoiding Shun Yin. By the way, are you coming along? It has been ages since you returned to town. Perhaps you could buy some gifts. Since you've put it that way, I suppose I shall reluctantly comply. But forget it, you can just roll along. Once words are spoken, they are akin to spilled water. It is far too late to retract them. Shun Yin dashed away, conveniently closing the door behind Xia Yanchun. Boys tend to be rather casual when it comes to leaving. A quick wash of the face suffices. Having enjoyed a refreshing afternoon nap, Shun Yin was brimming with vitality. Entirely unlike the exhausted student he had been after a morning spent on exams. I've taken your electric scooter key, Shun Yin called out to Shun Yu. Where to? I'm going out with Xia Yanchun for a bit of fun. I'll bring you back some food. Shun Yu, reclining on the sofa with her hands clasped behind her head, her peach blossom eyes sparkling, remarked, Are you going on a date? Oh, I see. You understand nothing. Just go watch your television, Shun Yin replied, feeling exasperated and opting not to waste further breath on Shun Yu. Once he acquired his own electric scooter, he would no longer pay her any mind. Without spending coins, there's no use, Miss Saint. Dressed in a simple short-sleeved shirt and shorts, Shun Yin's attire could be deemed quite basic. In contrast, Xia Yanchun had taken her time. She lingered at home for 10 minutes before finally emerging. Shun Yin sat at the door like a vagabond, playing on his phone until she finally opened it. Xia Yanchun wore a loose-fitting white short-sleeved shirt adorned with a floral print, the sleeves draping naturally. The delicate patterns danced gently across the fabric. Her black shorts were also loose, with frayed edges that swayed as she walked, and her slender calves were complemented by a pair of white canvas shoes, enhancing her petite and adorable appearance. There is a certain art to fashion, and at this moment, Shun Yin was convinced, feeling an undeniable urge to reach out and touch her. Don't mess with me. I just styled my hair, Xia Yanchun exclaimed, twisting her head as her usual ponytail slipped through Shun Yin's fingers. Who dares to ruffle someone's hair upon the first meeting? Shun Yin, unfazed, jingled the car keys. Look, I have a vehicle. You should be secretly delighted. Haha, a few bucks for a taxi is no big deal. Without you, I could still take a rideshare and enjoy the air conditioning. Riding on your scooter would only expose me to the sun. Without me, you'd still have to spend money. It's not as if there are no helmets. Behave yourself, or once you're on the scooter, where you disembark will be beyond your control. A kidnapping declaration? Quite amusing. I'll call the police. Alright, let us go. Shun Yin placed a firm hand on Xia Yanchun's shoulder, urging her to hurry. He pressed the elevator button. If someone else summoned it first, they would have to wait even longer. In the elevator, Xia Yanchun stood a short distance in front of Shun Yin, just as she took out her phone. A sudden tremor in her hair made her cast a disgruntled glance at him. Never mind. You appear quite fair. Have you seldom been exposed to the sun? Shun Yin, with fingers interlaced in the girl's smooth hair, playfully tugged at it, occasionally pinching at Xia Yanchun's delicate face or brushing it behind her ear. Heaven knows how he managed to amuse himself through her hair. Xia Yanchun recalled that he had always behaved this way since childhood, despite her attempts to deter him. He remained unyielding, and over time, she had simply indulged him. Was this a sign that Shun Yin had her under his influence? The thought darkened her expression, making her feel magnanimous. Even though she allowed him such liberties, he still insisted on arguing with her and refused to call her sister. Fuming, she raised her hand and slapped Shun Yin, warning him not to touch her again. Is it possible that you've already crossed the line? When I question you, it is not my fault. Rather, it is yours that I find questionable. So, you are the domineering CEO Xia Yanchun, are you? You may have the arrogance, but where is the fortune? I am wealthier than you. Shun Yin was about to retort further, but Xia Yanchun picked up on his earlier comment. Being fair is easy. One simply needs to pay attention. In summer, one may tan a bit, but come winter break, I return to my fair complexion. Besides, I am naturally beautiful, blessed with flawless skin. In truth, I too am naturally handsome, tall and charming. A typical male, how insipid. Just as the elevator doors opened, Xia Yanchun hurriedly stepped outside. The sun shone brightly, and the fair-skinned girl wished to avoid the rays, so she stood in the shade, looking back at Shen Yan, waiting for him to bring the electric bike around. When he arrived with the bike, he also opened an umbrella, swiftly donning a helmet. Xia Yanchun lifted herself and settled comfortably onto the back seat, one hand diligently holding the umbrella. Once we arrive, how will you explain our situation? As the electric bike started, Shen Yan occasionally glanced in the rearview mirror at the bunny helmet adorning Xia Yanchun's head, which originally belonged to Shen Yu. It looked rather adorable on her. What is there to explain? Just tell them that we agreed to return to our hometown together tomorrow, and that you inadvertently overheard my plans to go shopping with Shi Yan, and then you begged us tearfully to take you along, claiming you would carry our bags. Shen Yan was at a loss for words. Does that fit the persona I have cultivated? Then what do you suggest? Oh, just say we live right across the hall from each other. No need for any childhood romance embellishments. Let's lay it all bare. We share that kind of relationship. Xia Yanchun tightened her grip on Shen Yan's shoulder, her little head popping up from beside him as she caught a glimpse of his handsome eyes in the rearview mirror. This fellow, even with a helmet, looks rather silly. That sounds a bit dubious. It suggests we have a more intimate connection. There is indeed something to it. Which you cannot deny, Xia Yanchun. I did just take a nap in your room. Xia Yanchun was momentarily taken aback, her heart inexplicably racing. What do you mean by having something more? We have no such relationship, all right? Just a month ago, we were rivals who would argue upon meeting. Suddenly, Shen Yan remarked that he did not wish to quarrel and desired to reconcile, even stating that he wanted their relationship to be the best in the world. Recently, he had displayed less hostility, resulting in fewer arguments. That notion does not exist. Someone retorted. It does. Go to hell. In the blink of an eye. They approached the shopping mall, which was bustling with people due to the National Day holiday. After searching for a considerable time, Shen Yan finally located a parking spot. The sun shone brightly as Xia Yanchun stood to the side, observing him maneuver the vehicle. Once parked, Shen Yan squeezed in beside Xia Yanchun to shield her from the sun. The vibrant warmth emanating from him enveloped her face, and with an expressionless demeanor, she handed him the umbrella, as she had no intention of using it. Shen Yan even adjusted the umbrella closer to Xia Yanchun, gently brushing aside the stray hair framing her face. After gazing at her for a while, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Chunbao, so adorable. In the past, he had grown accustomed to her presence, thinking that although Xia Yanchun was quite nice, she was merely average, and he found younger girls more appealing. However, a remark from Chun Dong had awakened him to the nuances of their ambiguous relationship, and he now found her increasingly charming, yearning to be closer to her. His gaze towards Xia Yanchun was utterly unabashed, yet she paid him little mind, engrossed in her phone, inquiring when Li Shiyan would arrive. Then, as if struck by a thought, her slender fingers poked at Shen Yan's arm. Let me tell you, if Shiyan asks us anything, we shall remain silent unless she inquires. If she does, we will say we agreed to shop together to return home. No, I will say you cried and begged me to accompany you. If I hadn't come, you would have sulked. Haha, let us see whether Shiyan trusts me or you. His fingertips began to feel slightly warm. When had this fellow become so sturdy? Today, he adjusted his schedule, having fallen behind on a chapter, and would find time later to catch up. Chapter 79. A brush with darkness. October followed September, and the mall was adorned with various promotions. The bubble tea shop displayed banners proclaiming half price for the second cup due to overwhelming demand, leaving the staff overwhelmed with customers. Xia Yanchun and Shen Yan found a spot to sit down, purchasing 3 cups of bubble tea, sipping slowly as they awaited Li Shiyan. Upon glancing up, Shen Yan had already disposed of his empty tea box in the trash. Are you a water buffalo, drinking so quickly? Isn't it that you are simply too slow? Haha. It seemed that girls always had a tendency to arrive fashionably late. Li Shiyan rushed in 2 minutes late, her hair styled in playful twin ponytails, her fluffy skirt giving her a whimsical appearance as she approached cutely. However, upon seeing Shen Yan, her cheerful demeanor dimmed. You, what are you doing here? Li Shiyan exclaimed, her wide eyes pointing at Shen Yan, her gaze flitting between the two. I understand, I fully comprehend, no need for further elaboration. Let us proceed with our usual banter. What's wrong? Is it not permissible for me to shop here? Shen Yan pointed at him in jest. I was wondering why you two are together. We have plans to return home together tomorrow, so we came to shop for a few items today. I forgot to mention it to you in advance, Shiyan. Xia Yanchun said, linking her arm with Li Shiyan's. It's all right, but why do they become so close upon meeting? How can their friendship be so strong while Chen Dong and I merely exchange insults? Frustrated, he thought, this is wrong. The boys are not behaving properly. Shun Yin envisioned a scene where she met Chen Dong, who affectionately leaned in towards her, and her expression soured. Reminiscent of the time in her childhood when she was covered in cow dung by Xia Yanchun, perhaps it was best to exchange insults. For hitting is a form of affection, and the next time she encounters Chen Dong, she might just land a couple of punches. Who says boys cannot be intimate? Having been apart for merely half a day, the two girls were already chattering and laughing together, a sight that Shen Yin found intolerable. Sigh. What happened to our promised shopping trip? Let us go, let us go. They paid her no mind, hand in hand, merrily strolling through the mall. The first floor of the shopping center featured a bustling snack street, offering all the popular delicacies. Since they had already purchased milk tea, the girls indulged in conversation while sipping their drinks, thoroughly enjoying their outing, with Shun Yin trailing behind. Xia Yanchun bought some snacks, and when she couldn't finish them, she handed them to Shun Yin to carry. Li Shiyan felt a twinge of envy at the sight of someone being helped. Casting a glance at Xia Yanchun and then at Shen Yin, Shen Yin seemed to grasp her intention and extended her other hand. allowing Li Shiyan to cheerfully place the snacks into her grasp, their fingers carefully avoiding contact, before dashing off with Xia Yin-chun in high spirits. Shen Yan felt like a mere packhorse. Li Shiyan pulled Xia Yin-chun into the mall to enjoy the air conditioning, discussing plans for after the holidays. She deliberately glanced back at Shen Yan, who was seated behind, engrossed in her phone, and then leaned closer to Xia Yin-chun, whispering conspiratorially. Did you all agree to come together? Your relationship seems quite close. It's not that good, Xia Yin-chun replied with a hint of progress in her tone. Previously, when I asked you, you both claimed not to be familiar. Now it's just not that good, which implies a slight improvement. Xia Yin-chun sighed softly, playfully poking Li Shiyan's cherubic face. What are you babbling about, little lowly? Suddenly, there was a loud crash. Li Shiyan froze. The vibrant mall scene fading into darkness, and a bolt of lightning struck. It felt as though the sky was collapsing. How could this happen? Why did the mysterious become so overtly distressing? This was the first time she truly understood the phrase the near ink becomes black. Haha, oh my. Xia Yin-chun could no longer contain her amusement, realizing how entertaining it was to tease Li Shiyan. It seemed she had truly misjudged her choice of desk made over the past 2 years. Wait, is that laughter human? No wonder she hangs around Xinyu. Unbeknownst to them, Shen Yan had drifted closer, and upon hearing the laughter, she felt a surge of mirth as well. The student surpasses the master. It was no wonder Xia Yin-chun had behaved poorly in the past. She had a role model to inspire her. On the second floor, there was a mini-so store. After resting sufficiently, Li Shiyan eagerly pulled Xia Yin-chun to browse, purchasing hair ties, accessories, and cosmetics. These items seemed to possess an innate allure for most women, and Xia Yin-chun was no exception. Although she had never worn makeup, she paused to admire some attractive cosmetic samples they passed by. The store was predominantly filled with couples and single women, as most of the merchandise catered to female clientele. And it was rare for a lone male to enter the shop. There was also a section dedicated to women's lingerie, and considering Shen Yan, the two girls decided to leave her behind as they ventured in to explore. Shen Yan thought to herself, why can't one look at what's worn on a person, yet viewing what's displayed outside is also forbidden? Who hasn't seen it before? Shen Yu sometimes relies on Shen Yan to hang her undergarments out to dry. It's not just that there's Shen Yu in the house. Even when it comes to Xia Yin-chun, he has seen quite a bit, though not by design. He often finds himself in Xia Yin-chun's home, and she certainly cannot gather the clothes from the balcony every time he visits. This time, Shen Yan felt a sense of delight as he executed a little trick. He pondered when males would finally rise to the occasion. He found a spot to lie down, while Xia Yin-chun and Li Shiyan reveled inside, trying on lingerie and playfully teasing each other about their figures. When they emerged, each held a neatly packed bag. Though Xia Yin-chun was inclined to stuff everything into Shen Yan's arms, this particular item was one she preferred to carry herself. Some things are best held personally. If she were to hand it to Shen Yan, even a blind person like Li Shiyan would discern something amiss. Although they had shared intimate moments, their current relationship was pure and uncomplicated. Fewer misunderstandings contribute to a more beautiful society. Those who indulge in ambiguity are often scoundrels. Shen Yan and Xia Yin-chun have never engaged in such ambiguity. They never hesitate to speak their minds when necessary, wishing to dance on the graves of their adversaries. Unlike those who flirt with ambiguity, Shen Yan and Xia Yin-chun had indeed clashed in the past. If this could be deemed ambiguous, then they would be invincible. Siblings naturally quarreled during their youth. Shen Yan, being 7 years younger than Shen Yu, had been thoroughly subdued in their childhood skirmishes, only to cease their brawls upon maturing. You all truly consider me a mere tool, don't you? Just one person's card swipe for a meal, Shen Yan grumbled. Xia Yin-chun, not one to hold grudges, nodded and replied, swipe my card twice, but do not use Shi Yan's. She is unaware of your visit, unaware of my arrival, yet. She has no qualms about piling things onto me, Shen Yan retorted. You little lowly, it's one thing to help you with snacks, but you are also stacking items onto me. I may be playfully ambiguous with you, but I'm not truly flirting, she defended. I'll use your card for Li Shiyan, and I'm not timid about it, she added, knowing full well her actions were somewhat unjustifiable. A meal isn't overly expensive. Shen Yan certainly wouldn't lower himself to swiping for 30 or 40 yuan in the cafeteria. With a meal card as her safety net, she felt justified in draping items over Shen Yan, her twin tails swaying playfully. Chapter 080. The capitalist bounty on Li Shiyan in the dark web, exceeding the bounty on Luffy. Carrying items can be quite inconvenient, and the plastic bags tend to pinch fingers, turning them red and sore. The meticulous nature of girls meant that after a while, she no longer needed Shen Yan's help. Li Shiyan, being similarly meticulous, retrieved her own share and finished her snack on the way, her lips smacking contentedly. Shen Yan, feeling quite at ease, maneuvered to Xia Yin-chun's side, seizing the opportunity to get closer. The three of them enjoyed their time together, and Shen Yan relished the warm atmosphere. The essence of youth enveloped them. Fortunately, Chen Xiaoyu was absent. He had thoughts of troubling the literary girl. Speaking of which, had he forgotten something? Shen Yan rubbed his chin, struggling to recall, but the fact that he couldn't remember indicated it was of little importance. It was best to let things flow naturally. Meanwhile, at the bustling fish market, the bespectacled elder had already made 2 laps around the stalls. Where on earth is you? Kaishukuin, what am I to do about my fish if you do not show up? Do not let me catch you tardy at the school gate. I shall impose double penalties on your class points, and should the weekly mobile flag be awarded to you, consider it my defeat. At the arcade, 2 young ladies ventured into the claw machine area. Shen Yan entered with an expressionless demeanor, finding the atmosphere utterly mundane. He mused upon the merchant's knack for business, as the claw machines were adorned in pastel hues, enticing any girl who passed by to take a glance. He idly wondered when the machines might be transformed into models of Gundam. He would certainly be drawn to that. Lacking interest in the claw game, he found the cacophony of the arcade music, an annoying remix of love songs, irritating, yearning only for a swift exit. Until his gaze fell upon a machine designed for clawing models, Gundam, Kamen Rider, Ultraman. The box was affixed with a circle meant for the claws to ensnare the toys, proudly displaying the Bandai logo. Uncertain of its authenticity, he snapped a photo and sent it to Mom Ming Fan, who was fond of such collectibles. Mom Ming Fan responded promptly. Shin Yan, is it authentic, brother? Spotted it at the mall. Image, Mom Ming Fan. At first glance, let me have the mall owner's contact. I'll have him settle the copyright fee, just pass it on to me, and I'll relay it to Bandai. Shin Yan, alright, you've outlived your usefulness, farewell. Mom Ming Fan. With his phone tucked away, Shin Yan glanced back at the claw machine. Are you implying that a pastel claw machine is harboring models within? Although they were not particularly expensive models, the mere presence of Gundam and Kamen Rider was enough to entice him. A little monetary investment would suffice. For we folks from CI, are quite spirited. When Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan turned to locate Shin Yan, he had already returned from the counter, clutching a box of coins. You plan to play? Xia Yanchun inquired, perplexed. Now that we are here, shouldn't you also indulge in a foot bath at the spa as you pass by? Is that even comparable? Such undertakings are beneath us high school students. Li Shiyan blinked and casually asked, what if we graduate? That is a matter for another day. Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan chuckled. Hakinian, you truly are something. It's amusing. If I catch you, I'll inform the auntie about your foot bath escapade. Do not blame me, Sister Xia, for being ruthless. Upon spotting the models within the claw machine, Xia Yanchun suddenly understood Shin Yan's enthusiasm. Boys could hardly resist such temptations. She recalled how, during their childhood skirmishes, Shin Yan would feign power by striking poses as Digga, claiming he was out of energy when he faltered, vowing to transform and return the next day for retribution. How humorous! Shin Yan was once quite the weakling. Clearing his throat, Shin Yan declared, let us not squander time on such trivialities. I shall commence my attempts at the claw machine now. 8 coins per try, what a money grab. He grumbled as he inserted the coins, pondering the capitalist's cunning ways. Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan observed as he attempted to snag a prize, but after several tries, he returned empty-handed, his initial confidence waning, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Let me give it a try, you fool. Xia Yanchun nudged him, her fragrant and soft form pressing against him, prompting Shin Yan to vacate his spot in surprise. He vaguely recalled that Xia Yanchun had a penchant for claw machines, often returning with plush toys. Indeed, several of the stuffed animals adorning her bed were captured by her deft hands. She must possess considerable skill. Chumbao, if you snag one, I shall reward you with a generous handful of peanuts. No need. If I desire them, I shall procure them myself. Xia Yanchun's lips twitched. Perhaps due to someone flaunting their peanuts daily. Pay attention, this lady is called Xiaochun. She is about to commence her toy-catching endeavor. With a flourish, Xia Yanchun clapped her hands, effortlessly engaging in the task. But didn't you fail to catch anything? Shin Yan remarked, eyes narrowing. Despite not securing any prizes, she still exerted effort. Haha, then you owe me 24 coins. Shall we exchange some coins to play that motorcycle game? Sounds good. Shin Yan grimaced. Lamenting the 68 coins lost, perhaps a glimmer of experience could salvage his skills at the claw machine. Entrapped by capital, they say, those capitalists truly deserve disdain. It feels as if the streetlights are hollow. Wait, capital? Shin Yan mused, narrowing his eyes at the adorable twin-tailed girl. Li Shiyan, come here. I shall grant you 2 more attempts. Li Shiyan was momentarily taken aback, soon overwhelmed by boundless joy. I have a name now, I have a name. The sun shone brightly in the sky, a canvas of azure, clouds drifting lazily. Even if someone inadvertently stepped on her foot, she would tenderly forgive them. Do you need my assistance in catching? Li Shiyan bounced over. Go for it, Li Shiyan. But I'm not adept at claw machines. If I fail, you won't scold me, right? Not catching anything merely signifies we have all been ensnared by capital. Then I shall give it a try. Investing 8 coins. Li Shiyan curiously tampered with the claw machine. What is this? If I move it, why does the claw shift? What is this? If I press, why does the claw drop? How did the claw manage to grasp a box and lift it? How did the box enter the hole? The box seemingly entered on its own, as if Lady Luck herself had whimsically pressed a button. Shin Yan fell into contemplation. Shin Yan stood at attention. Impressive, my friend. Shin Yan gave a thumbs up. Li Shiyan twirled her twin tails, feeling flattered for the first time by Shin Yan's praise, though not particularly eloquent. Compliments were certainly preferable to rebukes. Just good fortune, I suppose. I've heard these machines have a minimum guarantee. One more time, you can try again. Whether you succeed or not is inconsequential. The remaining coins are yours to use. Alright, if it doesn't work out, it's not my concern. 20 seconds later. Shin Yan cradled a second box, smiling with satisfaction. 666, Earth's lucky player. Does this diminish the odds? It seemed luck was not the issue. What are the chances of a machine triggering the minimum twice? A divine concept indeed. Shin Yan often felt inferior, even with his good fortune, unable to surpass Li Shiyan. The capitalists, upon witnessing Li Shiyan's remarkable feats, discreetly posted a bounty on the dark web, with the reward surpassing even that of Luffy. Shin Yan handed the remaining coins to Li Shiyan and, after a moment's thought, exchanged for 100 in coins, filling a heavy basket. You two take this to play. Don't be polite with your brother. Oh, Xia Yanchun and Li Shiyan dashed off to catch other adorable dolls. Shin Yan, resembling a caring father, watched his 2 daughters with a gentle and warm demeanor, a sentiment he had expressed countless times before. In the evening, Xia Yanchun waved goodbye to Li Shiyan as she boarded the bus. The twilight was breathtakingly beautiful, with the glass of the tall buildings reflecting a myriad of dazzling lights. Xinyan rode his electric bike back to the community, stopping along the way to purchase some fruit and dinner for Xinyu. Bit had not eaten anything all day, waiting for his brother to bring him food. Tomorrow, when they returned to their hometown, he planned to adorn Xinyu's neck with a large pancake necklace. Upon arriving home, Xinyan lay back on his bed, feeling somewhat weary. After taking a shower, he felt somewhat revitalized. Today had been mentally taxing, and if he did not take a break, he would genuinely risk becoming daft. Just kidding. He resumed his studies, tackling 2 subjects, and upon glancing at the time, he skillfully checked in on various QQ groups to gain a wave of experience points before lazily reclining on the bed to unwind. He had accomplished much today, truly pushing himself hard. Focusing on the system, the task panel emerged, revealing that he had completed an entire set of exam papers, advancing his status to an intermediate adventurer with the task progress moving from 0-10 to 110. It was just as he had imagined. In the past, he might have had to study until 2 or 3 in the morning, but today he found it difficult to concentrate. Taking advantage of the time before sleep, he began assembling the 2 models he had just caught, piecing them together with care. They looked quite decent, though he lacked the expertise for more intricate details, as he was not part of that circle. At most, he polished the noticeably protruding joints. The next day, as dawn broke with a clear atmosphere, Xinyan rose early as usual, arriving at the park by 7 o'clock and exercising vigorously for an hour before returning home. Rising early, exercising, practicing abstinence, and studying had propelled him beyond 9,999 peers. Xinyan was remarkably formidable. It is often said that a tiger's son is not a dog. Xinyan sent a video of the ants performing their square dance to Ma Mingfan, altering the file name to Outdoor Hot Dance. It was important to clarify that the video had been taken with beauty filters and with the ants' consent. Their request was straightforward. Take as many shots as you like, but do not skimp on the beauty filters. Chen Dong had seen it, leaving Ma Mingfan with no reason not to watch. After sending it, Xinyan set the message to be received without alerts, a testament to their good father-son relationship, knowing that for any urgent matters, a phone call would suffice. After showering and organizing his belongings, he awaited Xia Yanchun's response before unlocking the door to her home. Why are you so energetic? Xia Yanchun, still half asleep and brushing her teeth, heard the sound of the front door opening. Early to bed and early to rise is good for your health. I brought you breakfast. Without uttering a word of gratitude, Xia Yanchun hurriedly finished brushing her teeth and dashed back to her room. Seated at her desk, she began to comb her hair, transforming her previously tousled locks into a smooth cascade. A young lady's morning routine encompasses more than merely grooming her hair. It involves a myriad of tasks, including applying a plethora of facial cleansers and washing her face anew. By this time, Xinyan had already devoured his portion of breakfast. He reclined on the sofa with his legs crossed, resembling a master of his own domain. However, this casual demeanor was typical of his visits to Xuanchun's home, just as she was equally unrestrained at Xun Nian's residence. Breakfast consisted of a serving of soup dumplings and a bottle of frozen soy milk. Xuanchun sat beside Xinyan, her petite form elegantly crossed at the legs, deftly consuming the dumplings with a bamboo skewer. She had already packed a small bag filled with various documents. Her clothes and bedding remained at her family home, rendering them unnecessary for the trip. Truth be told, if not for the homework, she could easily return with just her phone. Is it delicious? Xinyan inquired, leaning closer, affectionately calling her Chunbao. Delicious, but not prepared by you. It feels rather like pre-made dumplings. Ah, the current state of affairs dictates such. Freshly made buns are now a rarity. Xinyan had recently bathed, emanating a pleasant fragrance unique to young men, which stirred an inexplicable flutter in her heart. Xuanchun shifted slightly, raising her finger to assert. That is only in the city. Back home, everything is freshly made. During summer vacations, I could see breakfast shops still open at 3 or 4 in the morning, with people needing dough inside. Could you eat in peace? You chatter incessantly. We'll have to carry our bags to the subway soon. Xinyan, uninterested in prolonging the conversation, busied himself with his phone. Though appearing engrossed in his device, his other hand reached out to playfully twirl the strands of Xuanchun's hair. It was a natural gesture, a casual act of affection. Feeling an itch on her face from the hair, Xuanchun shook her head and retreated to her room to organize her belongings. The space beside her suddenly felt empty. Xinyan, astonished, followed her into the room and sprawled across her bed, waiting for her. After all, he had completed his preparations and was merely waiting for Xuanchun, ready to embark on their journey back home together. As for Xinyu, she intended to return only during the Mid-Autumn Festival, as the countryside offered little entertainment compared to the city, primarily serving as an opportunity to visit relatives. Step out, I need to change my clothes, Xuanchun remarked, holding up a lovely dress as she glanced at Xinyan. After locking eyes for a brief 3 seconds, this extraordinary young man surprisingly closed his eyes, opened his mouth, pulled the covers over himself, and drifted into slumber. I'm going to sleep now. Even if you were to strip completely, I wouldn't awaken, Xinyan declared. Amused yet exasperated, Xuanchun seized her teddy bear and playfully struck him. After a while, Xinyan sheepishly retreated, closing the door behind him. When he emerged again, Xuanchun had donned a charming dress. Her hair remained unbound, cascading gracefully over her ears and shoulders, with only a delightful panda hairpin adorning her bangs. How adorable! Xinyan exclaimed, immediately giving her a thumbs up. I just bought it yesterday. Shurian helped me pick it out, Xuanchun replied, pinching the hairpin and chuckling softly. I find it quite charming myself, although it was a tad expensive, 8 yuan each. I must say, flattery is indeed the first essential step to success in this world. Xia Yanchun paused for a moment, gently brushed her hair, tilted her head, and upon realizing what Shen Yan had said, simply let her hair cascade to the sides. Murmuring softly, frivolous. You're somewhat unattractive. Go to hell, aminos. Shen Yan replied. 666. I compliment you on your cuteness, and you call me frivolous. Insult my looks, and tell me to die? You've taken all the words out of my mouth. What am I to say? Ordinary. Shen Yan still had a trick up his sleeve. You too, let us go. Where's your backpack? It's outside the door. Let us go, let us go. Shen Yan opened the door to fetch his backpack while Xia Yanchun approached the sink, cupping a bit of water in her hands to splash on her face. Looking at the small figure in the mirror with her ears slightly flushed, Xia Yanchun pressed her lips together. This defensive entry is too low. It doesn't quite resemble me. Where are you, girl? I'm coming. In a hurry. She concealed her ears with her hair and bounded out the door to join Shen Yan. Chapter 082. No need to borrow. I will rely on myself soon. After greeting Shen Yu on his phone, Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun made their way to the passenger station. Outside the station, there were small vendors selling sweet soups, including locust flour, mung bean paste, and sago. Shen Yan had a fondness for mung bean paste. His mother often prepared it for him at home, but it was always served hot, then cooled and placed in the refrigerator, requiring quite a while to chill. Though they were quite similar, he still preferred the ones from outside. The sweet soup at home was often desired before it was cooked, but once prepared, he found himself disinterested, while his father enjoyed it heartily. Boss, 2 cups of mung bean paste. 8 yuan per cup, that LLB 16. All right. Shen Yan paid and took the mung bean paste, walking over to hand one to Xia Yanchun. This stuff back home is only 3 yuan a cup, and here it's doubled in price. Knowing it's expensive yet still buying it, Xia Yanchun's lips twitched as she clutched the plastic bag, delightfully taking a sip. The sweetness of the mung bean paste causing her eyes to crinkle with joy. If this was Shen Yan's way of showing affection, she would gladly accept it. It's nothing, my friend isn't short on cash, Shen Yan remarked nonchalantly. The money from completing tasks, to be honest, was merely 2 sesame seeds next to a watermelon. The title and passive skills were the real treasures, and this sum paled in comparison to the value of passives. Come on, can a million yuan really buy you the ability to continuously restore physical abilities? At just 18, in the prime of your life. It's the weakest phase for vitality. Even so, vitality remains formidable, and its worth correlates with age. A billionaire in their 70s or 80s would still be stooped over, while my friend at that age would be running marathons. Humph, can you really earn so much selling fish? I haven't seen you fishing often. Your inability to see is your own problem, just like you can't see me exercising in the park every morning. Shen Yan shook his finger. Chunbao? Of course you can't see, because I haven't actually been selling fish at all. I've only sold it once. Hee. Just ask what I've been doing when you weren't with me. I was fishing. Thinking about fishing reminded Shen Yan of the confusion from the previous day. He had thought he had forgotten something important, only to realize he had forgotten to sell fish. My apologies, director. You should look for Kai Shukuan from class 31 of the 3rd year. Having purchased their bus tickets, Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun boarded the vehicle, securing a row of seats together. Shen Yan, walking ahead, graciously allowed Xia Yanchun to take the inner seat. No need for formality. You sit inside, he insisted. Xia Yanchun felt no discomfort, gracefully lifted her skirt and settled down, her attire modestly covering her knees. The delicate skin of her knees contrasted with her exquisitely shaped calves, adorned with lace-trimmed socks peeking out from her shoes. Who has unleashed my adversary? Shen Yan pondered seriously, casting a bold glance at her once more. Xia Yanchun mused. At times, the term fool serves not merely as an insult, but aptly describes Shen Yan. This epithet has withstood the test of time. After all, I have been calling him a fool for several years now. Recently, following a string of defeats at his hands, Xia Yanchun's mischievous alter ego had awakened. She glanced around. Having boarded the bus early, the only other occupants were a few elderly passengers seated ahead. Lowering her voice, she proposed, would you like to see? What? Shen Yan exclaimed, his surprise evident as he leaned closer to Xia Yanchun, his breath warm against her ear. There's a lot of people around. Let us return home first, and you leave a window open for me to sneak over. Originally, she had intended to wait until Shen Yan asked to see her legs before revealing her long safety shorts, but his unexpected response thwarted her plans. You cannot fathom a divine being with ordinary logic, she teased. Huh, you think you can outsmart me? Train for a century before you try again. Shen Yan's seasoned wisdom told him that Xia Yanchun was up to something mischievous. His experience, acquired through various encounters, remained his secret. Huffed, you squandered your chance. Xia Yanchun huffed, diverting her attention to her phone. As more passengers boarded, predominantly older individuals, it became apparent that fewer people were choosing to travel by bus these days. The atmosphere grew increasingly raucous, yet no one seemed inclined to quell the noise. The diverse dialects spoken around them, some of which Shen Yan struggled to comprehend, contributed to the lively chaos. Searching through his backpack, Shen Yan produced a pair of Bluetooth headphones. Do you want one? He offered to the soft and fragrant Xia Yanchun. She nodded, her small head bobbing in agreement. But just as she reached for them, Shen Yan withdrew his hand, placing the Bluetooth headphones aside and retrieving a pair of wired ones instead. What's the matter? He said, gesturing to hand the side closest to her. With a grin, he said, here, why not just share one each? Xia Yanchun questioned, bemused. My Bluetooth headphones confided in me last night, expressing a desire to be paired exclusively with my phone for eternity. It's a pure love, and I must remain loyal. He replied with a hint of humor. Xia Yanchun's lips twitched at his antics. Shen Yan's intentions were transparent to the world. He sought closeness and advantages under the guise of a romantic notion from a bygone era. Had my phone not been capable of directly connecting to yours via Bluetooth, I might have believed you, she retorted, rolling her eyes. Does he truly think this is romantic or youthful? Does he consider me just another naive girl? Fool, she murmured, her delicate fingers gently inserting the earphones into her ears. Play something pleasant. What would you like to hear? Something delightful. And what constitutes delightful music? Delightful songs, of course. What do you mean by delightful? Shen Yan felt a twinge of embarrassment as he observed the foolishness of Haki-chan. He played a soothing instrumental playlist, creating a relaxed atmosphere that was perfectly complemented by the serene melodies. The bus set off, gradually turning around, while the morning sun began to illuminate half of the cabin. The interplay of light and shadow danced across Xia Yanchun's figure and face, the brilliant brightness causing her to squint slightly. Her pupils resembled the most exquisite jewels, and her unadorned face was graced with a natural radiance, her eyelashes shimmering, and her hair transformed into lovely golden strands with warm hues that made her utterly photogenic. Shen Yan, with a swift motion, pulled back the curtains. Despite having reached the age of 18, should one truly confront the sun directly? Haki-chan, you are infuriatingly formidable. Xia Yanchun ignored him, contemplating how to pass the time on the lengthy journey to the town. During summer vacation, traveling home alone, she had spent an entire day on the bus, eventually losing interest in her phone and unable to sleep beside a boy. Now, with Shun Yan beside her, she felt free to rest. I'm going to sleep, she pouted, placing her small bag heavily on Shen Yan's lap. Could you hold this for a moment? Do you need to borrow my shoulder to lean on? No need to borrow. I can lean on my own later, Xia Yanchun asserted confidently, lifting her youthful silhouette. Chapter 083. I will never again indulge Shen Yan's shameless behavior. Although she wished to catch up on sleep, the bus swayed unsteadily, intermittently stopping and moving, and the noise within the vehicle made it quite difficult to fall asleep immediately. Though her eyes were half closed, Xia Yanchun held her head high, listening to the music, hoping to doze off comfortably. Occasionally, she imagined resting her head on Shun Yan's shoulder. Had it been 10 years ago, she would have certainly leaned on him, as he had been more easily bullied back then. Reflecting on her past self, Xia Yanchun felt she had been too harsh during their childhood skirmishes, possibly striking Shen Yan hard enough to leave him a bit slow-witted, hence creating a distance between them. I repent, yet I would do it again. Shen Yan once heard a wise person say, when observing a girl, first look into her eyes. If she is looking back at you, then gaze into her eyes. But if she is not, then direct your attention to her legs. Thus, Shen Yan indulged himself in the view, unaware of when Xia Yanchun had opened her eyes. With an expressionless face, she covered her legs, extending a middle finger towards him, shrimp head. Ahem, my little Xiaomi can write it off, Shen Yan exclaimed with an innocent smile, attempting to evade the situation. Are you taking advertisements? You mention it every day. I still use morning light. Morning light won't do. I prefer beauty and true colors. Who told you to say that? A vein appeared on Xia Yanchun's forehead, and her small fist clenched. Aren't you supposed to be sleeping? Not asleep yet. Why not lean on me now? I wouldn't mind, but a knee pillow is out of the question, Shun Yan stated with earnestness, devoid of any pretense. Who asked you? Xia Yanchun decided to ignore him once more, sending a message in the family group chat to inquire if her parents had time to pick her and Shen Yan up, if they were unavailable. She would have no choice but to share a ride with Shen Yan back to the town. As for the uncle and aunt, they must be pressed for time, for the farm is situated some 10 kilometers from the town, making travel inconvenient. At times, they would even spend the night at the farm instead of returning home, and during those occasions, Shen Yan would come over to share a meal. However, such instances have become rare lately, as Shen Yan has taken to eating instant noodles. Xia Yanchun has often heard her mother lamenting that Shen Yan has grown increasingly distant, preferring instant noodles over home-cooked meals, even suspecting whether there had been a quarrel between them. In truth, there was no quarrel, merely a conflict. After entering high school, Shen Yan seldom returned to the town. Upon reaching the town's entrance, my mother drove to pick us up. Only after the family group chat had responded did Xia Yanchun speak up. Is there such a good fortune? Shen Yan remarked, stroking his chin. It has been ages since I last saw your mother. I shall dine at your home tonight. Well, it's your fault for not returning often, she replied. Oh, let us not dwell on that. Shen Yan adjusted his clothes, and in doing so, his earphones were inadvertently yanked off. Unperturbed by the hassle, he put them back in, the incident providing him with the perfect excuse to lean closer to Xia Yanchun. Their arms brushed against each other, and she tugged at the hem of her skirt where Shen Yan had seated himself. The bus's air conditioning emitted a gentle breeze, causing her bangs to flutter against her forehead and eyelids. Xia Yanchun felt an unusual warmth emanating from Shen Yan and nestled together. She could even catch the scent of his sun-warmed clothing. Her heartbeat seemed to quicken unnaturally, and with wide eyes, she instinctively gripped her skirt, creating unsightly creases. You should catch up on sleep. I want to doze off soon too. But since you're shorter, resting your head on my shoulder might strain your neck. Here, you can use my legs as a pillow. I enjoy knee pillows. Xia Yanchun did not engage with his playful banter, slightly turning her face away as she murmured, You smell rather unpleasant, as if countless creatures have perished on you. Shen Yan immediately tensed. Come on, it's not like that. I showered just this morning and changed my clothes. It's not even been 3 months, and it's not that bad. How could you possibly smell that? Oh, so it's dust mites, huh? Haha, you nearly scared me. Chun Bao, don't say such odd things next time. That's just the scent of sunshine. You wouldn't understand. Shen Yan poked Xia Yanchun's shoulder, his touch smooth, wishing to be closer, though he already was. Humph, what are you huffing about? I could easily turn you into a cream puff. I'm feeling a bit sleepy. Xia Yanchun stifled a small yawn. Then sleep, he replied. As she pulled back a corner of the curtain, the scenery outside rushed by, and the road began to level out, likely due to their prolonged conversation. The bus gradually quieted. Xia Yanchun desired to gaze outside, making a slight movement that caused her earphones to slip off again. Just as she picked them up to wear, Shen Yan nudged her once more. We each have our own space. Your backside is practically in the middle. I'm nearly plastered against the window. Initially, she intended to glare at Shen Yan in annoyance, hoping to instill a sense of self-awareness in him, to dissuade his audacity in approaching her, to cease his incessant attempts to take advantage of her, and to refrain from leveraging his prestigious reputation for such trivial pursuits. With a plethora of words bottled up inside her, she turned her head only to find Shen Yan reaching out to tuck her hair behind her ear, his warm hand brushing against her temple, inadvertently teasing her with a gentle caress of her earlobe, as if he believed she was oblivious to his antics. She opened her mouth, pursed her lips, and aside from concealing the shyness reflected in her eyes, she found herself at a loss for words. She vowed never to indulge Shen Yan's shameless behavior again. Xia Yanchun had fallen asleep, her small mouth slightly agape, exhaling a sweet breath. To deceive you. Even a super sweet girl does not possess a fragrant breath. However, what Shen Yan first detected was Xia Yanchun's inherent fragrance, which took precedence, as coded in the intricacies of his mind. Her little head alternately leaned against the curtain and Shen Yan, swaying like a fisherman casting a line, causing him to worry for her neck. Occasionally waking in a daze, she feigned alertness, only to drift back into slumber against him. Shen Yan had already lowered the volume on his phone. During such moments, halting the music or removing his earbuds would only disrupt Xia Yanchun's sleep. Due to their close proximity, the earphone cord was no longer at risk of being tugged. Thank me, my dear Zhu. It is solely for your comfort that I am crowding you, he mused. Shen Yan wished to lean against Xia Yanchun and sleep as well, but alas. He was full of energy, relegated to listening to music, admiring the scenery ahead, and eavesdropping on others' conversations. Gaming was out of the question. Any movement on his part would surely rouse Xia Yanchun from her peaceful slumber. She would not lash out at him for it, as she simply wanted to avoid waking her. Xia Yanchun, fragrant and precious within the confines of the bus, was a delightful presence, her petite form hardly a burden. This woman was infuriatingly soft. As they approached the town, Xia Yanchun emitted a soft whimper, her hand idly reaching out, reminiscent of a computer that takes too long to restart. Shen Yan exhaled a breath of relief. Having maintained one position for so long was quite a challenge. At that moment, he longed to distance himself from Xia Yanchun, finding no desire for closeness, preferring to postpone such intimacy. While being near Xia Yanchun was initially pleasurable, the discomfort that followed after a couple of hours was undeniable. Oh, you woke up quite timely. I almost roused you, Shen Yan remarked, giving her head a gentle poke. Noticing her shoulder had become misaligned from leaning against him. After a refreshing sleep, I should send a message to my mother, Xia Yanchun murmured sleepily, removing her earbuds and cradling her phone to type. Once the bus reached the town, Shen Yan disembarked alongside Xia Yanchun. Many passengers alighted, mostly fellow townsfolk. Yet he recognized none. The educational standards in the town were rather low, filled with spirited youths, 7 out of 10 of whom favored tight-fitting clothing. Shen Yan felt out of place among them, thus had not made many acquaintances. As of now, only a handful of my middle school classmates remain in touch. When we encounter each other in town, we merely nod and call out names, a semblance of a greeting. The local middle school does not rank highly within the province. Yet Sinan No. 2 High School stands among the finest in the region. At that time, our class boasted a pair of top achievers, much to our homeroom teacher's delight. On the day of our middle school graduation, the school proudly displayed a list of honored students at the entrance, featuring both Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun. Before long, a black sedan approached slowly. Lowering the window, Xia Yanchun's mother, Wen Jining, donned sunglasses and exuded a cool demeanor. Finally back, hop in. She beckoned. Hello, Aunt One. Shen Yan stood at attention. Oh my, Shen Yan. It's been ages. You've grown so tall. Wen Jining removed her sunglasses and appraised him with a smile. Mom. Let us go. Xia Yanchun, oblivious to the relationships around her, threw her backpack into the back seat, opting to sit in the passenger seat instead. Having been squished by Shen Yan earlier, she was reluctant to share the back seat with him again. Shen Yan obediently settled in the back beside Wen Jining, cautious not to provoke Xia Yanchun any further. Soon, they arrived in town. Shen Yan's home was tidy. It was evident that his room had been recently cleaned. After a brief tidying up, he informed his parents of his safe return. Their 2 houses were 3-story structures, with Shen Yu's room on the 2nd floor, and both Shen Yan and Xia Yanchun occupying rooms on the 3rd floor. There were no security bars on the windows. In their childhood, Shen Yan would sneak into Xia Yanchun's room to play, a perilous endeavor that would have led to a severe reprimand from his parents if discovered. At 7 in the evening, Shen Yan's parents returned home. Shen Mingyue had not seen Shen Yan in what felt like an eternity. Upon arrival, she circled around him, her satisfaction evident as she observed his vitality. What are you staring at, Mom? Shen Yan scratched his head, feeling a bit awkward. I'm just checking to see what changes have occurred since you've been away. You, my good boy, didn't he even bother to come home for a meal? You spent the entire summer at your sister's place. Did you think I wouldn't notice if you didn't come back? Oh, coming back is dull. If you wanted to see me, you could just drive over, Shen Yan retorted, noting their car was still available. Shen Mingyue finally understood. Such filial piety must be Shen Yan's intention, prompting her to reward him with a delightful dish of stir-fried pork with gluten. Alas, he had grown up and was no longer subject to punishment. Was it too much for him to wish for his parents to drive half a day just to see him? What a rascal, Shen Yan. The first question mark signified confusion, the second, peculiarity, and the third, skepticism. Mom, you should delete TikTok when you get a chance. If you don't, I will do it for you. The moment Haki emerged, Shen Yan felt that Shen Mingyue was beyond salvation. The internet had wrought significant havoc. That won't he do? If I delete it, there'll be nothing to watch. I enjoy those cat memes. They are quite amusing. Watch if you wish, but don't misinterpret the memes. You're starting to sound like a poser. It was all too abstract. Shen Yan felt like a novice in front of his own mother. Who could comprehend the peculiar sense of redemption that came from being addressed as Hakier by one's own mother? Shen Yan felt an odd sense of solace. You are still youthful. Once you reach the age of your mother, you will understand. What ill intentions could she possibly harbor? She merely wishes to engage with that which captivates the younger generation, those delightful cat memes. Should one fail to keep pace with the times, they will soon be overwhelmed by the tide of progress. The Yangtze River's waves push forward, leaving the previous waves stranded upon the shore. Chun Mingyue merely seeks to surf atop the new waves. What malice could there be in that? With age comes the challenge of keeping up with the ever-evolving world. And she is reluctant to become the stubborn elder in the eyes of the youth. The new era has not provided a vessel for her. So she has crafted her own, leading her peers by a significant margin. Engaging in these trends has rejuvenated her by 20 years. Wait, where's Dad? Shun Yin fretted that if he didn't intervene soon, the name Hakimi would surely escape his mother's lips. He is chatting with your uncle outside. Shen Mingyue replied with a smile. You should go greet him. I'll prepare dinner. What greeting? I'll help you cook instead. He has been craving your dishes. Especially that stir-fried pork with green peppers and garlic oysters, Mom. At that, Shen Mingyue's smile faded. She gently pushed Shen Yin out, saying, I can manage alone. I refrained from saying it before to spare your and your sister's feelings. But honestly, I find you both quite cumbersome in the kitchen. You take ages to wash the vegetables, and they still aren't clean. Being playfully chided by his mother was quite amusing to Shen Yin. It is well known that the first day a child returns home after a long absence is more precious than gold. Since even his mother had voiced such sentiments, he felt justified in relishing the moment. Just as he was about to leave, Shen Mingyue called him back. I saw your monthly exam scores in the parents' group. You've made significant progress. Of course, I've always been clever since childhood. Shen Yin grinned widely. Delighted, I was just waiting for you to ask. Scored 620. And that without putting in much effort. Haha, the midterm began at 650. Boasting without a draft, are we? Really? I'll surpass that girl next door one day. Believe it or not. Still trying to compete with Xiao Chun? Can you really measure up? She scored 700. Confidence is commendable, but aiming too high is unwise. Scoring over 600 might be attainable with effort, but anything above 700 requires a certain aptitude for studying. If I had that aptitude, I wouldn't have been hovering around the middle of the pack in my first 2 years of high school. Mom, if you're not going to bolster my confidence, at least don't undermine it. That LL cost you 50. Shen Yin shrugged it off. You little rascal, Chun Mingyue chuckled, unable to muster any truly disparaging remarks. Keep it up, your mother supports you. Just give me 50. You're truly impossible, you've got it coming. Chun Mingyue nodded, and then opened WeChat to send Shen Yin an image of a 50 renminbi note, something she had saved from Douyin. Every Thursday, many shared it. And today it finally found its purpose. See, Douyin can indeed be educational. Shen Yin's lips twitched, but before he could respond, a system task interface abruptly appeared. Complete hidden task, lucky star, task flow, pray to the goddess of fate 11. What? Mom, you have such an identity? Chapter 085. The elder ginger is spicier. Shen Yin paused for a moment, bewildered by the unexpected completion of the task. Who could have anticipated that his mother was the goddess of fate? What was the basis for such a belief? He pondered that his mother had never experienced remarkable fortune. Had she found money on the road? Rubbing his head in confusion, he turned around only to find that his mother had already entered the kitchen. Without further inquiry, Shen Yin stepped out of the house. Outside, there were 2 large blue chairs typical of street stalls, specifically purchased for sitting outside after meals to chat with neighbors. The 2 fathers enjoyed lounging outside, engaging in idle conversation until late at night, only remembering to light some incense when the mosquitoes began to swarm. Shen Shi sat with his legs crossed, engaged in conversation with Xia Hirue, while Shen Yin found himself unable to interject and squatted down to play on his phone, feeling somewhat like a beggar. He stood up again, contemplating retreating to his room for a brief rest. Have you eaten yet, Shen Yin? If not, go inside and have a bit with Xiao Chun. Xia Hirue remarked, having noticed Shen Yin's silence. No, the food is still cooking. We'll eat shortly, Shen Yin replied, scratching his head. Uncle Xia, are you planning to travel during the National Day holiday? Not for the moment. We'll decide when the 2 of them want to go, he said, referring to Wen Jining and Xia Yin Chun, the mother-daughter duo. Xia Hirue then asked, why? Do you want to go? Not at all. It's too crowded. It would just tire me out. During the holidays, I plan to sleep until 3 in the afternoon, Shen Yin replied. You're living on American time, aren't you? Shen Shi, having just noticed his son's presence, spoke up, not having realized when he had arrived. He instinctively scrutinized Shen Yin, feeling a sense of satisfaction. He had heard from Chun Mingyue about Shen Yin's score of 620 points, although it paled in comparison to Xia Yin Chun's. Progress was still a victory. What parent wouldn't desire to see their offspring striving for improvement? Would you like to hear the tale of how I turned my score around by 80 points in a month? Shen Yin looked at his father, grinning. Huh. Back in my day, I walked 10 kilometers to school every day and consistently achieved excellent grades, racking up awards for being a model student, Shen Shi retorted. I was a model student too, Shen Yin countered. I received numerous awards in both primary and secondary school. Even Huang Chun, who scored 300 in the monthly exams, was a top student before high school. Those awards were merely used to prop up the corners of desks. He laughed. Can it be compared? The awards in our era had real value, akin to a university degree. Back then, university students were truly intellectuals, unlike today, where the value is not the same. Shen Shi exclaimed. Ah yes, Shen Yin replied, sensing his father's rising frustration. Aren't children supposed to provide for their parents in old age? I'll be a pile of ashes before retirement at this rate. We're merely father and son. Can't we maintain some boundaries? Shen Yan, sensing the tension, retreated to his room, turned on the air conditioning, and opened a book. Not long after starting to study, he was called down for dinner, where the family shared a harmonious meal. Once, after being scolded by his parents, he resolved to become a robot that only studied and never smiled, hoping to evoke regret in them. However, he failed. Not only did he not study, but he also consumed 2 large bowls of dinner while shedding tears. Times have changed. Now, he has not only excelled in his studies but also indulged in 2 generous bowls of food. Whenever a sumptuous feast is laid out, it is invariably his phone that receives the first bite. Chen Mingyue snapped a picture of the lavish spread, sending it first to the absent Xinyu, followed by a post on her social media, and even took the liberty of liking and commenting from Shen Yan's phone. When students return home after a period of study, they are typically greeted with a banquet of sumptuous dishes. Chen Mingyue's culinary skills are remarkably superior, at least 2 streets ahead of Xinyu's. It is puzzling how, despite being mother and daughter, the latter has inherited none of her mother's talents. Nevertheless, in a certain light, transforming fresh ingredients into delectable dishes is a skill in itself. With his experience, Shen Yan learns at an accelerated pace. Perhaps in due time, he shall master the art of cooking on his own. Oh, but that is a tale for another day. By the way, mother, have you encountered any strokes of good fortune lately? Shen Yan casually inquired between bites of rice. None. I've been rather unfortunate of late. Chen Mingyue began to lament, recounting tales of misadventures. Losing 50 yuan while grocery shopping, shoes coming apart at the seams, and forgetting her keys when heading out, all of which sounded thoroughly unfortunate. How dreadful. It appears the luckiest little girl is not the goddess of fortune, while my own mother, plagued by bad luck, ironically embodies her. Was the system mistaken? After dinner, Shen Yan took it upon himself to wash the dishes, having not returned home in several months. He noticed that the house had undergone little transformation. The refrigerator still bore a 3-dimensional Ultraman sticker from a decade past, now dulled with black stains, while the vibrant Ultraman illustration inside had merely faded to a pale hue. The stains were unacceptable. At 10 o'clock that night, after finishing his shower, Shen Yan descended to the living room on the 2nd floor. Chen Mingyue and Shen Shi were still awake, the former engrossed in television, and the latter absorbed in his phone, each engaged in their own worlds. Their hands occasionally brushed against each other while snacking on grapes, yet neither reacted. Chen Mingyue favored workplace romances and dub-tie dramas, while Shen Shi had a penchant for classic Hong Kong martial arts films. Certainly, one could not expect him to enjoy tales of young office workers and domineering CEOs. In the past, Shen Shi had even dabbled in lottery tickets, meticulously studying books that predicted winning numbers. However, after receiving a scolding from Chen Mingyue, he swiftly abandoned that pursuit and now spent his leisure time scrolling through his phone and sipping tea. Old couple, Shen Yan mused. Why aren't you asleep? What brings you down here? Chen Mingyue shot a sidelong glance at him. I'm here to do laundry. I don't have a washing machine on the 3rd floor. After a long day of travel, you must be tired. Rest early, or I shall scold you for staying up late, she chided. Hearing the reprimanding tone directed at Shen Yan, Shen Shi chimed in. What? Staying up late? You scamp, if you keep this up, you'll end up with a head full of gray hair, and people will start calling you Grandpa. Grandpa? Now that would be a delightful turn of events. Shen Yan suppressed a laugh, unfazed by the pressure. Staying up late? Gray hair? I don't comprehend. After a day of travel, he felt invigorated, full of life, and planned to stealthily complete 3 assignments. You rascal, Shen Shi found himself at a loss, only able to point at him as he watched Shen Yan ascend the stairs, before turning to Chen Mingyue to vent his frustrations. This child is becoming increasingly clever. I must find a reason to scold him. Why would you scold him when he is doing well? I find him a bit irksome. He is your son, and you are his father. Quarreling with your own child is nothing short of childish. Shen Shi felt hesitant to speak. Do you truly believe that with your mother's protection, I am powerless against you? Shen Yan, your father has managed to cultivate vast tracts of land for a breeding farm, transitioning from hands-on labor to a managerial role, all thanks to decisive measures. The old adage holds true. Experience is invaluable. How about I directly deduct 50 from your living expenses? Go ahead and weep. Chapter 086. Saved. Thank you for your hospitality. The room was bright, and Shen Yan could scarcely recall the last time he had studied there. The last occasion was indeed long past. The sensation of studying under the cool air conditioning was utterly delightful. The town is not particularly developed, lacking in light pollution. The stars that elude the city could be seen here, and the moon was no longer solitary. Buzz, buzz, buzz. His phone vibrated. It was a call from Xinyu. Hello? Shen Yan capped his pen, casually flipped through his exam papers, and climbed onto his bed. The sheets carried the scent of sun-drenched fabric, mingled with a hint of lavender, making lying down quite pleasant, which lightened his tone. Woo, dear brother, I miss you. Let us get to the point. No need for all this. I'm just a bit bored and feel the house is empty, Xinyu replied, her tone softening. Shen Yan could easily envision his older sister lounging in her room, likely clad only in her undergarments, with a bag of chips resting by the bedside. Then why don't you come back? What are you doing there all alone? Perhaps I'll return for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Once I'm back in town, there won't be any takeout options, and I'd have to take turns with you doing laundry, cleaning, and cooking. Just thinking about it makes me realize that being away is quite pleasant. Tomorrow, I'll invite my friends for a shopping spree. Despite her laziness, she was still the elder sister, and she couldn't afford to tarnish that image. You haven't returned in ages. Now that you finally have the chance, remember to lend a hand with the chores. Cook dinner before mom and dad come home. Don't make them angry, alright? Come on, I'm not your errand boy. Shen Yan replied, exasperated. Good, good. Our parents have worked hard for so long. When the farm was still small, they were out every day. Things only improved after Mom was pregnant with you. You were too young to understand, but it was quite a struggle, she recounted. Hey. What are you rambling about? Is this some sort of hardship education? Shen Yan interrupted. Just be mindful, alright? Our parents have plenty of gray hairs now. Don't act like a little brat. Alright, I'll hang up now. Remember to lock the doors and windows before you sleep. Yes. I saw the pictures Mom sent. I want to feast when I return. Let us end the call here. Goodbye, you stinky brother. Beep. Shen Yan plugged his phone into the charger and sprawled out on the bed, his mind empty, feeling quite well. Lost in thought, he waited for a response. The nights in the town were not as lively as those in the city. Streetlights flickered, half of them broken, and by late night, pedestrians were a rare sight. So, his mother nearly faced complications during his birth? Shen Yan had never heard his parents mention it before. He felt a sense of profound respect. The goddess of fate is magnificent, and words fail to capture her essence. The following day, Shen Yan stealthily ambushed a few free-range roosters from across the street, brushing his teeth before the roosters began to crow. At 4:30 in the small town, apart from the street cleaners, there was scarcely anyone else around. During his junior high school years, Shen Yan would rise at such an early hour, solely for the purpose of indulging in the complimentary breakfast provided by the school, a bowl of rice noodles accompanied by a small bottle of student milk. Everything felt so leisurely, embodying the essence of youth in our town. While the road in front of his house was devoid of passers-by, the streets near the market bustled with activity. It appeared to be market day, as many vendors were up particularly early, setting up their stalls filled with a variety of goods, traditional Chinese medicine, remedies for injuries caused by snake bites, and more. Shen Yan fondly recalled watching those vendors play with snakes. In the past, regulations were not as stringent, and some even displayed pythons in iron cages. After jogging around the streets for quite some time, Shen Yan squeezed his calf muscles, which had visibly firmed up despite his usual lack of exercise. Working out had become a means for him to channel his abundant energy. The existence of the glowing light training had further enhanced the efficiency and results of his workouts, as exercise could also be seen as a form of leveling up. He playfully rubbed his 8-pack abs, planning to show them to Chun Bao later. On his way back, he picked up a few steamed buns. At 8 o'clock, Chun Mingyue gazed at the buns on the table with astonishment. Who would have thought that a student would rise so early after returning home? She even questioned whether Shen Yan had pulled an all-nighter, which he had indeed done on multiple occasions in the past. However, Shen Yan radiated vitality and had no dark circles under his eyes. She had no grounds to reprimand him. What time did you sleep last night? You're up so early today? She inquired. Forgot. Early to bed. Early to rise is good for one's health. Shen Yan replied with a grin. I just worked out, and the washing machine is running my clothes. I'll head upstairs now. You worked out again? Yeah, I broke a sweat. Oh my. My son has truly turned over a new leaf, she mused, although she felt the phrase was somewhat misplaced. It had been months since they last saw each other, and Shen Yan's transformation was quite remarkable. Amidst her surprise, she felt joy, which was tinged with curiosity. Something must have occurred to bring about such a change in him. In the life of an 18-year-old high school student, the most likely catalyst would be an encounter with a girl he likes. Yet, she noticed no interaction between her son and the girl next door, Xiao Chun. Could it be that Shen Yan had developed feelings for someone else, prompting him to distance himself from Xiao Chun? She hoped he would cultivate a sense of propriety and self-awareness. Upstairs, Shen Yan rested his chin on his hand on the balcony, occasionally glancing at an elderly woman hunched over, fertilizing her greens, and then at a passing tricycle, feeling rather bored. He was an honest boy, and a sense of longing for Chun began to tug at his heart. Since they had both returned home yesterday, they had not exchanged a word. Even though a mere wall separated them, it felt as if an entire world stood in between. He turned his head to see familiar clothes hanging on the neighboring balcony. Yesterday, he had spent the afternoon close to the very dress that belonged to Xia Yanchun. Yet, with Uncle Xia and Aunt Wen at home, Shen Yan refrained from seeking out Xia Yanchun openly. Having arrived at this juncture, let us extend a morning greeting to Chuan Bao. Shen Yan, good morning. Even if it's not, it's still morning. You poked at Xia Yan Chuan's red envelope and said, hello, Mom. Shen Yan. Hockey Chuan, you rascal. Just a wall apart, Xia Yan Chuan, still in a daze, struggled to sit up. Her attire barely covered her, but she comfortably stretched into an enormous yawn, her toes nearly cramping. Exhausted from the previous night, she had retired early and thus arose early, reveling in the pleasure of a full 8 hours of restorative sleep. After brushing her teeth and washing her face, she returned to bed, only to notice the messages from Shen Yan. A chuckle escaped her lips. Who could comprehend the sense of redemption upon seeing Shen Yan's 2 question marks? Her day began on a high note, ignited by Shen Yan's moment of embarrassment. She pressed and held the voice message button, recording a brief 3-second laugh to send to Shen Yan. Xia Yan Chuan. Ha ha ha. Goose goose goose. Goose. Shen Yan. Saved it. Thank you for the treat. I shall listen to it daily. When the break ends, I'll share it with the little girl too. Xia Yan Chuan. Her smile vanished, shifting to someone else's face. Such an enigma. Chapter 087. Returning to familiar grounds. A touch of revival. Xia Yan Chuan, fuming, hastily retracted her voice message. How could someone be so peculiar as to save another's laughter? Quite the oddity. She sent a fierce aminos meme, purely aggressive in nature. However, Shen Yan remained unfazed by her attack and promptly initiated a video call. After a moment of hesitation, Xia Yan Chuan slipped back under the covers, cautiously draping the quilt over her chest before tapping the answer button. It was rare for girls to wear undergarments while lounging at home, so she took care to be discreet. On the small screen, Shen Yan's face appeared abruptly. Xia Yan Chuan felt as though he might emerge from the phone like Sadako, quickly minimizing the image to the top right corner. What are you doing? Still alive? Taking an exam. Shun Yin showed her his desk. Just write it. What does it have to do with me? If you have something to say it, otherwise. I'll hang up. I'm tired of these daily video calls. Despite her disdain for video chats, she still accepted the call. How prideful of you. With a quick hang up. Xia Yinchuan couldn't help but roll her eyes, muttering about his lack of decorum, as if he wouldn't be the one initiating the video call. After donning her undergarments, Xia Yinchuan descended for breakfast. Her parents were nowhere to be found, presumably off on another escapade. She had intended to assist with chores. But to her surprise, the house was remarkably tidy. Generally, on the first day back home, one needn't lift a finger, simply relax. The second day, one begins to engage in minor chores. By the third day, one becomes a free laborer. Such was the situation at Shun Yin's home. Yet Xia Yinchuan's residence was different. She willingly undertook household duties, though there was little to be done. Returning to her room, she retrieved her exam papers. Sitting upright and realizing it was indeed more important to complete her National Day assignments first. At 10:15, Xia Yinchuan had solved 2 multiple-choice questions. She opened the balcony window, hearing the sound of someone next door watching videos aloud. At 10:40, her focus waned as she completed another 2 questions. The neighbor continued watching videos, the noise becoming bothersome. What was that thumping and clattering sound? At 11 o'clock, Xia Yanchun furrowed her delicate brows and called out from the balcony, Shin Yin, what are you doing? The sound of footsteps approached. And Shin Yin peeked out from the balcony window, responding, just organizing some clutter. What's up? Clad in his usual casual attire of short sleeves and shorts, he had returned to town, dressing even more casually, with shorts that barely covered his knees, accentuating the muscular contours of his thighs and calves. Between the 2 balconies, only 2 iron railings stood as barriers, which to Shin Yin were merely an illusion. He could easily vault over them, having done so since childhood. The houses had always been constructed this way, reflecting the close relationship between the families, so much so that they even shared a well in front of their homes. If he weren't so well-behaved, sneaking into Xia Yanchun's room would have been a breeze. Otherwise, they might have installed security bars, or even an additional wall. You're so noisy. Are you insane? Can't you close the window? Why leave it open and run the air conditioning in this sweltering heat? What are you up to? Sneaking around? I'm studying. Xia Yanchun huffed, justifying her open window by explaining that it was to let the air conditioning take a break after running for too long. What a ridiculous accusation. Yet you also have the window open, Shin Yin pointed out. Sweetheart, I'm just cleaning the air conditioning filter, he replied, half closing his eyes. Do you need something? No, just keep it down. The noise from you bumping against the wall can be heard over here. It's like listening to renovations. Got it. Got it. Shin Yin waved his hand and returned to his room. A little while later, he closed both the window and the curtains. If Chuanbao said it was noisy, he would certainly keep it quieter. Xia Yanchun blinked, feeling frustrated as she pulled down the window and returned to her desk, but found herself utterly lacking in motivation. As noon approached, Shin Yin sent Xia Yanchun a message. Upon checking her phone, she felt a wave of dizziness. Shin Yin, open the window. Your father is here, JPG. Soon, faint sounds emanated from the balcony, illuminated by the bright daylight, with Shun Yin's shadow becoming distinctly visible. He really had climbed over. Despite her annoyance at Shun Yin's intrusion via the balcony, her heart raced unexpectedly. It was reminiscent of a scene from an American drama where the rebellious boy scales the pipes to reach the girl. Alarmed, she hastily slipped on her slippers, closing her door with a soft thud before daring to draw back the curtains, though she did not open the window. You idiot. Can't you just come through the front door? Climbing through the window is dangerous. She scolded, exasperated. You were foolish as a child. And you've grown up to be just as silly. From outside the window, Shin Yin's voice came muffled. He scratched his ear, seemingly unfazed. Why would I waste time running down 3 flights of stairs only to come back up? I won't fall. Shin Yin was no fool. He had carefully maneuvered over to the side of the wall. The balcony was spacious enough not only for a drying rack, but also to cultivate flowers and herbs. Ample room for him to attempt a backflip. If he were to fall, it could only be attributed to the universe's mischief thwarting him. That is still very dangerous. Xia Yanchun insisted, hands on her hips, standing her ground. You can't just leap over the balcony like some kind of secret affair with Mr. Wang next door. What if the other neighbors see and suspect something between us? Next time, I'll come through the bottom. Shoo, just open the window, Shin Yin interrupted. Xia Yanchun flung the window open with a loud clatter, and Shun Yin slipped in beside her like a lord. Xia Yanchun caught a faint whiff of his sweat, causing her cheeks to heat inexplicably. When was the last time this fellow climbed over the balcony? She could hardly recall. It had been ages. What brings you here? Speak honestly. He hadn't brought any exam papers or pens, and if Shin Yin claimed he came to study, she would unmask his deceit without hesitation. Admit it. Shin Yin, you merely wish to see me. Surely, he would concoct some grand rationale, then play with her hair, leaning in close as he often did on the bus. However, she had resolved not to indulge him any longer. Yesterday was the final occasion. At most, she would permit him to toy with her hair. Shin Yin grinned, showing his teeth. Honestly, I've been a good boy. I spent the morning writing some papers and doing chores. I was a bit bored. Can't I come to find you? His holiday was indeed fulfilling. Exercising, studying, resting, and playing with her to expend his boundless energy, which consumed the day entirely. He had far more hours than most. Today, he had already exercised and studied, even taking the time to tidy up some clutter and clean the air conditioner filter. And now it's Chuanbao time. Can I interpret that as sexual harassment? Xia Yanchun replied with a sardonic smile, questioning his double entendre. Yanchun, she mused, referring to the spring of wood. How disgusting, she exclaimed, snapping a photo of Shun Yin seated at the desk, his face contorted in distaste. What are you doing? He asked, his eyes wide. For Little Red Book, of course. All right, don't censor it. Make sure to note that I'm a handsome, athletic guy standing at 6 feet tall. Xia Yanchun was a wicked woman, indeed very wicked. I'll write that you have the same stunning muscle tone as a high-end sports car to attract attention. Shen Yan responded, what? The sky is falling. Please, I beg you, don't do this. I can do anything. Before Shen Yan could respond further, a system notification suddenly appeared. Mission triggered, revisiting the past. You return to a familiar place, where her presence lingers everywhere. Rest well here to prepare for the more arduous battles ahead. Reward, 1,000 gold coins. Passive skill, Healing Touch, slightly restores physical damage through contact. What a surprise. A passive skill. Chapter 088, Private Marseille. Chuanchan. I have an unavoidable reason to linger in your room. The previous passive skill had been a buoyant spirit, which had an exceptionally high value. And now, another skill, Healing Touch. Judging by the description, it should correspond to a healing ability in RPG games, akin to casting a green light over the wounded, in a game or another world. Such a healing ability might be commonplace, but in reality, it was astonishing. If the healing effect was sufficiently potent, he could save a young girl from being mercilessly harmed by the Cantonese for her audacious choice of dipping boiled chicken in chocolate sauce. He could let them strike once more, accumulating merit, thus ensuring his passage to paradise in the afterlife. Having elucidated the rewards, the conditions for completing the task did not appear overly challenging. In the narrative of the system, Xia Yanchun is portrayed as a childhood companion from the novice village, a character that emerges only upon entering Xia Yanchun's room. It is evident that returning to familiar grounds refers to either Xia Yanchun's home or her private chamber. There exists an undeniable reason for lingering in her space. As for the duration of this stay, Shen Yan remains uncertain, yet he aspires to remain long enough to fulfill the system's task. Even if it entails enduring a beating from Xia Yanchun, he is determined to acquire this passive skill. The ability to regenerate health is invaluable. Should a conflict arise, and he finds himself at a disadvantage, he can recover and re-enter the fray, leaving his opponents bewildered by his resilience. However, this remains merely a figment of Shen Yan's imagination. The efficacy of such healing powers is still an enigma, and it is possible that the results may not be as extraordinary as he envisions. He is not inclined to engage in fights. Rather, he prefers to observe from a distance, retreating if a brawl ensues. In a genuine confrontation, as long as his opponent isn't a marathon runner, he can outlast them, evading while simultaneously restoring his stamina. Why are you lost in thought? Xia Yanchun suddenly raised her voice, noticing Shen Yan's unblinking gaze upon her. Was he openly staring at her, pretending to be a corpse? Or was he perhaps intimidated by her impressive physique? Apologies, my second personality momentarily sought to seize control. I'm sorry for concealing this from you. In truth, I possess 5 distinct personalities. You might be experiencing symptoms akin to those from excessive play of a certain mobile game. Shen Yan rambled, disregarding her comments. Your room is lovely, but I am in charge now. Fetch me 2 popsicles. Go fetch them yourself. Where are your parents? They've gone out for tea and conversation. Xia Yanchun crossed her arms, eagerly waiting for Shen Yan to rise from his desk. As soon as he did, she promptly occupied his former seat. Studying is of utmost importance. She must not be swayed from her path by Shen Yan. With her parents absent, Shen Yan felt liberated in his actions, though he was quite familiar with them. Nonetheless, being a junior, he understood the necessity of maintaining decorum. Moreover, if her parents were present, their interactions would not flow as naturally. Xia Yanchun would be free to call him foolish in front of them, yet he would never dare to insult her in their presence. Instead, he would feign deep offense, awaiting the moment when her parents would chastise her. What ill intentions could Shen Yan possibly harbor? The refrigerator was stocked not only with peanuts and assorted snacks, but also with various treats, seemingly filled, as if anticipating Xia Yanchun's return. Shen Yan retrieved 2 popsicles and added a peanut treat for Xia Yanchun, feeling quite pleased. He adored her home. It felt just like returning to his own. Here, I brought you one as well. Oh, Shen Yan consumed his ice cream directly, finishing 2 sticks of chow lizi in no time, while Xia Yanchun continued to extend her little tongue to savor the remaining treat. Noticing Shen Yan's gaze, she awkwardly turned her back to him, unwilling to be seen. How endearing. In a while, you do your thing. I won't disturb you. I'll just sit in your room and enjoy the air conditioning. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Shen Yan murmured as he plopped down on the edge of the bed. Don't lie on my bed. You're all sweaty and dirty, Xia Yanchun retorted. Shen Yan nodded, acknowledging his sticky state. Only after a prolonged exposure to the air conditioning did he feel somewhat refreshed. He certainly wouldn't dare to lie on Xia Yanchun's bed without showering, as that would surely provoke her to deliver a swift kick, the kind that one would deliver while wearing shoes. With the desk positioned next to the bed, Shen Yan opted to sit instead of lying down. He propped himself against the table, playing on his phone with the sound muted. Xia Yanchun huffed as she picked up a pen, intending to wait for Shen Yan to make a sound so she could reprimand him, but to her surprise, he remained unusually quiet. Well, this is perfect. Ideal for studying, she thought to herself, straightening her posture and focusing on her work. In her imagination, she envisioned entering a state of profound concentration, beginning her studies at noon and losing track of time only to realize it was already evening, with her assignments nearly completed. Completely oblivious to Shen Yan's presence. Yet, the reality was quite the opposite. Although Shen Yan was not particularly noisy, she still found him distracting. Unable to resist glancing over to see what videos he was watching, what made him laugh, and what conversations he was engaging in. Shen Yan, you're so noisy, she exclaimed, setting aside the facts. Didn't he bear any responsibility? You might as well go back. Xia Yanchun's temper flared. He had come over and done nothing but scroll through his phone. Since the sound was off, she had no idea what type of videos he was watching, though she claimed not to care. After all, Shen Yan always told her she possessed an innate ability to attract affection, so she would humor him and play the part of a natural charmer, as the world seemed to align with Shen Yan's wishes. Shen Yan raised his eyes, slowly forming a question mark with his expression. What have I done to you? He asked. It's easier to study alone. You're in the way. The innate charm began to manifest. Good to know, Xia Yin-chun replied, standing her ground, asserting control over her own room. It's your fault for not being able to focus. Shen Yan, rarely rolling his eyes, decided he wouldn't leave until the system rewards were distributed. I think you should stop studying. Let me show you something entertaining. What is entertaining? Xia Yin-chun inquired, her curiosity piqued. Come sit closer, Shen Yan beckoned. Xia Yin-chun tiptoed, cautiously sliding her feet along the edge of the bed until she was only a fist's distance away from Shen Yan. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, a heat that even the air conditioning couldn't suppress, and she caught a whiff of an odor that wasn't particularly pleasant. Instinctively, she glanced up at Shen Yan, who looked as innocent and carefree as a child sharing a favorite pastime. Had it not been for Shen Yan's large hand resting on her shoulder, Xia Yin-chun might have believed him completely. Chapter 089. Stereotypes ring true. Boys tend to find appealing content that is either risque, documentary style, cleaning carpets, or hoof trimming. There exists another hidden gem, Bear Grill Survival Show. Xia Yin-chun stumbled upon this while scrolling through Zaihongshu. While it may be a cliché, Shen Yan perfectly fits this stereotype. Indeed, I have frequently witnessed him engrossed in videos about carpet cleaning and wilderness survival. In class, he often engages in discussions about topics such as the repercussions of being recorded, likening himself to Louis XVI. I have even caught him late at night indulging in inappropriate content, reinforcing my belief in certain stereotypes. I am curious about the peculiar things Shen Yan might show her, only to discover that his phone holds a record of a WeChat group chat. Class 31 Parent Group, 79. Ah, it turns out to be our class's parent group. I was wondering what it was. Wait, what group is this? Xia Yanchun's eyes are wide with confusion. How did you manage to get in? Even I, the class monitor, have not infiltrated it. Some secrets are not meant to be revealed. I am quite mysterious, a double agent, if you will. So what is so interesting? Look here, look here. Shen Yan scrolls through the chat history, pausing at a conversation with a fishing enthusiast. Chen Xiaoyu's father, fish, JPG, Chen Xiaoyu's father, 8 Gene. Xia Yanchun. What kind of fishing aficionado has wandered into the parent group? Several comments follow suit. Ma Mingfan's father. Brother, where did you catch that? I'm not looking to fish. A friend asked me to inquire. Chen Xiaoyu's father. Another fish, JPG, this one weighs 9 Gene. Ma Mingfan's father. My friend wants to befriend you. Shen Dong's father. The fishing enthusiast has lost his way again. Chen Xiaoyu's father. Sorry, wrong group. Ma Mingfan's father. Can you see what I'm saying? Chen Xiaoyu's father. Yes, we can. Ma Mingfan's father. Brother, let us add each other and go fishing together sometime. Ma Mingfan's father. Where did you go? Xia Yanchun bursts into laughter, thoroughly amused by the antics of these parents. She had presumed that parent groups were solely composed of silent discussions about academics, punctuated by occasional displays of superiority, but instead, she finds this humor refreshing. It seems Ma Mingfan's father has become the jester of the group, and is this truly acceptable? As she continues to observe, she can hardly contain her laughter, her eyes narrowing into slits, her long eyelashes fluttering. It takes a remarkable individual to resist laughing at such absurdity. Shen Yan, having turned off his phone, declares that having shown her something intriguing, he cannot simply be sent away. What kind of logic is that? I refuse to let you leave. I'm sticking around. How brazen. Xia Yanchun mutters under her breath. Upon raising her head, she realizes, rather belatedly, that the distance she had maintained between herself and Shen Yan has entirely dissipated. He is now so close that his hand rests upon her shoulder, making her feel like a little bird nestled in his embrace. Her mouth slightly agape. Xia Yanchun feels a sudden rush of surprise and quietly shifts away, shaking her shoulders in an attempt to free herself from his grasp, as if emerging from his embrace. The air conditioning's coolness brings her a sense of relief. Noticing that Xia Yanchun is indeed not urging him to leave, Shen Yan lets out a quiet sigh of relief. As long as his mission can continue, it is a victory. Xia Yanchun, though not sending him away, finds her focus on studying has waned. She kicks her feet and climbs onto the bed, lying down against the wall. When Shen Yan turns to face her, the blanket is wrapped snugly around her, resembling a plump caterpillar, with only her fair visage and tiny hands gripping the edges of the quilt visible. So adorable. Are you not studying anymore? You find it difficult to focus here, so you resort to playing with your phone. Once again, it falls upon me to bear the blame. Shen Yan felt a flush of embarrassment, but then reflected, are you perhaps overly concerned about me? If you truly wish to study, you would treat me as mere air, for I have not uttered a word. No one truly cares for you, do they? Clearly, someone is nearby yet still expects others to be undistracted. Why don't you mention that you are both running and resting at the same time? The purpose of rest is to allow the body to naturally recuperate. Being invigorated essentially means one is in a constant state of rest, and that is perfectly reasonable. This realization dawned upon Xia Yanchun, didn't it? I must tread lightly around her, for I am merely a greenhorn in her presence. At that moment, a notification appeared. Side quest. A return to familiar grounds. Completed. Reward. 1,000 gold coins. Passive skill. Healing touch. Can convey healing energy through contact, slightly repairing bodily injuries. From the triggering of the quest to its completion took roughly half an hour. Haha, my friend. The task is complete. I shall take my leave now. Shen Yan grinned and swiftly dashed to the window, only to pause and return to climb onto the bed. Xia Yanchun's lips parted slightly. as if she wished to say something, but upon seeing Shun Yin reaching for her, she instinctively closed her eyes. It was only when a warm hand gently brushed her hair and grazed her earlobe that she reluctantly opened one eye. It felt incomplete to skip a little gesture. So she bid farewell. Shen Yin, ever the gentleman, assisted Xia Yanchun in closing the balcony window, aligning it neatly before clambering over the railing and disappearing from sight. Xia Yanchun thought to herself, why must he scale the balcony instead of using the front door? It feels akin to an affair. If my parents were to witness this, how could I possibly explain? Meanwhile, Shen Yin, having stealthily returned to his room, began to explore the healing touch skill. He rubbed his hands together. Aside from feeling warmer in his palms, everything seemed as usual. It remained uncertain whether this passive ability had indeed activated. However, he was currently in peak condition, without any injuries to test it upon. In full health, he could not inflict wounds upon himself for experimentation. The system offered no manual, leaving him to discover any potential trigger effects on his own. It had been too long since he had berated the system. He nearly forgot that it was a haphazard arrangement. Oh well, the system does its best. It is tirelessly operational. Is it possible that he has a comrade who has traversed to a realm of swords and sorcery? A midnight release. Traversing the world of swords and sorcery. Finding the scholar's reversal system. One must showcase true abilities upon arrival. System, please complete a weekly assessment. Unknown comrade. Are you referring to this goblin before me? System, please complete a monthly examination. Unknown comrade. The mid-tier magical beasts have arrived. I seem to have fallen into a trap set by the system. Alas, my friend. You are the only one here. The system has even come to me. In the midst of it all, I must remember the arduous journey of yesterday. Having reached this point, it is time to focus on studying. Chapter 090. Mark Twain's ingenious tactic in the evening. Shun Mingyue and Shun Shi drove home, and Shen Yin, on the third floor, could hear the sound of the tires rolling over the cement ground. After an exhausting afternoon of study, he finally completed the third set of monthly examination papers. With 80 sheets to tackle, it nearly overwhelmed him. Once he set down his pen, his parents returned, and he neglected to prepare rice or dinner. The thought of his parents toiling away all day at the aquaculture farm, only to return home without a warm meal ready, weighed heavily on him. Yet, he recognized it was an unavoidable circumstance. Although Chun Mingyue and Shun Shi might not fully believe it, he truly dedicated his afternoon to studying. Inadvertently losing track of time until 6 o'clock, Shen Yin descended to assist his mother with dinner while Shun Shi organized tools from the car in the hall. They finally sat down to eat around 7. Are you tired today, Mom? Does your back ache? I can give you a massage later. He recalled how his mother often complained about her back pain, and he thought it would be a good opportunity to try his hand at relief. Not tired. We didn't go to the farm today. Oh, what did you do then? Your father and I went to the neighboring village to watch the lion dance. It was quite the spectacle. So, his parents had gone out to enjoy themselves while he remained home, diligently studying. How unfair. Perhaps he should have been more affectionate to win their favor. Later that night, after dinner and a shower, Shun Yin sat alone in his room, surrounded by a chaotic array of examination papers, with eraser shavings strewn about. The endeavor to conquer 10 intermediate magical creatures lacked the formality of an initial endeavor, as filling the pages sufficed in his assessment. If every set of papers required him to achieve his utmost, he would be utterly exhausted. Though he did not need to be overly concerned, Shen Yin still approached his tasks with seriousness. For his language composition, citing famous quotes was essential to support his arguments. Typically, one would read extensively to gather relevant material. As he wrote, he felt a sense of comfort. I am a slow walker, but I never walk backward. Mark Twain. A person can succeed at almost anything for which he has unlimited enthusiasm. Mark Twain. Today, eating Wallace's did not result in an upset stomach. It is a miracle. Mark Twain. If you do not know who said a particular quote, attribute it to Mark Twain. Mark Twain. He whimsically concocted an array of fabrications, knowing that no one would scrutinize or grade them. Mark Twain's tactic was indeed ruthless. Anyone who disparaged Mark Twain was in opposition to Shen Yin. By 2:30, he completed the fourth set of papers, his writing becoming a monotonous chore. Leaning back in his chair, Shen Yin sighed deeply. Despite his diligent efforts, the gap between him and Xia Yanchun seemed insurmountable. The disparity between a mere overachiever and a true prodigy was as vast as the chasm between heaven and earth. The science top scorer from last year, Ci Nan, achieved a score of 723. While the scores could fluctuate based on the difficulty of the papers, the class rankings remained steadfast. If Xia Yanchun maintained her performance, securing a spot in the top 50 for the provincial college entrance examination was virtually assured. Damn, a prodigy. Why even attend a local 985 university? Just aim for Tsinghua or Peking University. Knock, knock. After slicing some fruit, do you care for a bite? Of course I would. Shun Mingyue entered the room with a beaming smile, her eyes widening in astonishment upon seeing Shun Yin engrossed in his homework. She placed the fruit platter on the desk and scrutinized Shen Yin, wondering, is this really my little hockey? He bore a striking resemblance to his younger self, and perhaps even appeared more handsome. It had been too long since she last saw him, and now he seemed transformed. Ah, he has grown up. Shen Yin pierced a piece of watermelon with a toothpick, savoring its sweetness. By the way, I stumbled upon your old toys in the storage room. Would you like them? They've gathered quite a bit of dust. If you don't want them, I'll give them to your younger cousins or toss them out. Hey, don't throw them away. Shen Yin exclaimed, I bought them with my own money. When I grow older, it will be delightful to reminisce about my childhood. Reminiscing about childhood? I haven't seen you take them out. I'll do so when I'm older. Shen Yin waved his hand dismissively. Mom, you'll understand when you reach my age. Haha, the familiar hockey has returned. It's time to find some suitable hangers. Shun Mingyue retrieved a box of toys from the storage room, dusting them off with a cloth. She opened the box and blew off the dust, releasing a musty scent. These were the toys Shen Yan played with as a child, left untouched for 7 or 8 years. If Shen Yan hadn't returned for a rare visit, and she hadn't coincidentally cleaned the storage room, this box of toys might have remained hidden for much longer. You handle it, she said. I know. As the hour grew late, Shen Mingyue didn't wish to disturb Shen Yan's studies, so she discreetly exited the room. Shen Yan glanced at the box, settled cross-legged on the floor, and opened it, revealing a jumble of unidentifiable toys, Lego figures, Transformers, and Iron Man. At 18, Shen Yan could not quite grasp the nostalgic essence of childhood, so he closed the box and tucked it beneath the cabinet. Let the 30-year-old Shen Yan relish childhood memories. The 18-year-old should focus on nurturing his bond with Xiao.